Move that out of the way, just in case baby gets curious.
We are protected, though we may be frightened. Our life you may not steal, though we may be scared to death.
Welcome to the 7th episode of Scared to Death. I still can't believe there's 7 episodes.
No, thank you.
I'm Dan.
Hi, I'm Lindsay.
And we are excited to scare you. 'Tis the season to be terrified.
Well, you're excited to scare me, and I am not excited to be scared anymore.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, more at the end about the lack of sleep I'm getting and how pretty soon I'll be in a mental institute.
I was a little worried that the show was going to stop just as it's getting going.
Oh my God.
Where Lindsay almost had a breakdown of sorts a few days ago.
Yeah, so stay tuned after the episode to find out what's been going on.
And sorry if my voice is a little scratchy. A lot of content. Recorded a stand-up special this past weekend.
Yay!
And just lots of shows and
Yeah, thank you.
Lots of podcasting, lots of stuff, lots of talking.
Lots of talking, lots of fun.
Last week on Scared to Death, we varied it up a little bit, and reaction was mixed.
Very mixed, very mixed.
Which is fair. You know, it creeps some people out, other people not as much.
Right.
You know, we can't do an exorcism tale every week.
Because then I would not be sitting here anymore.
And eventually no one would listen, you know,
Right.
because it's just like, yeah, it'd be too repetitive, but yes.
Blah,
yes.
blah.
But both stories today actually could be interpreted as demonic manifestations of some sort.
Cool.
So
that sounds so great.
Yeah, I think today's a little more traditional. And then you were happy with the I know that you were excited about the ratings and reviews.
It's been so much fun.
More than we thought.
Yeah, I mean, because it's, you know, you just don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know how a show's going to be received. And like for me, yeah, it's scary to put yourself out there. So it's been so great. So thank you for everyone who has been doing that, giving the ratings and reviews wherever you get your podcast. Please keep doing it. It really matters. You know, we're already hearing from people in the podcast world. They're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
This show is awesome, and the reviews are so great. So find us everywhere that you get your podcasts, rate, review, and then you can follow us on all of our social media channels, you know, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the things. So please, please, please keep it up, and we're going to kind of say that for a while because it really matters, and but we're so grateful. So please know that it matters when you do those things.
Yeah, the show's growing to a place where, you know, it's getting close, where it looks like this could be a show we could, you know, afford to keep doing.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Costs money.
And yeah, exactly. And so we're very excited about that because we want to keep doing this for a long, long time.
Or kind of.
Another reminder from last week, the words, that Sumerian protection spell that you hear at the beginning of the show is in the episode description. So if you want to, you know, say it along or just feel better that you're giving yourself more protection.
Or inviting something in.
Damn it.
And I know a lot of people have jumped over our initial listeners from Time Suck. And I meet people at shows, and I've gotten some feedback recently, like, hey, I wish you would have dug in deeper to this story, or you know, looked at the person telling this story. Not going to do that on Scared to Death, and the reason is when you start trying to punch logic holes in paranormal stories, you can take a lot of the fun out of it. So this is all about suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
And just going with that, what if this person was right? What if what they claim is true? I know that probably not all of these stories are true, but I'm not going to really kind of like focus on that.
Right.
You know, because it's fun. I like to get scared.
Yeah.
And again, like I always say, it just takes one.
Right.
One of these stories is real. Oh, man.
But it helps me feel better when I'm really scared. I'm like, it's not real. It's not real. It's not real. It's not real. Didn't happen. Didn't happen.
And finally, before I preview, if you want to spread this STD, Instagram, Facebook, best ways to do it.
Yeah.
Because our producer, Joe, he puts together these really cool videos every single week. Never more than a minute long, and you can just tag somebody on Instagram. You can share it on Facebook, and that way they don't have to like try and subscribe to a podcast to just get a taste for what we're doing.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, and so please share and post those.
Do it. Do it.
And now, two tales as always.
Cool. Okay.
First tale, a little further explanation.
Just gonna get my blanket.
You get your blanket. One of the items we have here, this debook box that we have here in the studio, we're going to send it by a listener, Tom Butcher.
Oh yeah, Tom.
Going to talk about what this box purportedly is and share the most well-known story involving this professed monster trapper.
Cool. Should I touch it while you're talking?
If you want. You might not want to after you hear this story.
Just kidding. Can I get some hand sanitizing?
Our second story involves a young boy who witnessed the terrible death of a stranger and then appears to have been either haunted by the angry spirit of that unfortunate person or by some dark entity preying upon his memory of that gruesome death to inflict further psychological harm.
Interesting. Okay,
So
I'm intrigued.
Let's get into it. Start with story one. Take a deep breath, get ready. The Debug box it's the haunted object that was actually the inspiration and the basis for that 2012 Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Kira Sedgwick horror movie, The Possession. So that's it features largely prominently in that movie. So what is a debug? This does require some context before we get into the story, or it won't really make that much sense.
Okay.
The book is defined as either a demon or the soul of a dead person that enters the body of a living person and directs the person's conduct. That's kind of important. Directs
Just
the person's
working on
conduct.
this.
A debug is also defined as a malicious,
I might
possessing
slow
spirit
down the
believed to be
eyes.
the dislocated soul of a dead person. It supposedly leaves the host body once it has accomplished
how you
its
been?
goal,
Go pause.
sometimes after being helped.
I'm trying to fix this
The
tail.
legend of the debug originates in Jewish mythology.
I don't like the look of it.
The word itself.
Oh.
The word
Hope
itself
you're
is
doing
derived from a
good.
Hebrew verb that means to adhere, cling.
Yep,
the act
my
of sticking.
persona.
Also,
My
the abbreviated form of
pngtuber.
a term that means the cleavage of an evil spirit. And debug encounters have been written about for centuries. These creatures, demons, ghosts, whatever you want to call them, they were first mentioned in the teachings and reflections of
give
the
you a hug.
Kabbalistic tradition of Judaism. The word
Yeah,
Kabbalah.
and look at that. That doesn't look
Sometimes
too
translated as
bad.
mysticism or occult knowledge.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Kabbalists believe that God indeed works in mysterious ways, but that these ways can be understood. They believe the nature of good and evil can be understood through study, and study of the dark side led to the discovery of the book.
Okay.
So some mystics believe that the books are, some type of demon that escaped from hell itself. Most seem to believe that the books are the restless souls of those who left this world with unfinished business, and that they can latch on to a living person to settle that business. And we're going to go with that interpretation for today's tale.
Okay, I have so many thoughts already.
Okay, good. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So according to legend, the book often preys upon somebody who's already struggling, someone
I'm
suffering
doing
from depression,
okay.
psychosis,
Been
someone
working
habitually using
on a lot of
mind-altering
work
drugs,
this week.
all believed to provide
Took
the
a
ideal
break
environment
today.
for a
Love
book
the
to sneak
airplay.
in, take
You'll
over
have to
one's
show me how the
consciousness.
PNG stuff
Interestingly, while
works
the book may
sometime.
possess
Oh,
someone, that possession does not
as far as I've
manifest
seen,
itself
it's not that
in the
hard.
manner most of us think of when we're
I'll
thinking
just
about
have to implement
traditional
it.
Demonic
But
possession.
all I have to
No
do.
speaking in Latin, no speaking in languages that the possessed couldn't simply know, before the possession.
My
No
sister sent
stigmata,
me the tutorial,
no deep bestial
and I
voice,
was
no
like, "Oh, it's
sacrilegious
not.
threats,
Doesn't seem that
no
hard."
multiple entities trapped inside the same body fighting for control. As can be the case in Christian, especially Catholic possessions.
Yeah.
The book is believed only to be able to possess someone in pursuit of its unfinished business.
Huh.
Also, when it invades a body, it doesn't show up as an obvious, separate stream of consciousness. It doesn't show up as, dramatically as some entity fighting for possession. It's subtler and maybe scarier than that.
That's so scary already.
And the book slowly will take over someone's consciousness, steadily transforming someone's personality into that of whoever the book was in life. And that brings its host along for the ride as it tries to finish that unfinished business. If the book was a heavy drinker or a heavy smoker in life, the host will now become one too. If the book died alone, it will isolate the host from their family and friends so that the book can exist in familiar surroundings psychologically. The book will make the host perform whatever the same sins it did during its own lifetime. If the original person was more promiscuous, the new host can suddenly become more promiscuous.
Dude.
Yeah, the longer the book is inside a person, if it cannot accomplish its goal, it grows angry, wicked, confused, and frustrated. It can drive its victim deeper into despair until they succumb to the
Red
same
Zona
madness
design. I would love to
that
do
the book exists
fan
in.
art.
Oh.
And so the exorcism ritual for the spirit is also
Yeah,
different
I would
from the
love.
ritual
I would
of the
love
demon from
that.
Christian mythology.
Okay.
As opposed to a
Yeah,
priest trying to cast
goat
out
personas
the entity,
need
the
more
rabbi
love.
tries to coax out a lost
I'm just trying
soul.
to
Only
make
rabbis who have
this.
mastered practical Kabbalah are able to perform this ritual. With the rabbi, a group of 10 men, known as a minyan, gather around the afflicted in a circle and pray. And since the book is not considered demonic, the rabbi will attempt to appeal to its humanity.
Let me grab it.
Huh.
He asks the book questions about what it wants from its host, why it's still here. The whole ceremony is meant to communicate with the spirit, appease it so it will willingly leave the person's body. And then the goal is to trick it into attaching itself to an object, the Dibuk box.
Oh,
The
that's where the box.
The Dibuk
okay.
box, yeah. The end of the ritual, seals the spirit into the Dibuk box, where it will remain until until someone opens it, until someone unseals it, and then it can be out and loose in the world again.
Well, let's not do that.
Okay, so that's all the info necessary in order to understand today's tale.
No, there needs to be
Now I'm
more
ready to tell.
love, but the eyes.
Time now for the tale of Kevin Manis's Dibuk box.
And
In the
then
1930s, a
this
Jewish woman
is the
named
other one,
Halava immigrated to America
which
to
I've
escape the
done
rise of
a
Nazism.
little bit of work.
One of the few belongings she brought with her was an antique
So
box.
when I
A family
talk,
heirloom dating
this
back
is what
many
people
years.
will see.
A small sealed wine cabinet. She
Thank you
demanded
for coming
no one
in.
touch.
Go pause. It's
A
been
small
so
box she believed with all of her
long. I
heart
missed
to
you.
contain a dybbuk. And if anyone ever
dybbuk.
broke or opened it,
Oh,
the seal
yeah,
was broken in
dybbuk
any way,
box.
the spirit, angry before it was imprisoned, would be unleashed back into the world, free to attach itself to a new host.
It's
And
been
yet that's the
so
one thing you
good,
brought with
and
you.
I'm
That's
just glad
great.
that I get to see some of the
In
old people,
2003,
new
Halava
people.
died at age 103
Hey,
in
Dr.
Portland,
Cherry
Oregon.
Pie.
She protected the box she feared for over 7 decades, a box her children also feared. A box her grandchildren feared a little bit less. A box her great-grandchildren claimed to not fear at all, but weren't quite brave or curious enough to open it. After her death, Halava's belongings were auctioned off at an estate sale. The antique dealer handling that sale, Kevin Manis, asked her family if they wanted to keep any heirlooms or personal belongings.
Yeah, we've been getting
Such as the wine cabinet
home
that
super
was
late
in,
this week.
nearly
I
perfect
gotcha.
condition despite being
How
well
is
over 100
everyone
years old.
doing? I'm
Halava's
doing
descendants
good.
just
I
wanted
don't
to
know
get rid
how
of what was either a
Goat
cursed
Paws is
relic
doing, but I'm
or
doing
just
good.
an object haunted by nothing more than grandma's
I get,
superstition.
Yeah.
and a lot of people
Assured
ask
Kevin they
me
had no interest in it.
what I
Totally.
appreciate
Family
more.
also couldn't, in good conscience,
Either
not
Goat or
share their
Kai.
grandmother's
I
story
do
with
not
Manis, so we
care.
told him about the dybbuk and everything I told you
Genuinely,
earlier.
I don't care.
Not being Jewish,
I'm
superstitious,
very-
or believer
I'm
in the
very
paranormal.
agnostic
Kevin
about
took the
that.
box, the wine cabinet, back to his antique shop. Days later,
Okay.
a hysterical employee phones him from his shop while he is off at another estate sale.
All right.
She said that when she showed up for work, she heard strange sounds coming from inside his office.
Uh-oh.
His office is where
Going
he
all the
placed
way to
Halava's
7.
box. It sounded like someone was whispering. The whispering especially freaked her out because the doors of the shop
I gotta
were
fix
locked
this
when
tail.
she showed up, and no one else was supposed to be in the building. Making things worse, Kevin's office was also locked inside the building, and she didn't
Oh my
have
God.
a key for his office. Not that she would unlock it if she did. When she tried flipping on the lights, nothing turned on.
Oh dear.
She realized that all the light bulbs inside the shop had been smashed or exploded. There was a strange odor in the building. Kevin raced over to his store to find out what the hell was going on. He found the broken light bulb, smelled the strange odor, which he described as smelling like cat urine.
Ew.
He unlocked his office, found no one inside, nothing out of place. An inventory check revealed nothing had been taken. Couldn't figure out a logical explanation for what had happened. There was no signs of an intruder or a break-in, so who broke the light bulbs? Where did the smell come from? Kevin thought his employee must have just let the lights and the smell spook her and just mentally added the whispering voice.
Men always denying that it's happening.
She was adamant. She was
course she
adamant
was.
that she had heard someone in her boss's office. Days later, she was still so freaked out by
but-
this that she actually quit.
Yo,
She didn't feel comfortable working
Cass.
alone in that building anymore.
Hey, get the fuck out.
I'm glad you're doing
Manis found the
good.
whole
What
situation
about you,
confusing,
Good
but he
Paws?
also
Yo,
thought
how's
his
the
employee had
drawing?
grossly
I gotta
overreacted.
make sure that this works.
Nothing had been taken. Why would anyone come into his office?
I gotta
unlock
fix it.
without damaging the door, move absolutely nothing around in the room, then just sneak out after his employee left, lock up, somehow escape being seen when leaving the building before he showed up? None of it made any sense.
True.
A day or two later, Kevin decided to inspect the old wine cabinet. If it had really been sealed for over 70 years,
God.
it could have some really cool stuff inside.
No.
I might do the same thing.
Of course you would.
This is what he found. 2 1920s pennies, a lock of blonde hair wrapped around a cord,
Ew.
a lock of black hair wrapped around a cord,
Double ew.
a wine goblet, a dried rosebud, a candle holder, and a small statue engraved with the word Shalom on it.
Hello.
It looked like items used in a ritual because that's exactly what they were. These were the items used by a rabbi long ago to trap the dybbuk inside
I
the
do
box.
apologize that I'm not
First, while
talking
Manis
as much as I
remembered what
did.
Halava's family had told
I'm
him,
doing
he didn't
okay.
feel,
I've been busy
anything out of
lately.
the
Still
ordinary
working on
examining
those
the
Monster
contents
Rancher
of the wine
charms.
chest. And he
They
wrapped
look
everything
good.
and shut the chest.
Taking care of
and
yourself?
didn't think
How's
anything
the
of it.
banner going?
Nothing spooked him about
How
this
are you
incident
doing,
opening
buddy?
the chest.
Ah, I've
course
been
not.
doing good.
Soon,
Your
though,
mother
he would become convinced
was a
that the box
hamster.
did hold something evil. A week or so later, Kevin
Thank you
began to
guys
have
so much for
intense
coming
nightmares.
in.
Kevin.
He dreamt of demons, he dreamt of hell, tormented souls, and the dreams which were especially vivid.
Eyes,
One moment, everything could be
just
as normal
working
as a
on,
dream can be.
just
The next,
typing
the
it all
face of
out.
whoever he was
It
talking to would
looks like
twist
this.
and contort. Their eyes would
Cancel.
blacken or roll back in
No.
their heads. Their hands would curl into claws. They'd chase him, follow him, show up behind him as he stared at his own reflection in a window or mirror. Initially, Kevin didn't connect these nightmares with the box.
Okay.
He thought he was just having bad dreams, as people will do from time to time.
Right.
And he gave the box to his mother as a birthday gift.
No.
She had seen it in the shop. She thought it was beautiful. That
So
night,
so
she
far it
suffers
looks
a
like
small
this.
stroke. Even worse, without Kevin.
I've got to finish
telling her the
your
full
colors.
backstory of what this thing
Could you
was.
send me your
As
colors,
crazy as it
by the
sounds,
way? Just
his
your
mother thought
colors.
the
I don't
box
need
had
the
something to
actual
do
picture.
with her stroke.
Just send
She
me
thought she
like
heard something
a
in her
thing of your
house the
colors
night
because I
after he
can't
gave it to her
remember.
when she
I
lay
think
in
it's
bed.
black
Someone
with purple
whispering.
eyes and
She
black.
carefully went downstairs to see if it was her daughter.
And
who had been at
white
her birthday
t-shirt,
party
and
stayed after to
the
help clean
jacket
up.
has a white
Went
stripe
home
going
almost an
down
hour
it.
ago, but maybe she forgot something and had to
I think
come
it should be.
back.
You know what? It's still
Once
in our
downstairs,
Discord.
she didn't
It's
see
fine.
anything.
Of course not.
But she still heard
It's
that
fine.
whispering.
Don't worry about it.
Looking for the source of the sound, she walked right
I'm
up
thinking
to the
about
digger
it.
box.
I literally,
The
I'm like,
whispering
I'm
stopped.
pretty sure
When
it's
she
there.
stared at it, and a chill went down her spine.
Yeah.
It felt alive.
I have a chill.
It felt like it knew that she was there.
And I've got to
That
finish
was when she had the
this.
stroke. And when
I gotta
Kevin came
finish
to visit her in the
this.
hospital, she told him that she wanted the box gone by the time she came home.
Totally.
And
Kevin was
then-
spooked, but he also thought this can't be real.
Kevin.
He told his
yeah.
sister about it.
Damn, son.
She was even more skeptical than he was.
Donate the
And she said that if her mom didn't
Damn,
want it,
son.
she would take it.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I apologize for
Get the
not
fuck out, you
talking
people.
No one
much
believes,
silly. I'm
other
gonna
than the
enjoy
mother
the
now, that
stream
this thing
even if
has,
you
any
focus or
real
listening to the
possession inside, any
podcast.
real
Oh, I
haunting.
love it.
The next
Don't.
day, his sister brings the
What do you
box
mean?
back
I only
to
have
the shop.
picture.
Oh my
I love how
God.
you
She didn't
draw
hear
faces
anything,
so
but
much.
she
Oh,
felt
thank
something
you.
no object had ever made
Thank
her feel
you so
before.
much.
She also said it just felt
I try to-
alive. It felt wrong. It felt
I try
sick,
to make it
strangely
as
dangerous somehow.
interesting as possible.
She had the first
I've
nightmare she could
gotta
remember
redo
having
that,
in years.
but like,
Nightmares.
Kevin told
have
his
to
older
clean
brother now
that.
what had happened with his employee. Told him about how scared his mom got. Told him about this, how how
But
she attributed the stroke
I still
to
have
this
a
box.
lot to do
Told
with
him
it.
about how
But I wanted
spooked
to
her
finish
sister got.
this.
Kevin's brother said he'd take it.
Oh my Lord.
He said he didn't even need a wine
Which-
cabinet, but he would love
this
to
is
show
what
the
it's
rest
at.
of the family how ridiculous they were being. No part of him believed this box was haunted in any way.
That's not bad.
He returns to the shop the next day as well. Tells
No,
Kevin
I'm
that
using,
he and their sister
I'm
and mom
using
must
Clip
have gotten
Studio.
to him because he couldn't sleep, and he heard some strange sort of
Oh,
whispering
thank you.
as well.
By the way, thank you
And
so
when he
much.
walked
Go
into his
pause.
dining room
I do
to look at the
appreciate
box
it. It
and
makes me
turned on the
happy.
light, he could have
Makes me
sworn
happy when
that he saw the
people
box's
notice
shadow
my work.
transform into the shape
Especially
of a
good
person,
artists.
walk along
Great
the wall,
artists,
and
even.
walk out of the room.
Oh,
Great,
no.
amazing
Said it scared the
artist.
shit out of him.
Oh, yeah.
The expressions
Said
are
he
very
probably just
warm and
imagined the whole
lively.
thing.
Oh, thank
He
you.
was, maybe he was even dreaming, but he decided, you know what? He just didn't want to take any chances. He didn't
It's
want
not
this
just the
Yeah, get rid of
eyes
it,
that
man.
look into the
He also
soul.
said the dining room smelled
It's
terrible.
the whole
smelled
body.
like ammonia,
Like cat piss.
like cat piss. Same smell, Kevin's employee had noticed before.
And then that ear
Laughed it all off.
flick. That ear flick.
But Kevin could tell that his traditionally smart-ass, tough
And
guy brother,
then
was truly
that-
afraid
Yeah.
of the Dybbuk box.
I'm afraid right
And
now.
then
Kevin didn't know
I
what to
need
do.
to have
He thought
the
about
regular
burning it.
ear do
I mean, he'd
this,
already
just
unsealed it,
like
and whatever was in it was
that,
out, right?
and then
No,
I'm gonna
but
have a
something
little
inside him
ear
told him
flick
not
there.
to do that.
Do not burn that box.
He felt like whatever was in that box was still somehow inside. Maybe now it was free to leave, but it hadn't left. And if he destroyed it, it would go find a new home, and he didn't want to risk being that new home.
Uh-huh.
He felt sick to his stomach for doing it, but he put it up for sale.
Oh, dear.
He just wanted to get it away from him, away from his family. He gave it center display in his shop.
And then I'm gonna
Put
have
such a
it
good
like
price on
that,
it it sold just a
and
few
the
hours
ear
after he
flick
put it up for
right
sale
here.
to a young
Bam.
couple
It's
that
gonna
had
give a
moved to
good
the
ear
area.
flick.
And then he found it sitting in front of his store
The
3 mornings
expressions are
later
very
with a
warm and
note taped to it
lively.
saying,
Oh
"This
yes,
has a bad darkness."
There's a great artist,
Now
and
I've got the
also
chills.
this is also
Now
talking
what is
about
Kevin Man
everybody.
supposed to do? He's afraid to keep
Everybody's
the
a
box,
good
afraid to get rid
artist
of it.
as far as
He
I've
still wants to
seen
destroy
that
it, but
has
isn't sure what's
joined
going
my
to happen to him
chat.
if he does. He ends up deciding to put
Dr.
it,
Cherry
for
Pep is
sale on
pretty
eBay,
fun.
the
I
online
super
auction
adore
site
the
that
ear
night.
flick.
And he does include an
Big
explanation of everything that
undulate
happened, again, for no
energy.
conscience.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't want to give it to another unsuspecting person. He is now absolutely convinced that
But
this thing
I'm
is
gonna
evil.
get
And it
back
sells
to
almost
work.
immediately. And then it sells again and again. It's sold many times since.
No way.
Each owner reports supernatural activity. Many have
All the way
reported the
back
sounds
to
and a
7.
strange odor. Finally, the cabinet sells to a man named Jason Haxton. Shortly after taking possession of the box, he begins to have health problems.
No.
His hair begins to fall out for no valid medical reason, at least none the doctors can diagnose. He suffers other health issues. The doctors are unable to determine the underlying cause. He'd been perfectly healthy before taking possession of the Dybbuk box.
Get rid of the box.
Also, on several occasions, light bulbs in his home blow out. A strange, nauseating odor fills the room. Like Kevin's brother and some of the eBay owners, he also starts seeing shadowy figures, hearing unexplainable noises.
There we go.
And then one night, Kevin awakens to find a strange, dark figure, possibly that of a woman, leaving his bedroom, just walking out of his bedroom. He jumps out of his bed, scared but curious, goes to the hallway, sees it turn the corner and walk into the living room. He sneaks down the hall after it, far braver than I would be.
Yeah.
Watches in disbelief as the figure seems to disappear into the Dybbuk box.
Ha! Nope.
The next morning, he tries telling himself it was all just a dream, but he knew better.
Nope. Get rid of that fucking box.
Also, the wine cabinet doors will now not stay shut no matter what he does.
It's out.
Even when he firmly closes it, he hears it click shut. He'd later find them wide open.
Ugh.
He does some internet sleuthing and is able to track down Kevin Manis, the guy who originally put it up for sale.
Yeah.
He contacts him, explains all that had transpired, begs him to help uncover the history of the box.
We need more redeems, Law. I'm at 6,000 bar tabs.
Kevin and Jason reach out to Halaba's family.
You do need more
and
things.
her family put them in touch
So you
want to
see the clothes, right? I just DM you on Discord.
Sophia told them that her mother and Havala's mother had supposedly been playing with the Ouija board late one night.
The Ouija board.
Over 90 years ago.
It's always a Ouija board.
The two Jewish girls inadvertently summoned a Dybbuk, and the family legend is that it took possession of Havala's mother, Beryl. Over the next few weeks, Beryl's personality changed substantially. She became obsessed with a woman from their synagogue who said she had stolen what was hers and that she had to pay for it. One night, she told Sophia's mom that this woman had taken her husband.
I just want to make sure
she was going to poison her. Sophia told her parents, who told their rabbi, who brought in another rabbi to perform a ritual to coax a Dybbuk out of Beryl.
Oh, dear.
And that's exactly what they did. They were able to coax it out of her and trap the spirit inside of that cabinet. And then Beryl watched over the box the rest of her short life. She died in her late 30s. She knew it was, it was her fault that this thing had entered this world, and that it was her responsibility to guard it. Before she died, she made her daughter Havala promise to keep watch over the box. And when Havala migrated to the U.S., she brought it with her. She managed to safeguard it, until her death.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so now what was to be done with this troubled spirit? Sophia, put Jason and Kevin in touch with a new rabbi. A new ritual would have to be performed to reseal the Dybbuk in a new box.
Can you get it back?
And quickly, well, this is the legend, quickly before it attaches to someone else, to another object. So that's exactly what they did. Days later, a rabbi, a circle of 10 men, the minion, they pray around this box. Kevin and Jason, neither man Jewish, were not part of the ceremony, but they did witness it. Halfway through the ritual, they hear the whispering.
It's a baby.
They begin to smell
oh my God.
No
it's
more
a
than a minute later, every light bulb in the room goes out.
I love you, big bunny.
The rabbi continued to lead the ritual in the darkness as Kevin and Jason
Are these
turn on
ghost
their phones
stories
as
we're hearing?
flashlights
We've been watching
to see what's
ghost
going on in
videos
the
a
room.
lot lately.
They see the shadow of a woman emerge from the chest. The whispering turns into a wail. She took him. She took him from me. She will pay with her life.
This podcast. I love this podcast. I've been listening to it since 2019. And you know what? There's no fucking copyright claims so far on them. They don't seem to copyright claim people like jackasses, and they don't care.
The rabbi quickly shuts and reseals.
So if that's the case, my thought is that I love their podcast a lot.
This new box in an
and I know they're pretty cool people.
Where no one can find it, no one can break it. They cannot destroy this sad, like this box.
So I'm just making sure that I didn't get copyright claimed, which I did.
Contain it forever. Jason has vowed never to tell anyone where it is and to safeguard the box as long as he lives. But now the question remains, what will happen when Jason dies?
Right.
He is not a young man. And what has happened, when he was no longer able to safeguard the box? What will the spirit do?
No copyright claims.
Who will it make pay for a wrong that cannot be righted?
Which is good. They're pretty good about copyright claims. They're not douchebags.
Is it Madonna?
Is the box Madonna? We do have some pictures.
Because she loves Kabbalah.
Oh, yeah, she does.
She only drinks Kabbalah water.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, she's very into
blessed water. Yeah, I've heard that.
So maybe she's pretty into it.
This first picture is supposedly the box, the original.
Oh, okay.
The wine cabinet.
Yeah, I was picturing something so much bigger, so I was a little bit confused. Okay.
And
Dybbuk boxes are actually
there's one more
pretty
picture
small.
of this neck that kind of shows, when you open it up, it's pretty elaborate. And there's some of the original items. So this is the one, obviously, that the guy got at the estate sale, that then passed around many hands, and then was opened. The mom with the stroke, all of those things.
Right. When you were saying wine cabinet, I was thinking like some
like a
large,
big one, yeah.
like a hutch or something.
Yeah, I guess it's like a little mini. I mean, it's described as a wine cabinet.
It reminds me of a tabernacle.
Okay.
If you're Catholic, tabernacle, they use it to, or like a monstrance also is another thing. It's like a monstrance.
I know this looks like a bunch of fucking colors that mean nothing, but
sits at the back of.
This makes sense to my brain.
Here, it's
just slightly.
Him, and it contains leftover body and blood of Jesus Christ. Is a safe place for keeping it because they bless the bread and the water, right? And so when you have mass and it's not all consumed, it has to go somewhere. You can't just like throw it away. So it lives in a tabernacle. So it's like leftovers, basically, like a religious refrigerator. And then a monstrance is like there are times of the year when you pray and honor the
hello
host,
Haven.
They get like a large one and they
kisses
put it in this,
and
hugs, usually like
hugs.
Gold display case. So it's kind of something in
give
that
those
world.
hugs.
Okay. I get it. I bet that wine cabinet, if we really dug into it, probably has some deeper religious meaning in the Jewish culture.
Gotcha. Yeah, I bet you. Okay.
So sorry for that long explanation, but like I'm sure that's what it.
That's great. Yeah, 'cause I didn't think of that. And then this next one. This is, I guess, what you can look like. Now this is real. This is that is from the movie The Possession. That is the girl possessed by the Dybbuk. So that's their interpretation of that movie.
But I thought, I mean, that's awful. But that's somebody being possessed by the Dybbuk. I guess I thought that it wasn't.
Well, this is Hollywood.
Right.
Yeah, like not like more like a demon. I mean, some people do think it's demonic. And some, Jewish mystics do think that it's not a lost soul, that it is demonic, that it's just a troubled spirit.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kind of interpretation. This next image is what they think it looks like. No, this is real. This is from the movie. That,
hold on, before I look.
Oh my God.
Before I look, is it going to be a picture of Jeffrey Dean Morgan without his shirt on?
Oh no, I know you'd like that. I know you're a big fan of him.
Okay, he's hot. Ah! Yeah.
That's from the movie. I guess that's what they think the Dybbuk looked like.
I'm just gonna stay this way.
But they think like okay, let's say it was a spirit.
Damn it! I thought it was gone.
But let's say it's a spirit that started off as a real spirit that was
gone?
Trying to yes, it's gone now. Trying to finish its business. Now it's back.
Joe, I'm not sleeping already. I don't need that image in my mind.
But there's also people who think that it's not like technically a demon, but it's this troubled spirit.
I've been listening
who has been in
to
anguish
this for
God knows
2
how long
years.
in some cases.
Right.
And it just morphs into this
love
insane
I'm
monster
a
that just wants to,
horror
like settle a
fan.
score.
Settle a score that can't be
So
settled.
we're just
Right, 'cause the
listening to
people
horror
involved in settling the
podcasts.
score
Thank you
died
everybody
a
for
long,
being
long time ago.
amazing. Thank you for coming in, checking me out.
And essentially, like,
Thank you for being awesome.
Ghost.
The regular people
and then
that keep
think,
coming
like,
in.
as it becomes angry
Hugs and
over being
kisses to all of you.
over not
You
being able
know
to figure
you're
out what it
amazing.
wants.
Yeah.
That it just
I'm not
becomes
leaving.
malicious and
It
just hateful
sounds
and,
like I'm
lack
gonna
of a better term,
stop,
evil.
doesn't it?
Now, what about this whole thing about
9.
if you're into psychedelics or doing drugs that like you're more susceptible? I just recently decided that like maybe I was willing to try shrooms, which I've never done. Now after hearing that, I'm fucking back out. I'm out. I was in for like a week and now I'm fucking out.
And that's an angle of thought that some people have about
it makes sense.
A variety of entities where if for whatever reason they want to be sneaky,
Really
we don't
big
have to
fan of
understand
your
why
line
they
with
want. But if they
control.
want to like
I've
not
been
be discovered, they don't want to be as
experiencing
obvious.
with thick
what
lines
better
for
kind of
Charm.
host than sneaking into somebody who's already struggling for some reason mentally. Where it can because then it can be attributed like, oh, there's nothing inside of them.
Have you ever had
any
any
kind of religious
thick
people involved.
lines?
This is just mental illness. This is just some kind of drug
Ladies,
that's altered their mind in a way that can be like unaltered.
Right.
Sometimes you just need
if you think of like a parasite that doesn't want to be found, it doesn't want to have medicine administered to it, it would get to stay, I guess, theoretically in those hosts longer. Would be the thought.
My BF has gotten really
there's another
into
tool of thought that
Pinhead
obviously
lately.
it's like that all of this
Like
is
from Hellraiser? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was reading for the longest time.
Psychedelics
This
say
gay.
that, like, oh, well, it opens up all these like
It was very
pathways in
gay.
your brain, and
This
you go to a
gay.
different level and blah, blah,
It
blah.
wasn't like sexual.
I have said
I
that
thought
I
it
never
was
want you to
funny.
do acid
I thought it was
because
genuinely funny. It was a furry comic where they had
I don't want you to do it anymore.
Jason
ever again.
and
Because
Jason
you don't come
and
back. But what if all those
Freddy
people who didn't come back
as
from a bad trip,
furries and they were also in a gay relationship.
What about this angle? What if
and it wasn't,
I did go into some
it
kind
was
of demon
more of like a
and what if I was like
manga style where it's kind of a comedy and stuff like that?
I heard.
I thought it was funny. And this was when I was like 18. I thought it was funny. I thought it was silly.
Okay, my counter to that is cool. I'll do shrooms, and I wanted to book, and I want a slutty fucking to book, and then I'm gonna fuck everybody, and then I'm gonna say to you like, I finally feel like loved and accepted and understood here.
That might be super hot. How weird are we gonna get?
I was thinking, as usual, you should fucking listen to the women. What is it? I swear to God, these stories.
The sister wasn't. She was skeptical as well.
Until she spent one night with the box.
Okay, that's fair.
And if they would have just listened to their mother. Listen.
Why is that?
Listen to your mom.
Are women more intuitive?
More intuitive, more susceptible, more open to it. I don't know. Easier to permeate.
He
I don't know.
plays Dead by Daylight a lot, and Pinhead is a killer.
Ball on the tee.
Isn't also Pinhead a gay man from Germany?
Now they cleared the air a little bit. Which is fine.
Laughed a little bit. I don't care. I just.
Oh yeah, and then you got the box.
I think that's the lore.
So if anybody wants to open our.
I don't want to open that box after this story. I mean, because.
Hey, let me finish what I was saying.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. If anybody wants to open this box, I would just say, like, you can come here and get it and take it back with you to wherever you came from. It cannot be anywhere close to me. And then you can report back to us.
What if somebody took that box and then we found out they were dead 2 days later?
Okay, well, if you take the box, you have to sign a waiver.
Okay,
I'm not kidding.
Okay, if somebody took the box and they died, be honest, would at least a small part of you kind of be happy that you know it's real?
No.
Would you be willing to sacrifice one fan?
Who's the fan? Who's the fan?
Oh, that decides it. You get to pick. Interesting.
Is it you?
No.
Wait, was there a fly? You know, I think that I'm being haunted by flies.
There's no fly in here.
I swear I just saw one.
But you might be seeing more after this next story, because I think this next story is scarier.
Great. That first story is the kind of story that, like, in the moment, I'm like, okay,
yeah, I'm familiar with that chip and stuff. Furry versions of characters are cool too.
Yeah,
no, I'm cool with it. It's just that
and I love antiques.
I remember it very specifically because I drew fan art of that fucking shit,
that I listened
and
to,
I thought it was like, oh, it's so funny.
Somebody bought a chair.
They're funny, gay,
like an office chair, and then everywhere
I
that
thought
chair
it was
went,
very funny.
It's
still, but also like the artist never drew anything gory or anything like that. I thought it was just silly.
Haunted object story.
Yeah.
We'll have more.
Oh dear.
Are you ready for our next tale now?
I mean,
Brace?
Okay.
It's very funny.
Numerous, if not
I've only
most,
seen the first movie. We were watching the second one with friends. I'm gonna tell you right now, Hellraiser 2 falls apart pretty quickly.
Some great personal misfortune, or betrayal, or other trauma.
If you can stick with it,
anguished spirit remains trapped
it's
in some sort of
not that
purgatorial
bad.
state.
Like,
typically based on
you gotta
eyewitness
stick
encounters,
with
the sad, angry,
with the
and
second
lost spectral
movie,
entity hangs around or
but
haunts
it's.
the geographical
But once you
location of
get
their death,
into it,
the bedroom
you'll
where they
be
hang
like,
themselves,
oh
the
wow.
basement where they were killed.
I'm glad I stuck with this.
Sometimes they haunt where the remains end up, such as the cemetery, where they were buried, or the house built above where their body was hidden.
A lot of horror character fan art can be really fun.
Will haunt someone involved in their death.
I don't know. I just thought it was adorable with them, and they had kids together.
The spirit may haunt someone who had nothing to do directly with their death, but may have witnessed it.
Just
someone maybe they felt could have saved them.
I thought it was.
This next story is possibly one of those examples.
Okay.
Or it could also be an example of a demon or some other type of malevolent entity exploiting the memory of a child, witnessing a tragic and emotionally scarring event. Manipulating that child's fear by manifesting itself as a vision of the thing that haunts the child already. The vision of someone the child
in the comic as well.
Playing off of existing
and I thought
emotional
that was
pain,
just comical to me.
Terrifying torture.
I thought it was very
The following
funny.
story has been adapted
It made me laugh.
a tale a reader sent into an anthology of various supposedly real encounters with the paranormal.
Because they played it off as
our tale, the smell of burning flesh.
Wasn't too sexual.
34 years old, the time he shares his story, seems to have been around 7 or 8 when he experienced something darkly paranormal. He says that he has suffered from anxiety and depression his entire adult life and for most of his childhood. And he knows exactly when his mental suffering began. Witnessing a man die in a devastating car accident. When he was just a toddler, Alfonso's family moved from Texas to Los Angeles in search of better economic opportunities, but those opportunities never were realized. Life in the city was harder and more expensive than the family had anticipated, and when he was still in grade school, Alfonso's father got a job back in Texas, and the family packed up and set out on a road trip through Arizona and New Mexico to return.
Okay.
While driving through the remote Arizona desert, they were one of the first to arrive at the scene of a brutal car accident. A man had smashed into the guardrail and then flipped his vehicle and rolled down the center of the highway. His car was crushed and laying upside down in the middle of the road, a trail of broken glass, scraps of metal, laying out behind it. He was beat up and bloody, but still very much alive.
Oh.
When Alfonso and his parents pulled up, the wreck couldn't have happened more than a minute or two earlier. Alfonso's father parked their car, got out to help him as another man pulled up and did the same. The driver of the wrecked vehicle groaned in pain, cried out for the men to help him. Just, please help me! Get me out of this car!
Oh, God.
Alfonso's watching and hearing all of this. His father and the other man, they get down on their stomachs. They try and, undo the wounded stranger's seatbelt as he struggles in his seat to release him. Due to how damaged his car is and the fact that it's upside down, they can't reach the buckle to release it. One of the driver's arms clearly broken. He can't reach below his chest with the other arm. The steering wheel is jammed into his chest from the crash, making accessing anything below his stomach incredibly difficult. Alfonso's father has a pocket knife and wants to cut the man's seatbelt off, but when they cut off the shoulder portion of the seatbelt, somehow the lap section gets jammed up and it won't release, so he's still trapped.
Shit.
They can't open any of the doors due to how smashed up the doors are. They quickly realize they're, going to have to kick this windshield in to get this guy out, and which is going to be almost impossible because of the fact that they need to lay down in order to do that due to the car being upside down.
Right.
It's hard to get the leverage needed to actually kick this windshield in. Also, this happens in a time before cell phones. So, they can't just call authorities from where they are, so they start to figure out who should drive where. Neither one of them are from the area, these guys trying to help. Where do you go to alert the closest authorities? That's when they first see the smoke.
Shit.
Yes, the driver understandably begins to panic when he sees it as well. Just, please hurry, it's catching on fire.
Oh, God.
Get me out. Alfonso's dad desperately decides to just violently rip the guy out of the car.
Ooh.
But when he yanks on this guy as hard as he can, the guy screams out in pain but doesn't budge. Like he is trapped in this car.
Fuck.
Then he sees the flames. Alfonso's mother yells at his father, telling him to get away from the car.
Early mid 2000s. It's okay, Dr. Cherry Pep. Thank you.
Alfonso's dad says, "I'm sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Cherry Pep."
Oh, God.
He starts to crawl away when the driver grabs a hold of his shirt with his one good arm. Please don't let me burn alive.
Oh, God.
His father, smoke all around him, flames almost touch him, apologizes again, "I'm so sorry." He tears loose of the man's grip, quickly gets on his feet, backs away as flames reach the driver.
Thank you for being awesome.
To scream, "Help me! Help me!" His skin starts to burn. He seems to stare wild-eyed and in pain directly at young Alfonso. Or at least that's how Alfonso would later remember it.
Oh, God.
Everyone watches helplessly for what seems like an hour as this guy burns alive.
Oh, God.
It seems like he would never stop screaming. He quickly becomes completely engulfed in flames. He's still screaming.
Jesus.
Slamming his body violently around in a futile last attempt to escape. Finally, as his skin is blistered
Thank you.
and cracked
If y'all need
bleeding,
me, I'll be in the
skin,
darkness.
seeming to melt
It's
off
okay.
of his,
It's all right.
skeleton, he goes quiet, and then his body is still.
Yeah, give
and he just keeps
that
burning.
doctor a good
By
hug.
the time the paramedics finally arrived, the car and the man inside had burned down just a blackened corpse. A big twisted pile of metal and glass around him.
So sad.
So sad. Alfonso says he still remembers the smell. The smell of gasoline, rubber from the tires mixed with the haunting smell of burning human flesh. After giving a statement to the highway patrol, Alfonso's father and the family start driving again. Young Alfonso, understandably, couldn't stop thinking about what he just witnessed.
Oh, my God.
Couldn't stop hearing the screams. Couldn't forget the smell. He laid awake for what felt like most of that night in the hotel room. Over the next few weeks, of course, he has nightmares.
Yeah.
And then the intensity of the memory slowly starts to fade away. And Alfonso has new problems now to deal with. After getting settled into the family's new house, Alfonso had gone back to school, and he didn't fit in. When he started school, he's already a shy kid.
Yeah.
He finds himself even more withdrawn than normal when he shows up because he's fucking traumatized from this recent accident.
Like PTSD.
He doesn't make a good first impression with the classmates, so now he's kind of a social pariah.
Oh.
When he comes home from school, his parents, they're still at work, busy with new jobs. He starts spending most of his time alone in his world of imagination inside his room, playing with his toys. It's his little sanctuary. Initially, that room, is a peaceful sanctuary. And then, he's a place where he can escape getting lost in his thoughts.
Hope you're doing well.
This guy die. I mean,
have
what
a good
traumatic
work.
event to witness as a young kid.
And thank you for being amazing, Delon.
The energy in his room starts to shift.
Let's see.
Somehow it stops feeling peaceful. Suddenly, in the midst of playing, he starts feeling what he would later describe as an oppressive force descend upon him. No idea what was causing it. No idea where it came from. Felt like it would surround him. He said it felt tangible, like the way you can feel humidity stick to your skin on a hot Texas day. Soon this dark, heavy feeling began to make him feel physically ill. He'd feel sick to his stomach, and then after a few days of this going on, he actually starts to occasionally vomit from feeling so just sick to his stomach, this heavy feeling in his room. After a few days of complaining of constant stomach pains, occasional vomiting, Alfonso's parents decide to take him to a doctor. The doctor can't find anything physically wrong with him. He feels that Alfonso's problems are probably psychosomatic. Essentially, it's all in his head. His stomach pains were probably just a symptom of stress. Yeah, some kind of PTSD, anxiety he'd been dealing with due to, moving to a new town, starting a new school, witnessing something so horrific, a lot of change, a lot of stress. The doctor recommends Alfonso see a counselor, but that just wasn't an option. In Alfonso's family, in his Mexican traditional blue-collar machismo subculture, his dad felt that going to see a counselor was admitting that you were crazy or weak or both. Counselor was just a waste of money, and essentially he just tells his son to man up.
Yeah,
Alfonso's
I love
father decides his son just going through a phase, and he's a toughen up. And so back to his room.
You guys are great.
Oh, man.
And the feeling of that mysterious, heavy, oppressive force hadn't left, and it begins to intensify.
Oh, dear.
Alfonso would start to feel like he was suffocating, and he'd leave his room to go watch TV in the living room, play outside, help his mom in the kitchen, anything to not be in his room. And at work during the day, unfortunately, he still has to sleep there.
Right.
At first, he started, tries crashing on the couch, but his parents would just wake him up and send him back into his room. Late one night, laying in his bed, surrounded by that strange, oppressive feeling, a new source of fear begins to emerge from the darkness.
Uh-oh.
Now suddenly, Alfonso feels that something more than just a vague, overwhelming, and negative force is in his room. He feels the presence of an actual entity, something sentient. That first night, he can't see anything, but he can feel something standing in the far corner of his room, behind his door. Something is watching him, something predatory. In true little kid fashion, he pulls his blanket up over his head, tries to hide, hoping whatever he was just, feeling that was in the room will just go away, but he still feels it. He knows it's still right there, still watching him from the corner. He lays awake for what feels like most of the night before finally falling back asleep. When his mother wakes him up, he gets dressed as fast as he can, gets out of his room, happy to spend the day at school, where he still doesn't have any friends, but at least he didn't feel the presence of whatever that was the night before.
Yeah.
Exhausted from his long night, he falls asleep in class.
Oh, shoot.
Teacher calls his house, talks to his parents. Now he's in trouble. When he gets home, he gets sent directly to his room.
Uh-huh.
Grounded for not paying attention in class. As soon as he opens his bedroom door, he can feel it. That same heaviness descending upon him. That night, he hears it for the first time. As he lays in his bed,
Oh, no.
covers pulled up over his head, the feeling of something else being in the room with him intensifies. Then he hears what distinctly sounds like footsteps. He hears the floorboards creak under the weight of something that sounded like it was walking towards his bed.
Fuck me.
From the same corner of his room behind the door.
No.
When this thing, whatever it was, makes it to the foot of his bed, he can hear it stop. He can feel it watch him.
No.
With a fierce intensity. He becomes convinced that if he looked out from beneath his blankets, he will see it. He is so convinced that he never looks. He stays hidden.
No way.
But eventually, he has to go to the bathroom.
Oh, God.
He closes his eyes, throws off his covers, scampers across his bedroom floor, finding the door by memory, feeling around for going to the bathroom. He returns to his bed the same way, blindly running towards his bed, quickly throwing the covers up and over his face, and then the thing is gone. The feeling of something standing there, suddenly gone, somehow, went away when he left the room. He falls asleep and wakes up the next morning. His room still feels off, still feels wrong, but also doesn't feel like anything is with him. And that's as bad as things would get for the next several weeks. The dark and oppressive atmosphere remains, but it no longer felt like something was watching him.
Okay.
And he kind of just gets used to it. He starts sleeping through the night. He eventually stops hiding under the covers. When he comes home from school, he keeps himself busy, plays outside of his room still until he has to go to bed. His room still feels off, but that was it. And then suddenly, of course, it's back.
Of course.
More powerful than ever. One night, shortly before falling asleep, Alfonso once again gets the distinct feeling that something is watching him from the corner of his room. His stomach drops. Somehow, having that sensation go away long enough for him to let his guard down, only to return now, seems worse than if it had just been there the entire time.
Totally.
He feels an overwhelming sense of dread, pulls the covers over his head, hears the footsteps again. Unlike last time, he decides to peek out from under his covers to see if there is really something there. Something now standing at the foot of his bed. Make sure this isn't just all in his head like his dad keeps telling him.
Scary Ghost Story makes me want to watch more Nuke's Top 5.
He sees the figure of what seemed to be an adult man standing just past the foot of his bed.
Spooks is great,
a man
too.
who looked like he was made of smoke.
Number 11.
Soft, slightly
Number
moving,
15.
like a dark, billowing cloud, darker than the surrounding night, in the shape of a person. Even though this thing had no noticeable eyes, Alfonso can feel it staring right at him. He slips back underneath his blankets, closes his eyes, and starts to cry. He wants to yell out for his parents, but he's afraid they will, they won't see it anyway. He just get in trouble. He's afraid of what this thing might do if he cries out. So he just lays awake most of the night. When his mom wakes him the next morning, the smoke man is gone. He tells both his parents what had just happened. Of course, no one believes him.
No one.
Afraid of getting in trouble, he manages to stay awake at school that day. And then that night, he sneaks out and tries hiding and sleeping in the living room again.
Oh, poor baby.
His dad finds him again, of course, sends him back to his room, getting more annoyed by all of this. The dark cloud in the shape of a man returns that night.
Fuck.
Once again, walking from the corner of his room behind the door to the foot of his bed, another sleepless night. Alfonso sneaks out of his room again the next night to avoid this thing. His father again finds him, of course, threatening now to ground him in his room for weeks. Alfonso just gives up on trying to escape after this. Sleeping under his blankets, the creature returns night after night. He just stays there, hides under his blankets, feels terrified.
I love the pattern on the tail.
And just hopes it will go away. Occasionally, his mom will come to check on him.
It's a snake tail.
Sometimes walking in right when the smoke man is watching him.
Tail.
She never sees it.
Shit.
It goes on like this for several weeks, night after night. Then he hears it breathe.
Oh no.
After hearing it walk from the corner to the foot of his bed, after feeling the thing stare, he hears
it's big
raspy
old
breathing.
scales.
Alfonso pulls his blanket down just far enough to look at it.
Where
he sees the man again, made out of dark smoke, but now the smoke begins to drift away.
Did you see
Behind the smoke is the body of a man. Nothing monstrous, something that seems so real. Just an average-looking adult. No dark, black-eyed children eyes, no red shadow person eyes. He looks a little bit like one of Alfonso's teachers at school, actually. Short, a bit pudgy, roughly Alfonso's father's age, short, dark brown hair. And that was the way he looked. And the way he looked at Alfonso, also terrifying. He stares at Alfonso with the most intense anger and hate that young Alfonso had ever felt. Alfonso meets his gaze is immediately basically hypnotized. His body freezes. He suddenly can't move or make a sound. He just lays there for what feels like an eternity, locked in a paranormal staring contest of sorts with what seems to be the ghost of a man who despises him.
Yikes.
After what seems like hours, the man turns, walks back to the corner behind the door, and vanishes.
What?
The next morning, Alfonso's mom is the one that comes into his room to wake him up. When she comes in, he's like broken. He's sobbing. When she touches him, he jumps. His eyes are wild, wide open with fear. Like he seems like he's had a breakdown.
Yeah.
Suddenly scared, his mother asks him what has happened. He tries to tell her, but she can't even make out what he's saying because he's like hyperventilating. Basically, he's crying so hard. His mom is worried that he really had some kind of like mental breakdown. He's like, that he's gonna have to go. This is really severe now.
This is my future.
Right. When he finally tells her what had happened, she assumes that he must just be having severe night terrors, which are a real problem for some kids.
That's true.
So she tries to convince his father, like, he needs to see a therapist. Like, this is serious. His dad still will not budge.
Get the fuck out of here.
Too embarrassed by the thought of his friends, family, neighbors finding out that his boy is weak, he tells him he's got to fucking get over this. Just toughen up. Just stop this.
God.
His dad does at least start letting him sleep in the living room.
Okay.
And immediately things get better. No more strange man. No more feelings of being watched. Alfonso starts sleeping so well that his dad decides, time to go back to your room.
Oh.
Can't stay in the living room forever. The very first night he returns to this room, so does this thing.
It's back.
And now what Alfonso experiences is far worse than before.
God damn it.
Alfonso is not hiding under the covers this time, and it shows that he's angry. He hates this thing that's been haunting him. What has he done to deserve this? Why him? He summons all of his courage, tries to be tough like his dad wants him to be. And he keeps his eyes on the corner behind the door. He waits for the son of a bitch to return, and sure enough he does. Suddenly the heavy atmosphere of dread intensifies. It feels tactile again. Like a malevolent mist settling on his skin. And then the man, not surrounded by smoke at all this time, walks directly out of the corner of his room, his face contorted in a look of rage and hate that intensifies, with Alfonso's, presence right there. He locks eyes with Alfonso as he walks to the foot of the bed. Or, I'm sorry, it seemed to have intensified like with his absence. Like once he was gone for a few hours, it's like this guy's like pissed or what this thing is.
How dare you leave me?
Then as Alfonso sits once again paralyzed with fear, the smoke returns, starts to rise up around the man, billowing, swirling around him. Then the man opens his mouth, and the most anguished scream Alfonso had ever heard pours out. It's deafening. He waits for his mom and dad to come burst into his room. This had to have woken them. Probably woke up half the neighborhood, but no one comes. Even worse, as the man screams, the flesh on his face begins to split. Blood begins to pour out. A familiar scent fills the air, the smell of burning rubber, human flesh. The man's skin begins to bubble and blister and blacken. His blood begins to boil. His eyes literally melt, shriveling up in their sockets until only black, hollowed-out pits remain.
Gross.
His hair smokes, sizzles, disappears. Sizzling flesh begins to fall off of his bones. His face, soon his face gets a skull with a few blackened piece of meat clinging to it, and he is still screaming. No eyes, but he is still staring. The moment he stops screaming, his bones fall to the floor in a pile. Alfonso, it's like a spell was broken, finally begins to scream himself, and his parents do hear that. His mother rushes into the room, tries to console him. He tells her that everything, that had just happened. She tries to convince him it was just a bad dream. He's just having these nightmares. Then his dad comes in, and his dad sees two burnt, darkened spots on the hardwood floor beneath his bed. They look almost like footprints, like someone burning had been standing there, and he could still smell the smoke.
No way.
For the first time, his parents, both of them, now take Alfonso seriously. They talk to their priest, who comes over, blesses both their home and Alfonso. They also call upon a bruja, who comes over and cleanses the home again. Bruja is like Spanish for like a witch.
Oh, okay.
Or a bruja, a practitioner of brujeria, which is like a blend of occult folk magic and Catholicism.
I want one.
Between the priest and the bruja's cleanings, or cleansings, it works. The man's gone, as is the heavy and oppressive feeling. Alfonso's father apologizes over and over for not taking his son seriously. Also asks his son to describe in detail what did this man look like. And the answer made his father turn as pale as a ghost. Because his son described, as you know, as you would guess, in perfect detail, the man who had begged Alfonso's father to save him before being burned alive.
Yeah.
And while the ghost, or whatever was in Alfonso's bedroom, is never returned, he's still haunted by that car accident.
Well, yeah.
He says that he still, when he closes his eyes, he can see that man burning away to nothing. He can still hear his screams. Worst of all, he can still smell his burning flesh. Yeah. It's a crazy story, right?
Yeah. Did I ever tell you about the time that I saw a guy crash his motorcycle in LA and go flying?
No, you saw it happen.
I saw two really bad motorcycle accidents. And it's like in my mind, it was just kind of like playing. One, I wasn't driving, I was in the car with somebody else.
I got into a fender bender once,
I
and I didn't even bend the lady's
how you can operate
bumper. All I did was tap her accidentally, and she got so mad.
Cars, like just as if you are a car, but other places you can bob and weave. And in LA, you can bob and weave. And this guy was
trying to get home, and once that one time that
really
happened,
sticky traffic on I think we were on the 10, and the next thing you know, you just see the bike
where it's bumper to bumper,
and him.
I now no longer I stay as far away from
you're crawling
people
traffic,
as possible.
I mean, I don't know
when
if he
driving.
made it. And then another time when
I'm
I was
like, if I can, I will make sure that I am nowhere near you.
I think it was maybe Pico, like across town, and you go underneath the bridge over, like the overpass, as if you were passing like CAA and Century City Mall. there's that little weird little kind of like hill.
Five,
you know,
I know.
I have 6 more
on the right.
to do.
Exactly what you're talking about.
And I remember coming up to that little spot and
Avenue of the Stars. That little
right
area.
over there. Yeah. Exactly. And I remember coming up to it, and there was a bike, a motorcycle splaying out, and a like a tarp over a body.
Oh man. I saw one motorcycle thing. I mean, because there's if anybody living in LA listening to this, I mean, odds are you, if you've lived there long enough, have seen something similar.
Oh yeah, it's inevitable.
Because those motorcycles were constantly whipping in between traffic at crazy rates of speed, you know, because they can legally, technically be able to do that, but it's so dangerous. And people are always on their phones, not paying attention.
I hope your guys' day is going well as well. Thank you so much for coming in, just checking me out. Thank you for staying with me.
What's happening on Facebook today?
And I saw, you know, I could see in the distance when I was coming back from Burbank, when I was working up there at the Victory Empire Plaza.
Empire Plaza, yeah.
And going across.
What do you think, 8-Ball?
Terrible, but cutting across that Burbank with the freeway that cuts to the 405 to drop down.
Like the 170.
Maybe the 170. Yeah, maybe the 170. Yeah. I'm terrible with the numbers, but anyway, I could see the traffic. There was no.
The 134.
Yes, the 134. I think it was. Yeah, there was no traffic coming towards me at all. I'm like, well, that's weird.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
There's never like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There's never no cars.
I should.
And then in the distance, I could see just a wall of cars.
I've got cups of
and a bunch of police cars.
I could have a cup of ramen.
Yeah, just one motorcycle.
Ramen is always good. Oh yeah.
And one body way out in front of the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Not moving. So yeah, it's like it didn't look good.
No. That story's terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh my
truly,
God.
Truly. I mean, I've never seen anybody die. But
can you imagine watching someone die in that way?
I mean, that would be like my worst nightmare as just a human, just as a person, a citizen, like seeing an accident and wanting to be able to help somebody and then not.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I actually thought it was going to get worse. I thought that the dad was also going to be trapped and they were going to burn together.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a few pictures, of course.
Of course.
First picture, this is...
April, will I actually get my holiday? Save me, Marina.
This is like a entity that's on fire. The face of like some burning skull thing. This is
I don't think you
from a short horror film called Burning Man.
I think you'll get it.
This next one is from a movie that you and I saw. This is a burning person from Hereditary.
Oh, yeah.
Something that's kind of like what he saw at the foot of his bed, you know, something catching on fire and I guess the smoke.
Tony Collette was in that movie, right?
Yeah, that's her right there. Yeah. I love that movie.
I remember.
You didn't like it as much.
Yeah.
I thought it was scary.
Yeah.
Joe, our producer, he thought it was scary.
Well, you guys are weenies.
Here's another Burning Man picture. This is Joe and I in Burning Man.
That's awesome. I was waiting for a Burning Man picture. Did you guys get married?
We got married in Burning Man.
Oh, you guys are such a lovely couple.
Thank you.
That guy on my right looks like a weird version of Pee Wee Herman.
Like a well-fed Pee Wee Herman?
Yeah. Can you see it in the face?
Yeah, Paul Rubin a little bit in the face. I just love there's so many pictures to choose from Burning Man. And then my very favorite Burning Man of all time. And this is truly, I'm not making it my favorite.
Not
I think of like
here.
A burning
That's okay,
guy.
Board. Kisses,
I go back
hugs.
Ways, but I think of
you know
this.
we love
I
you.
think of this is that's Fire Marshal Bill, Jim Carrey, A Living Color.
Oh, that's so great.
Let me tell you something.
How's it go?
Let me tell you something.
God, he is
try to do that all the
genius.
time as a kid.
I hope so.
One of the
Been
funniest
there
characters in the show
2
history.
years
That guy, he's always
and
on
never
fire.
had a
How are we not
holiday. I
watching
didn't
that with
have
our
to go
kids?
in
Oh my
for
God.
something.
Kyler would be shitting his pants laughing.
Okay. Yep. We're gonna
Put it on the list.
putting that on the list.
Let's move it up in front of Third Rock from the Sun.
For sure.
For sure.
I would. Oh my God. So good.
Oh my
So good.
God.
So what do you think on this? Going back to this Alfonso story, do you think? I mean, obviously there's an argument that it was all in his head, you know. But the footprints, you know, if that was part's true, that his dad smelled the smoke too. That makes it a little harder to think it's in his head.
I think it's
so
psychics.
Let's say it's not in his head. Is it the ghost of the man from the accident, or is it just some entity that was already in that room of the new house?
And it took on that form?
And it's just using that to fuck with him.
I don't know, because like I was thinking about too. I mean, I hate to constantly be talking about our house, which we'll get there in a second.
Oh yeah.
But like, what if the guy that did live in our house and had this heart attack? You know, what if he? Because we always have said that our house has good energy.
Right.
But what if he's like a pathway for some other terrible thing? Like what if entities can attach to each other? It's kind of what I'm thinking. So you'll have like you know, a spirit that's with you that is peaceful, and maybe it's like your, you know, your mom or your whatever, a friend.
Haven't had many holidays off, and I haven't had an actual vacation in 13 years.
What if a bad entity attaches to that and comes through the good entity to get to you? That's kind of
because of the grocery store I work at, I get Thanksgiving.
In that room.
I get Easter.
Could have been bad.
And I get
but then he has this
and I get Christmas. So there's nothing I can do.
Really
I can't even work on them if I wanted to. They're closed.
To get to the kid.
Don't go
really
there.
Ultimately to get to the dad. As like a fuck you. Like I also was thinking like, oh, you didn't save me. Well, now I'm gonna fucking take your kid from you, kind of thing.
That just gave me the chills. I didn't for some reason think about that possibility.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, why wouldn't it go after? Why wouldn't it go after the dad? Well, it's
about the same for vacation law.
Like, what's worse than that, going after their kid?
Yeah.
Eesh.
I know. I don't know, and
it's a sad story.
I'm surprised, actually, in that specific story. I understand.
You know, sometimes ghost stories can't be all fun and games.
To not go to therapy right away. I can't believe they just didn't start praying all of the time.
Yeah.
Like, why weren't there a shitload of Our Lady of Guadalupe candles?
Oh yeah.
I didn't even know what was coming today. But yeah, I mean, like, why weren't there prayer candles? Why weren't they going to church? Like, that seemed weird to me.
I think because they just didn't buy it all. I think because they thought, like, well, he's stressed out from the move. They knew what he had just seen.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they're talking about that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I would imagine, because I was wondering, like, at what point, okay, you know, put in our own lives,
well,
let's say, you know.
Pay a vacation someday. Like, I'm not paid enough.
We see something like that.
God, I just thought about something. Go ahead.
I have to go
see me try to pull somebody out of a burning car.
Go on,
can't do it.
leave a few times in 2020.
And then they start claiming they're having
because of plague. Every time a coworker got COVID, I took time away. Oh, man.
Think about what you just saw. I don't. It would take me a long time to think that it was.
I got multiple emails from my work being like, "We think that somebody at your store has recently had
we were at Dodger Stadium.
the COVID."
Haunting of Dodger Stadium. Oh my God! Well, now I gotta say the story. This is ridiculous. It is funny that Kyler is still irritated by this, and I'll explain why I didn't do it. Yeah, we go to Dodgers games, and we're sitting in the front of like the upper deck. Or maybe like the mid deck.
Whatever, doesn't matter. But
doesn't
like
matter. But high up
towards the front.
Foul ball shoots up our way. We're back behind like first base, and a foul ball shoots back towards our way, and it did. I was like, oh my God, this is actually coming right towards us.
Yeah.
And I went to reach out for it like over the railing, but then I had just read a story that right before that happened. It was Texas Rangers. I think it was in their ballpark.
I think so.
Josh Hamilton, I think, was the outfielder that was doing it. Some guy went to reach for a ball that going towards him in the outfield, and he reached too far and he fell to his fucking death.
Yeah.
So I started to reach. I'm like, I'm not gonna die. Going for a foul ball. And then if I would have just reached like 3 inches further, I would have caught it. Yeah. And Kyler has been upset for years.
Do you know who?
That was his one chance to get a foul ball at a baseball, and he's just like, you could have just grabbed it. You could have easily grabbed it. He was upset, really upset the rest of the game.
You know, like, older men of a previous generation aren't afraid to do that, because like my dad caught foul balls for me at the old Cleveland Indians Stadium.
But yeah, I got multiple times.
I know. If my dad or my grandpa, I'd be hearing it even worse.
Oh yeah.
If my grandpa could just hear what I just said, he'd be like, oh God, so dramatic. You hear about one person dying.
It is scary though.
But yeah,
like you're at the edge, and you didn't have. Here's what I'll say in your defense.
I've got multiple emails of that, and I'm like, well, I need to work.
Like nothing. It was just you.
There's nothing else
and there's
I can
a reason
do.
I didn't just tear shit up in high school.
I could take time off, but it's not too bad. It's seriously, I think I take precautions as necessary as I could. I'm literally in, thank you. But I'm literally in the seafood department. I'm literally beside one person. The case is already making it 6 feet away. So I'm pretty sure I've been good so far. I don't think I've caught anything. I've been very good. I've been very safe.
Welcome.
But I mean, if you need to take a break because you don't feel safe, that's totally fine too.
How's it going?
Good, good. I'm very excited for today's tales.
Look what I got.
Yeah, you get a little protection cross. What's that called?
It's called a hand cross.
I never.
Hand cross?
A hand
You know,
cross. So
you're in
it's
charge of your own
shaped in a
personal
specific way
safety,
to make it
and you got to
comfortable
take
hold
care
onto.
of yourself.
I think you're supposed to clutch it to your heart.
The cross very fitting for today's tales. Very,
yeah?
very fitting.
Okay. Also, don't worry. Don't get too excited. I got an amulet.
Ooh.
Now,
little protection amulet.
Yeah, it's hard to see, I'm sure.
From a fan, correct?
From a fan in Portland, yes. And she told me I have to have it on my skin.
Okay.
Skin to amulet.
Portland was wonderful to us this year.
Come on, it was
so fun. Stand up if you're curious. If you're listening, it was a stand-up shows for me, but Lindsay came, and
So
a lot of people in the meet and greet loved talking to Lindsay about Scared to Death, so it was great.
Yeah, there's a lot of other people who are fucking freaking out. So I feel good.
Good. Well, it's Halloween week. Happy Halloween.
But yes,
Happy All Hallows
I
Eve.
don't like this
Happy
tale.
All Saints Day. Happy Samhain.
Samhain, what's that?
I hate everything about this animation.
Okay, are we talking about
I've
that
spent
today, or you
way
just,
too long on it. I don't like it.
Feels fitting, a little
What do
culty,
you
almost
guys
sounding 'cause it's
think?
pagan.
Do you think
I
I
know
should
it
just
Hope the
stick
harvest has
with
been
it,
good for
finish it
everyone.
completely, see
Hope
how
the door
I feel
between
about
the worlds of
it?
the living and the dead not too open for anyone.
Oh, I wish that they would just slam shut at this point. Please leave me alone. Thank you.
We have a very, very Satan-y week here at Bad Magic Productions. On Time Suck, we talked about the Church of Satan in a very analytical, kind of Anton LaVey, historical way. And now 2 Satan-y tales today that are, I think, much more scary than what I was talking about on Time Suck.
Okay, well, I'm just hoping that, like...
Because that's how I feel right now. I'm like,
haunted by Satan, no.
I just want to finish this so I can finish this pngtuber. It's something that nobody's going to fucking see.
Week. Apparently that's the scariest episode yet for many listeners.
Yeah, the Burned Alive, right?
Burned Alive and the Dybbuk box.
Oh, it's still sitting here. Now, I know we're going to dive right into it, but I just want to say one thing.
I'm being too harsh, that's fine.
Dybbuk, whatever.
That's fine.
Various pronunciations.
I'll finish it up.
We've had a few people offer to come and get it.
I'm not going to be mad at myself.
Just know that if you're listening, we're working on it.
I'm going to finish it up.
The people who've offered, people want to open it in front of us, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Thank you,
Haven. Speaking of listeners,
if you think I'm being too harsh and you think that
for listeners, we've had a lot of requests for
I can finish it up real easily, then I'll finish it up.
Okay, so we're starting with this. Got it.
We're starting with this. We're thinking
I'll finish it up.
And campers.
I'll see what I think at the end.
Or are you a camper?
Can I be both?
No, you can't actually. You got to be one or the other, because the kind of horror fan who could live on a steady diet of murder, demons, shadow people, still not to leave the light on. You know they don't need it. You know there's no such thing as too much terror for you. You're a creep.
I am not a creep. I am
You're
definitely. I'm a camper.
Camper, you like to gather around the digital campfire here we've made.
Yeah.
You know, you like horror, you like getting chills, you like
myself
goosebumps, but you also hate it so much.
I hate it.
Because this stuff scares the shit out of you.
And you're not sleeping.
You're not sleeping.
Then
Maybe you have the nightlights
I'll
on.
be nice.
You know, you're on the edge of getting the
What
nightlights.
even is this radio? The podcast is named Scared to Death.
I'm a camper.
So creeps and campers, we're going to try that out.
Okay.
2 tales today.
All right.
Along the same theme, and then we'll talk.
I love the podcast. It's very fun.
Talking about Satanism in the first story,
and I haven't.
did a man in the late 1970s
I know I'm not going to get a copyright claim from them.
And after
I don't think I ever will. They seem like really nice people that are like, hey, if you're not a dick, we're not a dick, kind of thing. And they want to spread their podcast as much as possible.
Massachusetts,
and I have hours and hours of work to do. And I was going to listen to something anyway. So why not just put on my favorite horror podcast, work with you guys, because I don't want to fucking, I don't want to listen to like metal and stuff like that. I know I won't get copyright claimed with them. As far as I've seen, I'm not getting copyright claimed anytime soon.
Scared to Death My Stories this week. Very excited for that.
You could do a go. You are the master of the animation.
Send it in to mystory@scaredtodeathpodcast.com.
I've worked on this for hours, but I'll never like it. And the pixels I'm messing with are so small, no one will notice anyway. Etc. Mood. Yeah.
I've got some new. It's a difficult angle. You know,
it's something that nobody's gonna see, but I need to finish it. And once I get this finished, I can shade all this, and then I can start working on this.
I'm gonna keep my shoes on.
Finish this.
Everyone thinks.
And then I can, have it right here.
Okay.
I can literally have it right here.
Unicorn socks, protection blanket.
Or right here. Either one doesn't matter.
Time now.
I can put it right here and just have it go.
In 1956, Martin Friedman was
every
born
time
into a middle-class Jewish
I do
family in New
something.
York
I
City.
think it'll be really
His parents
fun.
weren't overly religious, but they did keep the customs and the traditions of their faith and educated their children
I know
likewise.
that they're not
Martin attended
they're
Hebrew
not
school,
going to
where he learned to
copyright
read,
claim
write,
me.
and speak Hebrew. At the age of
It's
13,
made
he
from the
celebrated his
comedian
bar mitzvah.
Dan Cummins.
Time young Martin identified
I
as Jewish,
like his
not just
work. I
culturally,
like his
but in the sense of the Jewish
I like
faith
his
as well.
other
He
two
believed.
podcasts, and I
Then in
love all his
1972, when
comedy.
he was 16, he lost
I
it.
think he is a dick.
It was Rosh Hashanah, Jewish
But
New
also,
Year,
like,
and attendance at
I
the temple
agree
service
with him,
required the purchase of a ticket,
which
as is
is
customary
very
for the
funny.
high holidays.
Like, I think
Martin had
he's
his tickets and was waiting
100%
for
a
things to begin when he saw an elderly
but
woman
I
looking
think
for a
he's
chair in
funny.
a crowded space, seeing no empty seats. Martin got up and offered her his seat. Immediately, an usher came over and told him
I'd
he
love
couldn't
to
do that.
draw to
The
some
woman hadn't bought a
Minecraft
ticket and therefore
music,
was
to
not
be
entitled
honest.
to a seat, the usher explained.
Hey, you know, everybody
Martin looked
has
at him
their own
dumbfounded
thing.
and
I
laughed and just walked
genuinely...
out. Just like that. he had
This
enough.
is also a thing of like...
Maybe a bit dramatic.
I don't want to
This
watch
is the moment that
something,
caused him
I
to
want to
depart from his
listen
Jewish
to
faith,
something.
and he never again set
I
foot
like to
in a
draw to
synagogue.
goat streams.
A year later,
Aw,
he was
thank you,
17, the now
Haven.
spiritually wandering Martin had his first experience
So
with the occult.
sweet.
His friend took him to an occult shop in town
my
that was
gosh.
owned by his friend's cousin.
Push
Martin was
forward, you
impressed
can do
by the
it.
friendliness and the knowledge of the
I
shop
will.
owner. He was intrigued by the vast collection of strange books
As you
and
can
wares on
clearly
display
tell,
for sale.
I'm not
Books
using
on
this
spells,
goddamn...
astrology,
the
tarot cards,
buttons.
divination, demons, astral projection.
These buttons
all sorts of things
are
he knew
kind
very
of...
little about.
They
A
don't
lot of the books
feel
scared
good.
him. Some, like Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible, he didn't even want to touch.
Oh.
Oh, you know, and actually, I'm sorry. I just realized, timeline-wise, that does not work. So I was thinking of occult books. I was adding some examples. He did not see Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible because that book had not been published yet. But he did see a variety of occult books in the store.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. The shop owner introduced him. I was waiting. I was like, oh, a lot of emails going to come off that one. I was thinking of examples of the books they would have there.
Right.
That is not the correct one I should have
But lots of
used.
creepy, scary books.
Yeah.
And just like
The
fascination.
range of books is the same.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you've been brought up religious, and now you're like, ooh, okay, what is this?
Right,
I'm with you.
right,
I'm
right.
with you, Dan.
Okay.
I'm with you.
The shop owner introduced him to a pair of regular customers, Jane and Steve, who were practicing Wiccans. They talked to Martin at length about the beliefs that they had, and invited him to a pagan circle so he could learn more. Curious, Martin checked it out. He was hooked. He spent the next several months with his new friends learning about pagan deities, Wiccan rituals, and of course spells and magic. They called themselves White Wiccans, always made it clear to themselves and others that they intended no harm to come to anyone through their rituals.
Okay.
Soon Martin was a full-fledged practitioner of what they called the craft.
Oh
After high
yeah,
school,
Wiccan.
Martin, still a practicing Wiccan now, joins the Air Force. He's delighted to discover that there are Wiccan groups and covens all over the world. No matter where he's stationed, he can practice his craft with others. He also discovers through his travels that Wicca was just one aspect of witchcraft and the occult. There were much more secretive and also darker worlds of worship revolving around spells, hidden knowledge, and magic. And then one day on leave in the 1970s, Martin found one of these darker worlds.
Oh dear.
It was a beautiful summer day in San Francisco when a man walked up to Martin in a shopping mall. He was carrying a red leather satchel with an inverted pentagram emblazoned on it. Martin's curiosity was piqued. He, of course, was familiar with the pentagram. His Wiccan groups used them all the time, but theirs was not inverted. The man introduced himself as a member of the First Church of Satan, and he invited Martin to one of his ceremonies. While Martin had no interest in knowingly worshiping Satan, he wasn't even sure he believed in the concept of Satan. He was interested in seeing how this group differed from his own, so he agreed to go.
Okay.
And Martin ended up attending a black mass.
All right, it's almost 4 a.m. here. I'm gonna wind down for bed. Have a wonderful stream.
No matter what happened.
Hopefully catch the next one
was a blasphemous
too.
parody of the Eucharist celebration practiced by the Catholic Church. The officiant of the mass was a defrocked priest. The altar servers, nude women, and the bread and wine used in the ceremony stolen from a local parish.
Oh.
As the priest did perverse things with the communion wafers,
Give
such as
the
inserting one into one of the altar's vaginas,
some love.
as he poured communion wine between an altar woman's breasts, all under the shadow of a massive inverted crucifix.
What?
Martin sat in his seat transfixed. By the end of the ritual, he wanted to leave.
There you
the
go.
mocking tone of the black mass
Have an
just
amazing
didn't sit well with him.
one.
It was too dark.
Yeah, too much.
Nothing like Wicca. It felt angry, cold, and heavy. And after about 10 minutes before the mass was over, he felt something enter the room.
Uh-oh.
Something not human. It felt
rest
so
well.
real,
Get
so
some
dark. He
good.
refused to look behind him towards where he felt
Get some good
energy
rest.
emanating from. He was frightened.
Oh, dear.
When the mass was over and he was allowed to leave, Martin couldn't exit fast enough. He also couldn't stop thinking about what he just felt. He was trying to assure himself that all the Hail Satans he'd heard during the ceremony were just for show. The Satanists themselves had assured him that they, like his Wiccan friends, didn't even believe in Satan. And over the next few years, he convinced himself that the overall blasphemous atmosphere of the Black Mass had just creeped him out.
Okay.
Nothing unusual had entered the room during the middle of the ceremony. It couldn't have. Several years after the Black Mass incident, following his discharge from the Air Force, Martin, still practicing Wicca, became the high priest of a coven near his home. One day he was paid a visit by his old mentor, Steve, who had kept his own Wiccan activities through the years, the guy he had met in that occult bookshop.
Yeah.
Now delving into deeper, this guy was now delving into the darker aspects of the occult and wanted Martin's help. Stephen wanted to conjure up an actual demon.
Why?
He told Martin he'd been studying from authentic occult ritual books. He was confident he could do it. It would be easier with a partner, though, and it would be nice to have a witness if he was successful. In spite of his uncomfortable memories of San Francisco, Martin agreed to help. After all, he didn't really believe in the devil anyway, so what harm could come from this? If the devil wasn't real, neither were demons, right?
Oh, Martin.
And honestly, it excited him to think about attempting the conjuring. What if it did work? What might he see?
Oh, Jesus.
What entity might they bring into this world? Martin was not of a darker disposition, but he did find this morbidly exciting. A few nights later, Martin met at Stephen's house, and with him began performing a demon-raising ritual as described in great detail in a much-revered book of ceremonial black magic.
My God.
Stephen assured Martin that as long as they stayed within the lines of the protective circle inscribed on the floor, they would be safe no matter what.
Bullshit.
Martin began to feel uneasy almost immediately when they commenced the ritual. The atmosphere in the room noticeably changed. It was suddenly heavy and ominous. And then again, Martin felt as if there was something in the room with them. He was sure of it. His mind flashed back to that satanic Black Mass in San Francisco. And then, from out of nowhere, a beautiful woman materialized just outside of the circle. Both Martin and Stephen saw her. Voluptuous and enticing, she beckoned them to come to her. Her lure was powerful, so seductive. Martin began to step outside the circle, but then fear paralyzed him. Something about this woman just wasn't right. Nothing was right about any of this. As he stood frozen and confused, this woman slowly changed into her true form, the most hideous creature Martin had ever seen or imagined, a true monster. Humanoid but not human-ish, rotten-looking, decayed-looking. Its gray-brown skin, if you could call it skin, seemed to ripple and undulate.
Ew.
It looked sick, it looked like death, but also very, very much alive, powerful. A nauseating stench rolled off this beast in waves, and when it took a step toward him, he thought for sure he would collapse and die from fear itself. My God, they had done it. They had really done it. Stephen's spell had worked.
Oh, that's a good game. That's a good scary
and
game.
Now they were going to pay for it.
That's
As
a
they stood and stared,
very
paralyzed
scary
with fear,
game.
the creature suddenly just disappeared. As instantly and mysteriously as it arrived, it was gone.
What?
Relief immediately washed over Martin, and he could see by glancing over at Stephen that his friend was also breathing easier. They stood in shocked silence for a moment. They looked around the room and then locked eyes for a beat before Stephen said, "It's over. We did it." He covered his face in his hands, let out a little nervous laugh. And then he started to say, I need to write everything down before I forget. And he started to step outside the circle.
No.
Martin suddenly panicked, tried to stop him, interrupting. "Stephen, don't. It might not be over." As he said that, Stephen's foot hit the ground outside the circle, and immediately a wall the two were facing started to shake and gradually dematerialize.
Sounds like
it was replaced
me
by a
first
vision of
thing
what
in the
Martin later stated was a glimpse of hell itself.
Oh my God.
No.
Shrouded in shadows and smoke, the scene before them unfolded like a nightmarish play. Far-off screaming and cursing and moaning echoed up from somewhere deep below. A ghoulish collage of human and demonic faces floated towards them through a strange haze. The stench from the first vision returned. It was now 100-fold worse. Sulfur, rotten eggs, decaying flesh. No words could describe the foul odor that blanketed the room, and then the demon was back. It arrived as just a shadow at first, and then steadily grew in stature and clarity until its full, terrifying form stood before the two men, a mere arm's length away. Martin's sanity began to crumble.
Yeah.
The sight before him was too horrifying to comprehend. It wasn't just what he was seeing, although that was hideous beyond belief, but it was a feeling from this grotesque beast, a hatred so pure and evil that it made Martin want to die to escape it. The demon turned to Stephen, leaned forward, its face inches from his own as it demanded, "Why have you summoned me?" Stephen began to recite the words needed to send the demon back, but they weren't working. The demon laughed, and then Stephen levitated up off the floor, flew across the room, tumbling into a wall 15 feet away. Martin, now in full flight or fight mode, ran out of the room to the back of the house, locked himself in a bathroom, and he can't remember how long he stayed locked inside. After what may have been minutes, or maybe even hours, Martin decided he had to return to check on Stephen.
Fuck.
He cracked the bathroom door and listened. The house was quiet. He heard no screaming or cursing.
It's not over.
He detected no foul smell. He slowly made his way back to the ritual room, and as he approached, he could hear someone talking.
Oh God, oh God.
When he entered the room, his heart sank. It was Stephen, slumped against the wall, his eyes glazed over, babbling incoherently.
Dear.
He wasn't dead, but he was gone just the same. Martin called the police, told them he had dropped by, found Stephen in this state, catatonic. He doubted the police would believe the truth. Stephen never recovered. He spent the next 20 years in a psychiatric institution, where he eventually took his own life. Martin walked away from religion once again. He had stared evil incarnate in the face. He had seen the devastation that can occur by challenging it. Many years later, he became Catholic. And he now uses his story to scare others away from the occult. He firmly believes that dark occult magic is very, very real. And he believes that you're a fool if you think you can control the consequences of using it.
Yikes. I did not like that at all.
Yeek! Feeling protected by your cross?
Well, you know what's funny is I think I was white knuckle gripping this baby. I mean,
Yeek.
fucking Steven, stay in the goddamn circle, man.
Stay in the circle.
Well, I actually can't believe Martin jumped out of the circle, because if I get that he was terrified, fight or flight.
Right.
And I'm a total flight. Like,
yeah, it would be instinct.
No,
if you did see something like
what would happen if he
would
stayed
you
in the
do
circle? What if he would've
in
stayed
this
I don't know. Maybe once the circle was broken by one, maybe it didn't matter. I don't know how those. I do know that there are a lot of books about these things. And I mean, I just did a ton of research about the First Church of Satan and the occult, and you can believe in its reality or not, but there definitely is a lot of people. Aleister Crowley is a famous example of people who spent a lot of years studying these things, and people who firmly believe these things are possible. These conjuring type spells. I mean, the Black Mass they described. I mean, I do know.
That's insane. I've never heard of that.
Oh, that's a Black Mass.
I mean, I've heard of it, but not described like that.
Yeah,
like the Holy Eucharist shoved up someone's vagina?
Oh, yeah, the Black Mass is just a blasphemous parody of a Catholic Mass.
But it's awful. Here's the thing. I'm not religious, right? Like,
I mean, it's a big fuck you to Catholicism.
Right. But and that's not okay to me, because I don't think it's okay to say like a big fuck you to any religion unless like we're talking maybe Scientology.
Right.
We'll get into the position in the first place. Haven says
called
no
religion, but
thanks.
it's more of an anti-religion. It's more of an opposition
She's like,
to Christianity.
Nah,
and a
not
denouncement of
cool.
all
She's
Christian
like
beliefs.
Sonic.
Like
She's
they don't
like,
actually believe in Satan.
Right.
They just think Christianity is stupid and they just shit on it. Is a big part of like the ethos of that. And I do have some pictures of Black Mass.
I would really rather not.
This is a Black Mass gathering.
All right.
Now that's Levian. This is a little black and white photo of a Levian,
You're like Sonic.
Black Mass.
When
with
someone
the nude
asks
altar
you
woman.
to do a black mask or
so
join an occult situation,
Christianity is so modest?
just say
exactly.
no.
Everything is inverted.
Right.
So because Christianity is more sexually repressive.
Super.
Right, super. So Levian Satanism flips it. Everything is flipped.
Okay.
So that's all the rituals are based on mocking what Christianity holds dear.
Unfortunately, my mind just skipped to like the gay, lesbian, like because of course Catholics, Christians, like the Bible is very anti that, or so.
Yeah, interpretations of it are, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Interpretations are. So do they ever have like gay men or gay women, or is it specifically just like a nude woman?
Well, if you follow the Levian kind of Black Mass, but that's the thing about Satanism, and just like Christianity, there's different denominations essentially.
Oh yeah.
It's much less regulated.
Right.
Like the Satanic Bible written by Levi is not the equivalent of the Bible. It's written in the 60s, and there's another like Anton LaVey here. This is another Black Mass. This is what happens when someone gets naughty, I guess.
I guess.
So he's spanking some bottoms.
Is that really a black mask?
No, but that's really Anton LaVey and some of his followers. That's just him being silly with wearing a little devil horn outfit. And
is he being silly, or was he doing a little porn?
To mock. It's all to mock. No, he didn't do porn. It's all just publicity photos to mock.
Got it.
There's one more here that I just thought was interesting. That's a black. Now this is a variation of black mask where they took it further and decided to do the black mask while also dressed as in clown makeup, just to make it more scary. That's not LaVey. That's just some random.
It's not scary. It's just
kind of silly.
But maybe if I like wore like my amulet underneath and have like crosses in my pocket and a garlic necklace. I mean, I don't know all the things.
Now I know. Now I don't think you would ever try a conjuring spell ever,
Fuck
right?
No. Are you insane?
Would you? Would you be mad if I did?
Yes.
Why?
Don't bring that shit home with you, man.
Now, see, because I understand their curiosity. I think a lot of listeners would be like, "What? Why would you ever do that?" But I'm reading that and I'm like, okay, I kind of get it because
what if you could watch
just
it
to
from
have
a distance?
Proof. Right, exactly. It's yeah, to see something scary and be like, oh my God, it's for sure real.
And then you're fucked up for the rest of your life because you can't get that image out of your head. I think it's better not to know.
Better not to know.
Yeah, because it's like right now it's anything that my imagination can conjure up, and it's not based on anything I've ever seen, right? So it's like when you see a scary movie,
right,
and then an image stays in your brain.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, you have a point of reference. If I don't have a point of reference and it's just my mind making it up, then it's better because then I can also wish it away. I'm like, oh, I just made that up in my head.
What if I conjured a demon that was kind of helpful in some way, like he liked to eat garbage or something, or give back rubs? That's probably not very demon-y, but...
No, I don't think that's very demon-y at all.
Okay. Yeah.
He doesn't sound very helpful.
Probably shouldn't try and, conjure any demons.
I mean, would you open the Dybbuk box?
You know what's funny is no. It's fun. Not right now, but maybe later. But
not around me. No. So long as I'm alive, you cannot open that box.
I feel silly for being creeped out by it because I know after that story. I'm torn. Maybe I would consider myself a creep of our listeners.
You are a creep.
I like a lot of the horror, and like I sleep fine at night. I don't need the nightlight stuff. But then in weird moments, I get super spooked and I get kind of mad about it. And there's part of me that's like, no way, that like, story, there's no way it's real. Yeah. Come on, nonsense. I can open, I'll be fine. But then there's another part of me that's like, don't risk it.
Right. Remember, I don't think we were doing the show yet, but you were in a hotel room by yourself.
Oh God, yeah. I've had some scary, freaked out moments.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like something grabbed your foot, or?
Oh, I thought I felt something walk into the room.
Probably did.
No, I don't want it to. No,
you were staying in a hotel in Koreatown in LA. It's probably an old building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
God. No, I don't like to let my mind. Now I'm gonna. Now, yeah,
right,
it does freak me out a little bit. And
yet you want to conjure a demon
in the protection circle.
Okay, you know what I would be okay with?
Yeah.
Conjuring a demon. If someone else was
like
conjuring
a teeny demon, like the weakest demon.
Well, whatever.
Okay.
Yes, but that's not what I was gonna say. Watching other people conjure a demon, like a surgical viewing room where you can if I was like out of it, I want like. Oh, how this makes me think I'd be safe.
I know, I picture a horror film now.
I want protective glass. I want to be like in a bulletproof room. As if that's a thing, but I want like all of the anti-demon objects around me while someone else is doing it.
Sure.
A reasonable distance away from me.
Yeah, I know. I do love the thought that protective, like bulletproof glass could stop. Like the demon would just, be real, kill everybody in the room, and then go for you, and then like, oh man, ding, just bounce off it. Oh, you got the right kind of glass. The anti-demon glass.
Demon glass.
Okay. You ready to get scared again?
I don't know. I feel like, unfortunately, that one's going to hang with me for a while. Do you think I can sleep with this?
Yeah, I guess. Sure. This next tale is worse.
Oh, great. It always is.
Usually. I think it's worse. Because, the first tale requires some suspended disbelief.
Uh-huh.
We weren't there. We don't know for sure if it happened.
Martin could be full of shit.
Martin could be full of shit, as could all of these tales, a lot of these tales.
Right. But Martin
could.
Remember how Stephen was like, oh, I want somebody to witness it?
Mm-hmm.
Martin could make up that whole story.
Oh, he could.
He could have beaten Stephen within an inch of his life.
He could have.
I'm just saying.
But this next story is a little different, where we know most of the details for sure happened. They're in police reports.
Aye.
People for sure died.
I just looked down at my own notes and scared myself.
All right.
Scary face. People. Even if Satan isn't real, you can still really be sacrificed in the name of Satan.
So this is like some witch shit, Salem witch trials kind of stuff.
Worse, yeah.
Cool.
This is real.
So fun.
So there was a cultural phenomenon known as the Satanic Panic you know, in the 80s in America and 90s. Fueled by religious fanatics, quack psychiatrists, false memory syndrome, and the tabloid media, people began to worry that a vast satanic criminal network existed throughout the country. Many worried that organized devil worshippers were kidnapping, molesting, sometimes even killing children. They were mutilating and killing animals, including pets. They were raping and torturing, sacrificing souls to Satan. In many minds, dangerous, violent Satanists were everywhere. Your neighbor, your coworker, your local police officer, mayor, doctor, they could all be secret members of a murderous demonic cult. And for the most part, these worries were totally unfounded.
All right.
At its height, the satanic panic was nothing more than a modern-day witch hunt. Lives were needlessly ruined, often based on nothing more than the twisted fantasies of the accusers themselves. In time, leading occult criminal experts were discredited, but by that time, for many, irreparable damage had already been done. Many of the falsely accused had already lost their jobs, businesses, homes, sometimes their lives. Several ended up killing themselves in prison. Many spent years incarcerated before their false convictions were overturned, all based on an irrational fear of satanic cults that was almost entirely paranoid. Almost. Satanists do exist. And while most are harmless, while most are essentially what we just talked about, atheists angry with Christianity, some really do worship the Christian devil. Some really do hurt and kill to please this master.
Oof.
Some really do hide in secretive dark cults. Sometimes that darkness is very, very real. And that real darkness is what we're talking about in story number 2.
I'm sorry, guys.
Time now for the tale of the Fall River satanic cult killings. By the late 1970s, the once prosperous textile city of Fall River, Massachusetts had fallen on hard times. Factories had closed, buildings were abandoned, and a once vibrant downtown had become a wasteland. Hard drug abuse and prostitution flourished where more reputable commerce once thrived. Amidst this urban decay, between October of 1979 and February of 1980, 2 young women, both local prostitutes, were bound, raped, tortured, and bludgeoned to death. A third victim's body would never be found beyond a skull fragment and clumps of hair left behind in a nearby forest. And a local satanic cult was proven to be behind all this violence.
Oh my God.
The Fall River satanic cult murders would go on to become the most sensational criminal case to come out of the area since Lizzie Borden stood trial for butchering her parents, or likely butchering her parents, with an axe.
She did it.
Nearly a century before. I think so too. The body of the first victim was found on October 13th, 1979, just weeks before Halloween. The body of Doreen Levesque, a 17-year-old runaway from New Bedford, was discovered behind a local vocational high school. Her wrists had been bound with fishing line. There were signs of sexual torture.
Oh, no.
She'd been stabbed in the head numerous times, suffering multiple skull fractures. There were signs her body had been placed there, that she'd been killed at a different location. The county medical examiner determined that the killing was likely committed by multiple people. The forensic evidence suggested her death had been part of some type of ritual.
Oh, dear.
It appeared as if she had been partially stoned to death.
Oh, man.
Investigators would soon find out that she had been quite literally sacrificed to Satan. Police were about to discover that Fall River's criminal underworld was being ruled by Satan, or at least the belief in Satan. Local drug addicts, and low-level criminals told police that vice trade was being controlled by a cult of devil worshippers who believed that they took their directives from the Prince of Darkness himself. A cult who believed they were protected by Satan, and in order to keep being protected, they had to pay a satanic toll of sacrificial blood and human souls.
Gross.
These were not Satanists in the style of Anton LaVey. Satan was not some type of philosophical archetype or metaphor. These were not atheists dabbling in occult magic. These were Satanists who worshipped Lucifer as the theistic embodiment of pure evil, cast in the Christian tradition.
Random
anti-boredom the very real Satanists that would help fuel the imaginations of the satanic panic.
Today is a good day to
tell Doreen Levesque battered corpse, a man named Andy Matthias, or Maltius, excuse me, visited
and
the
also
Fall River police station
we're listening to a podcast. We're fine.
Girlfriend, a 22-year-old prostitute
this one is
named
way more
Raposa.
interesting than the last few podcasts
relating to the Levesque murder and said a satanic cult was behind her death.
Way
Andy
more
Maltius
interesting.
was a mentally unstable dirtbag.
Oh.
The 44-year-old was a pedophile, sexual sadist, violent rapist with a long criminal rap sheet. He professed to be a very recently born-again Christian who told police he once worshipped Satan. They would come to find out he was still very active in worshiping the devil. Andy said that he and Barbara were practicing Satanists at the time of her disappearance, members of this local cult. Andy offered to arrange a meeting with 2 other cult members who he was sure would know where his girlfriend was and also what had happened to Doreen Levesque.
I have chills. I don't like this.
Days later, police met with Karen Marsden. Days later, police met with Karen Marsden. There we go. And Robin Murphy. Karen Marsden was a 20-year-old single mother. She'd been a teen runaway, was now a drug addict, prostitute, and practicing Satanist.
Oh, dear.
Robin Murphy, also a teen runaway, also a prostitute, another cult member who was only 17. Minutes into the interrogation, Karen Marsden told the investigators Carl Drew killed Doreen Levesque. Carl Drew was Doreen, Karen, and Robin's 26-year-old pimp.
Oh.
He had a violent reputation and, according to Karen, was also the leader of their satanic coven. A coven that would become known as the Fall River Cult. Karen claimed all of Drew's girls had been forced to join his cult and that he ruled it with an iron fist. He loved to tell the girls that they had to kill, they had to sacrifice. He loved to say, Satan will take his toll.
What?
Karen, who was raised Christian, told police that she was convinced that not only would Carl kill her if he found out she betrayed him, he would also send her soul to the flaming pits of hell, where it remained for all of eternity. She was terrified. Despite her fear, Karen Marsden cooperated with police and took officers to the nearby Freetown State Forest.
Okay.
Throughout their investigation, Fall River police would hear all kinds of rumors about the Freetown Forest, where this cult's activity was centered. The Freetown Forest has a long, dark history.
Uh-oh.
Long before the Fall River killings, it had already been the location of numerous unsolved murders, suicides, mysterious disappearances, animal mutilations, a number of other violent crimes and tragic events and accidents. Locals have been hearing for years about how this land was supposedly cursed. It had long been a hotbed for all sorts of paranormal activity. Ghost sightings, UFOs, strange beasts, you name it. Someone had seen it all at one time or another in these woods.
Too. The
Perhaps
production
it was the
is
strange,
so
dark
good
energy
too.
of this land that drew the occultists to meet there for their ghoulish rituals. Karen led detectives to the cult's altar, a large, flat stone slab deep in the forest where torch-lit ceremonies were performed over the bodies of naked prostitutes.
Okay.
Where she explained animals were routinely bled out in Satan's honor.
Ew.
The Freetown Forest would continue to be a gathering point for dark-minded individuals long after the Fall River cult murders would end. A healthy newborn baby was abandoned in the woods in 1983, found dead after it died from exposure.
Oh my God.
The baby's parents never identified.
Oh my God.
In 1987, the body of a drifter was found in the woods. Someone or someones had burned him alive. Almost a decade after Karen showed police the altar, in November of 1988, a hunter would stumble across a camouflage bunker located off a remote hiking trail. Inside the small underground room, a room that reeked of decay, police found old dolls with their eyes gouged out.
Oh no.
Various animal bones, a large rusted-out butcher knife, one small wooden chair, and the tattered, bloody clothing of a child.
Oh my God.
That same year, a dozen calves were found mutilated in the forest. Their throats had been slashed, their blood had been drained, strange markings carved into their hides.
Ah, stop.
Also, the corpse of Elizabeth Gregory, a woman buried in a remote forest cemetery way back in 1868, had been dug up and taken. Cult activity suspected to be behind all of this.
Too much.
And these are just a few of many, many, many stories about these woods.
Well, it's too much.
While Karen led police to the cult's forest altar, they passed by an algae-covered pool of water, and Karen cowered in fear.
Uh-oh.
She told the detectives that this was the pond that Carl had told her if she ever talked to the police, he would dump her body into after injecting battery acid into her veins and offering her soul to Satan.
Oh my God, what the fuck?
After inspecting the altar, the police arrested and interrogated Carl Drew, but unfortunately for Karen Marsden, they didn't have enough evidence to charge him with any serious crimes and had to release him.
Oh dear.
Days later, police heard from another cult member, Robin Murphy. Robin told them that she had witnessed Andy Maltius kill Barbara Raposa in a fit of jealous rage, said he'd smashed her in the head with a rock and murdered her. She said that while Barbara's death had nothing to do with Satanism, the killing of Doreen Levesque, on the other hand, was a direct offering of her soul to Satan, and that it was Carl Drew who had sacrificed her. Not all of this would turn out to be true.
So crazy.
Murphy claimed that Doreen had recently left Carl's coven with the intention of working the streets on her own, but Carl said that wasn't going to work, because Satan had a toll that needed to be paid. Aiming to collect, Carl found her in a downtown bar, forced her into his car. And then Robin Murphy, Karen Marsden, and Carl's friend and fellow Satanist Willie Smith came along for the ride.
No.
Carl drove up behind the high school, and the two men took the girl out under some bleachers, out of sight, violently raped, and then killed her, while Murphy and Marsden stayed in the car. Horrible, but not entirely true. Police would soon find out that Robin was just as bad as Carl, lying about both murders in various ways to cover up her own involvement.
No way.
Robin also told police that Karen Marsden was supposed to die next. She didn't lie about that. After her initial interview, Karen Marsden continued to stay in touch with detectives working on the case. She was afraid for her life. She was panicking. She was worried that the coven was going to kill her next, just like Robin had told the police. Regrettably, the police did not take her fear seriously.
Great.
Due to her hard drug abuse, erratic behavior, unwillingness to testify in court, her statements were basically treated by the police as gossip.
Yeah.
She was considered an unreliable witness. She seemed more and more emotionally unstable with each meeting. By the time of her final interview, she was on the verge of an emotional breakdown, convinced that she was going to be the cult's next sacrificial murder. Investigators thought she seemed paranoid. Sadly, she was right to be paranoid. Bad, bad people really were coming for her.
God damn.
Karen also told detectives to look into Robin Murphy, said that she was behind the killings, not just Carl Drew. Karen was right about that too. Karen said that while Carl Drew was the coven leader, Murphy also played a direct role in cult rituals, including human sacrifice. She said that Robin had instructed all those present to take part in the mutilation of Doreen Levesque and Barbara Raposa's bodies, partly for ritual purposes, but also to silence them by directly involving them in the heinous crimes. Barbara wasn't killed in some fit of jealous rage. She was sacrificed. It all seemed to be over the top to investigators, the rantings of a madwoman.
Yeah.
But then after sharing all this with detectives, Karen disappears on February 9th, 1980, and the officers soon wished they had taken her more seriously. 2 months later, while clearing a parcel of land near an area pond, a man stumbled across the top half of a human skull.
Oh no.
It was Karen's skull. Police arrived on the scene and conducted a more detailed search of the area. They turned up the decaying carcasses of 3 cats. Sheep bones, clumps of human hair. They found occult jewelry, a high-heeled shoe, pieces torn from a woman's sweater. Karen had been ritually sacrificed.
Oh my God.
Soon after this discovery, another cult member, former prostitute Sunny Sparta, contacted police and named Robin Murphy as Karen's killer.
Oh.
She said she had to confess because recent inter-cult killings had gone too far. The coven was turning on itself. Sunny knew all about the cult. She was a local Satanist as well. She'd hosted a number of satanic gatherings in her apartment and acted as something of a den mother to the young prostitutes, runaways, and drug users in the area. She was also Robin Murphy's ex-lover.
Oh.
And according to her, Robin had admitted to killing Karen during a phone conversation. The detectives still weren't convinced that all of these prostitutes were really devil-worshipping Satanists.
Oh my God.
They thought this was all just a bunch of paranoid junkies. You know, maybe they played a Ouija board or two, but they weren't really cult members.
Dude.
But there was all this evidence, you know, of altars and ritual killings. So what was going on? They wanted to see what this cult was really about. Sunny Sparta invited them to attend a black mass in her apartment. She told them before the mass got started, we pray to Satan, we chant, we try to conjure him. Assembled under a large mural of the devil painted on the living room wall, congregants formed a circle and started to chant, "Hail Satan! Hail Satan!" Leading the ceremony, a nude woman later identified as another prostitute from nearby Providence, Rhode Island. It was real. These people really were worshiping the Dark Lord. Although the detectives did not witness any actual paranormal, demonic activity at this black mass, Sparta said that more lively black mass gatherings were taking place in the Freetown State Forest. She denied any knowledge of human sacrifice. I mean, of course she did. She's talking to detectives.
Right.
But she did admit that she'd seen goats, stray cats, other animals sacrificed at the ceremonies, their warm blood used in mock baptisms poured over the heads of gathered congregants.
Whoa.
She said that during these rituals, she witnessed participants lose consciousness and speak in tongues. She said Satan appears in a form where he feels his presence. He takes possession of one of us. You can tell when Satan is here. Some people even let him speak through them in his own language. It isn't human speech. That one scare you?
You know why that one scares me?
Yeah. So real.
So real. I was like having flashes of Kiss the Girls. Did you ever see that?
I don't remember it.
Whether thou art a ghost that hath come from the earth, or a phantom of night that hath no hollow, or
Hope everybody's doing okay.
in the desert, or a ghost unburied, or a demon, or a ghoul.
Thank you, everybody, for staying
Until
around.
thou art removed. Thou shalt find here no water to drink. Thou shalt not stretch forth thy hand to our own. Into our house enter thou not. Through our fence break through thou not. We are protected, though we may be frightened. Our life you may not
Thank you for
steal,
staying. Thank
though we
you.
may be scared
Thank you for
to
being
death.
awesome.
Welcome to Scared to Death. I'm Dan.
Hi, Dan. I'm Lindsay.
Hello.
Hello. It's nice to meet you.
Hello, new listeners.
Hello, friends.
New creeps and peepers. More on that in a second.
More details on your names momentarily.
Yeah, thanks for all the feedback.
Oh my gosh, you guys are the
I'm
best.
doing the
Thank you so
fun
much.
part.
We have over 2,200
Hope everybody's
ratings
morning is
on
going
iTunes,
well.
which
Hope
is
everybody is
amazing.
Yeah, that really
enjoying
helps us get new
themselves.
listeners,
I hope
keeps us more kind
everybody
of top of mind as far as
is
when people are looking for new podcasts. You know, it's
keeping
like
it-
Yelp. You know, they see the reviews and they're like, oh, okay, this is what this is. So thank you. We really appreciate
Thank you
that
for
very
sticking
much.
around.
And thanks
Thank
to all
you
the new
for hanging
listeners
out with
Yes.
who've been
the
finding
goat.
us from other podcasts and just
Glad
from
that I can keep you
everywhere.
entertained
From
for
you said
even
across
just
the
the
pond.
short
Across
amount
the
of time
pond,
we
yes,
have
we
together.
got some emails this week from the UK, which is so exciting. Let's infiltrate. I love it. And also, Australia's real. I got an email
Yeah.
from Australia.
That's awesome. Hopefully
Yeah.
we get to go there and who knows what we'll get to do there someday.
Oh, I've heard there's some really spooky things.
And
Well,
that
yeah, everywhere.
green
Well, and especially because it's so much
rabbit.
older than America. So I think
Oh,
that's...
England. Oh, yeah.
So I think that...
Green
yeah, sorry, in my brain I was already... I was walking down the
color.
street.
You're back in London.
I was there. I love London.
I want to go to Australia, London, all of it.
All of it.
We want to get over there one of these days. And the reason I changed, I didn't say camper.
Womp, womp,
There's so many
womp.
podcasts out there. We apparently another popular podcast, The Bonfire with Big J Okerson, Dan
Yeah.
Soder. I'm a comic. I know that they're comics. I've never listened to that podcast.
Well, who has the time to listen to all the
Goodness
podcasts?
gracious.
Thousands and thousands, and they call their fans
Rabbits
campers.
having a
Right.
nibble.
So out of respect for them already having established that, and I guess kind of really beating that drum pretty hard.
Yeah, and there were a few other podcasts too.
That also did campers? Okay.
Yeah, it's multiple places.
So we're gonna go with this is what we're trying now.
Slight variation.
Slight variation. It's creeps and then peepers.
I love it.
I wish
So
I
camper
knew
just
how
goes to
to
And so to redefine, are
quickly
you
go
creep? You know, the
between
creep is a
like
horror fan
quick
who can live on a
frames so
steady
that I
diet
can
of
see
this.
if this
Just
is
more,
like accurate.
The scarier the better. Never needs to leave the
but
lights on.
I'll
Right.
just have to
I
accept
hear
what I
on the
have.
4th this morning.
And
I was
then
a
I
little bit
gotta
creep.
finish
I came in
this
here
year.
early,
Oh.
just sat in the dark, and
I gotta
worked on the
finish
rest of the
this
story.
year,
Creep.
and then I should be
Listening to Marilyn
done
Manson, really
with
getting in
this
the
except
mood,
for
getting
shading.
that vibe.
Yeah.
And
Which
there's
I'm
some,
just
you know,
gonna
that are
do a basic
the peepers
shade.
peeping over the
I'm not
covers.
gonna do anything
You know, you
extraneous.
like
I'm
these
just
stories,
gonna do
but
a
they scare the
basic
shit out of
shade.
you. But you
That's
keep
me.
coming back for more.
That's me.
Yeah, you watch the horror movie with
Which
the
is
blanket
gonna
pulled up
add
to your nose.
another
that literally
bit.
is me in a
Yep.
a
I'm
gonna
movie
do
theater.
a
I'll take
basic
my
shade.
jacket or
Yeah.
whatever.
I'd
and
enjoy
do this,
myself.
a lot of this.
Yeah, you're peeping on this. You're watching, but it's sneaky watching.
Do you remember that
Scares
movie?
you.
Do you remember that movie? Jeepers Creepers.
I remember the song. I saw it so long ago. I have a vague recollection of that movie. Yes.
New animation, so
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's that. So yeah. So I'm actually
Yeah.
very into it, and also
let's go
I love
down
peeps.
here.
And
Yeah,
all I
you
can,
do love the
Go
peeps
down
candies.
here.
so all I can think is like, hey guys, do you want to send me some peeps? I'll eat them right here for you.
So there we go. So right now, hopefully maybe this will stay creeps and peepers.
A steady diet of horror or a steady diet of sugar? Do you want to be? Do you want to have
Oh.
diabetes?
Two tales as always today from me.
Yeah.
And the first is a little one about the Hat Man,
No.
specific type of shadow person who gave a woman named Angie and her 5-year-old son a really, really good scare.
Motherfucker! I was just starting to do better.
Yeah.
And shadow people are one of the things that really gets me, and he's in that world.
He's in that world. We haven't talked about this specific kind of shadow
No.
person yet.
Is the door locked? Can I get out of here?
No, can't get out. Can't get
Joe,
out.
do you want to replace me this week?
I'll pass. Thanks, though.
Damn it, Joe! Come on.
And the next tale is the tale of Atchison, Kansas's most haunted house, the infamous Sally House.
Oh, we've gotten some emails
Yeah.
about people wanting to hear a little bit more about that, and
About
I don't know anything. But
About the Sally House?
yeah, I've gotten a handful of emails, and I know you and I get a million emails a day, and we're navigating a lot of things. I do forward them on to you, like, hey,
Yeah.
here's some possible stories, because I can't read those emails.
Right.
I have to just like send them on, because sometimes people will say like, oh, you should do X, Y, Z,
Yeah.
and then they start to give an explanation. I'm like, nope, because I don't ever want to ruin
Okay.
our format here. So I'm intrigued, and
Well,
also
well, it is a pretty well-known haunted house. So
Well,
I
I
guess
don't
that's
know
why
it.
we've been getting the okay, good. That's why I've been getting some messages.
because I'm a peeper, I wouldn't seek this out on my own, Dan.
And also stay tuned for after my stories. For Lindsay is going to be telling 2 stories, 2 of your stories.
Yeah.
More and more people have been sending in their stories to mystory@scaredtodeathpodcast.com. So we will have the My Story section of the show at the end of the show. So stick around for that. I loved it last week. I loved getting scared myself.
Yeah. Did it stick with you?
It did for a little, for a couple hours. Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah. No, it's and it just adds more kind of weight to all of it. The more stories I hear, the more I wonder, like, is this one real? Is that one real?
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, before we start, I just want to acknowledge that I'm not wearing unicorn socks this week. Fear not. I still have on fuzzies. It's so hard to do this.
By the way, does anybody else
Penguins
have a scary story?
Are really protective mama animals.
Okay.
So, one of our longtime fans of Time Suck and your stand-up, and now a friend of mine, Lindsay.
Okay.
Florida Lindsay. Yep. She sent me a bunch of socks, so hopefully they work. I'm just gonna get out my protection blankets because I am a peeper. I mean, really, I'm gonna peep over my blanket. You know, eventually this blanket's just gonna go over my head and I'm not gonna come out.
Exactly. I think it will today. We got some scary ones today.
Fucking fuck.
So you ready?
I guess. I mean, I'm locked in here, Joe said. Okay.
Okay, we've talked about shadow people before here on Scared to Death. Once before. A tale about a couple being chased by a red-eyed shadow person.
Oh, yeah.
Shadow thing, shadow demon in Portugal. Today I'm going to introduce you to another type of shadow person, the Hat Man. Have you heard of the Hat Man before?
I have, and I am so not into it. We had a conversation about the Hat Man. I don't know if it was on this show or just in...
Yeah.
We talk so much that it all bleeds together, but he, in essence, reminds me like a darker version of Freddy Krueger, like the shape of the hat. Because
yes, good reference.
Yeah, I immediately think of that shape of being,
right,
and then just blank-faced. I think he's red-eyed.
Can be.
Yeah. Regardless, I am so scared of him.
It's not clear who first reported an encounter with this specific mysterious monster, but he or she, or it, I guess it's not a she. He or it.
Still not fully here, just playing Chrono Trigger. I might have overground a bit. Lavos does 8 damage, ideal 2,000. He gets it to attack after I take like 16 turns. Shut down all the garbage mashers on the detention level. Alright, I'll turn off all the garbage mashers.
And that sometimes even occasionally checks a gold pocket watch chained to maybe a belt?
Oh, he is like uber
like
fancy.
as if his terror is on some kind of schedule. He's described as being at least 6 feet tall.
Also, Chrono Trigger is
ominous warnings
one of the greatest.
Sometimes.
Yikes.
And then sometimes these warnings are delivered from atop the victim's chest.
One of
and a woman named
the greatest.
Angie, who never revealed her last name or address when she shared her story online, swears she has seen the music.
Oh. I like the music of 6 way better
on the stairs,
but it's still good.
One night, Angie saw him standing there on the stairs. Nights when her children stayed with their father or were asleep in their rooms, and Angie was downstairs alone. Always when she was alone, that's when the Hat Man would come.
Well, fuck.
I always called him the Dark Man on the stairs, she said. That's where I saw him, coming down the stairs. The first time it happened, the beginning of what became an 18-month ritual, it creeped Angie out, but didn't outright scare her. I'm an adult, she'd say, and not easily spooked. I just thought that I must have imagined it. But then it happened again, and again, and again.
Oh, dear.
Always on the stairs, and his routine never varied. She says I would catch him walking from the landing down the last couple of stairs, then he'd turn left toward the kitchen, and it was a he. He distinctly looked like the shadow of a man in a suit.
Hey, Belle.
She said that this shadow man looked like someone from the 1930s who was dressed for church. And she got this
We're listening to horror movies, horror podcasts.
Any other features.
There you go. It's all
and she said that as soon as this dark man turned to walk into the kitchen, he would vanish every time.
Stop.
It would just kind of disappear, she'd said. I never actually saw him entering the kitchen. I saw him, for lack of a better word, vaporize. I never saw him get past the dining room, but definitely he was going somewhere. Over time, Angie grew used to the dark man.
How is that a thing?
She stopped being scared by him. It just happened over and over. He always turns, always vanishes, and becomes somewhat of a strange routine. And then roughly 18 months after she first saw him, she happened to be walking toward the stairs. He was always coming down, and right when he was coming down, she decided to say hello.
What?
Oh, hey, Shadow Man, she said, feigning braveness. She may have gotten somewhat used to him, but he still made her skin crawl.
Well, fuck yeah.
And after she spoke for the first time, he stopped his pattern.
No.
About
He did
also
not continue
streams.
to walk into the kitchen. He seemed to look at her, cocking his shadow head to the side, and then he slowly started to walk towards her.
How was your streams anyway? How have they been?
Very scared. She wanted to run, but she couldn't, and she wouldn't. Where? Her son was still in the house. She wanted to scream, but couldn't make a sound. He or it continued to walk towards her, step by methodical step. It was only 15 feet away now. Still no features, just a shape, a walking shadow. Angie felt tears start to roll down her cheeks.
Yeah, no shit.
Still it walked. 10 feet away now. She felt her bladder release. Warm urine ran down her leg. Still he walked. 5 feet away now. She couldn't breathe. Her chest felt tight. She thought she'd die if he touched her.
Oh my God.
He didn't touch her, but he did speak. Soon.
No.
He whispered, soon.
Oh my God. I want this story to stop.
And then it leaned forward, its shadowy face less than 2 feet from her own, and then it quickly turned, walked back towards the kitchen, and vanished.
Shut up.
Angie broke down and fell to the floor, sobbing. After a few minutes, literally shaking with fright, she cleaned up the mess she had made, took a shower with all the lights on in the bathroom,
Yeah.
and tried to go to bed.
Nope.
The next day, she tried to tell herself she made it all up, but she knew it wasn't true. What should she do? Move out? What if it never comes back?
Yes, move out.
But it did come back the very next night.
Aw,
For her
thank
son.
you.
The next night, her
Thank you
5-year-old
for
son woke
the
up
SO.
screaming.
How are
I
you?
bet he
I'm
did.
good.
He told
Just
his mother he
listening
saw
to a
group of
horror
people in his
podcast
room.
and trying to get
He
this
woke
shit
Angie up in the
done.
middle of the night. He was completely hysterical. She ran into the room. He was sitting up in his bed. Look on his frightened face frightened her. She asked what was wrong, and he
So-
said, "Get rid of them. Get rid of all these people."
Oh, baby.
She asked, "What
This-
people?" And he said, "Shadow people." And then she asked if they said anything, and he said, "Yes, the man in
Yeah,
the hat
as you can
whispered to me."
clearly tell,
What
did he whisper?
I'm
asked
working
Angie.
on my
He said,
pngtuber.
Soon.
No.
Soon. He said he'd come back for me soon. And
I
then he and his friends left. Angie and her son left the house the next morning, never stayed there another night.
She is a genius. A man would have stayed. Women, we get the fuck out. You get the fuck out
Wha-
of here.
What do you think he meant by that?
Dude, I don't know, but I have
But
chills
yeah.
everywhere. I'm also a
as
little
you
bit
can
sweaty.
clearly tell,
That's
I
a bad
love
combo.
the eyes look
Ooh, I
really
mean,
good.
For one word.
And then
Eek.
Also,
Kind of vague.
got
you're
a
kind of a
shade.
dick for that story, I gotta tell you.
Why?
Because our children also aren't always at our house, and I'm frequently alone. It's like if you replaced Angie with Lindsay. Were you thinking about that when you?
I was. I knew this story would probably creep you out.
And then
you're
I gotta
screwed,
finish
buddy.
this or
I was gonna stick with
this
you.
right here.
With me and with you. Now I'm
and
gonna
then
tell
I
you
gotta
he's coming for
do
you.
the light
Yeah, let's get a few pictures.
right here.
No, I'm not looking this week.
Yep.
No, I'm not.
Okay, here's the first picture of the. This
Cool.
is just an illustration.
That's great.
No, you gotta look. This is an illustration.
Oh,
Come on, show us to continue. You have to see it.
God damn it! I don't want to see it.
That really freaks you out. These
Yes, because I can just. If that thing.
Right.
The nose
was
is
anywhere in our house,
strange.
and why
You
did
think
she
the
talk
nose
to
is
it?
strange?
You're not supposed
18 months. 18 months, though. I mean, I do
No.
get that on some level.
No.
Where if you saw the same thing, yes, you're
to. No, you
scared
tell
at
it
first.
to get out. You don't talk to it. You don't engage. That's the number one rule.
I get the thing of trying to be like tough though, and be like, oh, go up to the sun. Who knows?
Is it?
I don't understand his rules.
I want to make a backstory about him where he's like a man who works in a
The
shop.
nose is
like a,
strange. You think
like
the
a
nose,
tinkerer
my
of
little
clocks and
nose is
things from a different
strange?
age. Like that's what I think about with the pocket watch.
Think I got a
that
weird
he,
nose?
When he's saying like soon, he is like.
Like I
is he
also got to
Father
work
Time?
on this as well.
Is he,
I don't know.
Is he?
Didn't hear from Angie. I mean, who knows what's going on with Angie? Whoever that person is. I mean,
Right.
if this is real, I mean, they might not be with us anymore. We don't know.
Right. And like when he says soon, does that mean like I'm coming for you soon? Something's gonna happen soon? And why with the little boy? Why were there multiple?
I
people?
know. That's an extra creepy thing. Why does he bring in friends?
Yikes. Well, you know, kids are more open to these things.
Yeah.
I know. I have chills everywhere.
That's
This is
creepy.
not good.
Eek.
Dude.
Okay.
Why?
But I hope
all I could
you're
think about
doing
was lying in
well.
bed and Hatman. But here's the thing. What I liked about
I mean, if you
Hatman,
think the
if I
nose
can
is
say that,
strange, I
liked
mean,
him.
I guess I have
like
a
you,
weird
Hatman, if you can
nose.
hear me. If she wouldn't have
Good.
acknowledged
Got a
him,
lovely nose.
don't
I
think
mean,
anything
if
would
I
have
got a
happened.
weird
Who
nose,
knows?
I mean, would he just wear her down?
I
Breaking you
mean,
down.
I don't know. I don't understand. I mean,
I
yeah, why is he
could
doing this thing?
extend
I don't
it.
know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't like the breaking the pattern part.
But she
Probably
She broke the
extend
pattern,
it.
but I don't like that this
I could
thing also
extend
then
it
broke the
right
pattern.
out here.
Because that's the thing I'm telling
Maybe
you.
I
You
need
engage
to
with it.
lengthen
it's like,
it.
You know, I mean, if
Hey.
somebody's like constantly like
Hey
tapping on you,
there.
eventually you're gonna be like, dude, stop it. So I mean, I get it. He was
Okay.
just, in my opinion, just wearing her down. So maybe Angie wasn't as strong as we think she was.
Maybe not.
And I just want to acknowledge again.
Hello.
She got the fuck out of
Hello,
there.
rabbit.
Okay.
Oh,
Smart.
Well-
Smart. You leave. You leave.
This next story, they don't leave for quite some time.
Because they're fucking stupid. I don't get it.
This is
I know it's always about finances.
No, actually, this is an unusual one. This next one is going to be different. I think this is going to surprise you. This is
Okay.
a
Do I need my
haunting
cross?
story.
Baby
yeah,
boy
you probably
need-
will.
Okay. This thing is
It's
great.
People staying. It's
needs more
different.
relief.
Okay.
It's a traditional haunting story in some sense,
You
but
think it
very
needs-
untraditional in others.
Okay, all I see in my mind is the black hat guy. It's gonna be such a long couple weeks.
Well, I don't know. This next story might stick with you more than the black hat
do you
guy.
think I
He's doing
need to
so good for a
lengthen it?
minute.
We'll talk about that later about your mental health.
More relief. I
Are
don't know
ready
what
for
you
this next
mean.
story? As much as you can be.
Yeah, me and my black hat friend.
It's not.
He's
A,
here.
That's
He's
just a
right here.
It's
word
not
to
the
me
black hat
right
shadow
now.
person, so
I
at
don't
least
know
there's
what
that.
you mean.
He's here with me. We're ready to listen together.
Okay, let's talk about the Sally House. The Sally House in the little 12,000 person town of Atchison in northeast Kansas is the birthplace, not the house, but the town, of famed early aviator Amelia Earhart,
Cool.
the original eastern terminus of the Topeka and Santa Fe Railway. Cute little town. Classic American 1950s small town
I mean,
vibe.
if you think I
At
need
one
to
time, it was a major
lengthen it, I
railroad center that
can.
rivaled
Like,
Kansas City and Omaha, seemed
right
destined
over
to be a
here.
major Midwestern destination, but then the line was replaced by newer, better routes, and that changes destiny.
not that hard.
One of the homes that was built less than 2 decades after its founding in
it's-
1854
'cause it's
bills
not
itself
a layer.
as the most haunted house in America.
It's right
Sally
here.
House.
It's just
Sally
right
House
here.
is a spooky little white brick 2-story farmhouse built somewhere between 1867, 1872, multiple peaks. One window upstairs on each side of the square building, lies 2 blocks off the Missouri River. 508 North 2nd Street still stands there today.
Oh.
It's not gothic exactly, but gothic-ish. I'll have pictures to show you later, and it's very creepy. The house belonged to the Finney family for many, many years. The original owner was one Dr. Charles Finney. He used the front of the house as an office space, an examination room for his patients. The living spaces for himself and his wife and baby were upstairs. And according to local legend, one day, a local mother rushed her young, collapsed daughter into his house. The little girl was suffering from abdominal pains. Dr. Finney diagnosed the problem as appendicitis. He was worried that her appendix was about to burst. He told his mother that her young daughter, named Sally, needed immediate surgery, and the mother consented to let the doctor open her daughter up right then and there.
Oh.
Rushing out of fear that her appendix would burst at any moment and he wouldn't be able to save her, Dr. Finney began to operate on Sally before her anesthesia had fully sedated her.
Oh no.
And she started, of course, to scream in pain. Things got sloppy. Dr. Finney had a hard time holding her down, as did her panicked mother.
Oh my God.
Dr. Finney had already opened her up a bit, and she started bleeding more than he expected as he attempted to proceed with the operation, which was difficult, as you might imagine, on a little body writhing in pain.
Oh my God.
Sally would die screaming in pain on his operating table.
Oh.
And some think her troubled spirit lives on in this house.
Delon,
The house
how
named
are
after her to this
you?
day.
Maybe longer,
After Sally's
sharper
botched operation,
nose.
long before the days of malpractice, Dr. Finney
Maybe
continued to
about
work out of
right
and live
up
in the home.
here.
After Dr. Finney passed away, the Finney family continued to live in the house for several generations until 1947. After the Finneys left the property, it was rented to numerous tenants, and then on New Year's Eve, 1992, Tony and Deborah Pickman, young newlyweds, moved in. Deborah was pregnant with their first son, who they'd already named Taylor, and Taylor's first playmate almost led to his family's early demise.
Oh.
Time now for the tale of the Sally House. For the first month and a half, the couple didn't experience anything paranormal. On February 14th, the couple celebrated Valentine's Day at home, Tony making a big Italian dinner, and they celebrated the upcoming birth of their first child. And that will be the last night of complete peace they have in
Yo,
almost
2
2 years.
words. My CPU just yeeted
Like
my
many
whole other
couples,
drive, and now
two like to snuggle up on the couch
like,
and
you
watch
know,
TV together at
CPU
night.
shut the hell up
The
and
night
take
after
the
Valentine's, they
goddamn
both saw the
L,
main light in the
because
living
no
room
one
began
brings
to dim
soul
for the
down.
first
Also,
time.
do gotta
The overhead
re-download. Clip
ceiling
again.
light
Digital
would
be
dim to a
mad
soft
rude.
glow by
The eyes are
for
very
4 to
cool.
5 minutes, and then return
Thank
suddenly
you,
to full
Bow.
brightness.
Weird.
And this goes on for weeks, always at night, always when they're watching TV. Sometimes just once, sometimes the pattern repeats itself numerous times throughout the evening.
Awesome.
Slowly dimming, 4 to 5 minutes, and then poof, back to full brightness. They replaced the bulb numerous times. Tony replaced the fuse in the fuse box. No dimmer switch to adjust. They had an electrician come out and examine it. Couldn't find anything wrong.
Shit.
And then one night in the living room, while the light dimmed yet again, Deborah joked that it must be a ghost.
Ha ha.
Both of them laughed because at the time neither believed in ghosts. That would soon change. And then after the ghost comment, the light returned to full wattage and never dimmed again.
Oh.
Not this particular light, as if a ghost were trying to make contact with them, and once acknowledged, didn't feel the need to perform a dimming light parlor trick anymore. As soon as the light began to function normally, the rest of the house started to behave abnormally. The couple had 3 cats and a dog, and one night, shortly after the light stopped dimming, Tony heard their dog, Sasha, barking upstairs. He walked about, found her standing in the hallway facing unborn Taylor's future nursery, staring intently into the room.
What do you think?
Raised,
is that
barking,
a little bit better?
Snarling.
Oh dear.
Tony looked into the room and saw nothing. He walked into the room to show Sasha it was okay, but she wouldn't follow him. Just more barking, more snarling. This went on for a few minutes. And over the next week, it happened several additional times. Sasha would stand in the doorway, barking and snarling at whatever she was seeing or sensing in that nursery. And then after about a week, she stopped. Perhaps whatever was in the room had left. Perhaps Sasha had decided that whatever was in the room was no longer a threat. Maybe she just got used to it. A new, unannounced, and
other than having my files deleted, yeah, I'm having a good
Shortly after this
go.
experience, Tony
Man,
began to
digital
walk
be
into cold spots
mad,
inside
disrespectful though. I gotta
No
get
logical
6
reason for the
drives
house
ready
to
to
have
hand.
them.
Hey,
They had no central AC.
these things
They
happen,
had
my
one
man.
tiny air conditioner,
Sad,
a little window
life
unit placed in the
happens.
master bedroom upstairs,
And it's
far
not
away
fun.
from the stairways, where Tony began to feel
I've been
extremely
there
cool
before.
gusts of air blow past him.
Weird.
Sometimes
much,
you
much colder
just
than the
gotta
surrounding air.
accept
His brother-in-law's wife,
that
Jeannie, also felt
technology
it. Soon,
is a
Deborah did as well.
bastard.
Sasha and the cats also kept occasionally reacting to something that Tony and Deborah couldn't see around the house. Then one night in mid-May, Deborah wakes up to hearing what sounds like someone screaming in the upstairs hallway,
Shut up.
followed by several loud, quick thumps that sounded like someone or something coming down the stairs. Suddenly terrified, she screams, wakes up Tony, who also screams. And then both Tony and Deborah notice that the cats are frantically scurrying about their room, hissing, with the hair on their back standing up, like Sasha the dog. They seem to be reacting as if someone or something is in the room with them, something near.
Fuck.
Tony and Deborah convince themselves that something had just gotten their cats worked up, something normal, like a neighbor's cat.
Nope.
And they start laughing about how they both just screamed like someone was trying to murder them. The cats must have made the noise that sounded like someone screaming. The cats must have also made the thumping noises in the hallway. They still had not begun to entertain the idea of a haunting. Months of strange and similar occurrences follow. And then on June 26th, little Taylor, their son, is born, happy and healthy. And about a week later, a few days after getting home from the hospital, Deborah experiences the unexplainable again. She was talking on a cordless phone, started walking into the nursery when the line suddenly went dead. She popped back out into the hallway. Suddenly she could hear whoever she was talking to once more. A few minutes later, she tries walking back into the nursery, and it happens again.
Weird.
Strange that the nursery would suddenly become some kind of dead zone for a cordless landline when it never was before. Later, when the couple became convinced that they were being haunted, they were told by paranormal investigators that spirits can give off an intense amount of energy that can create electrical interference.
Uh-huh.
For the next several weeks, the phone would suddenly go dead in various areas of the house, mainly the nursery. They replace the batteries, they get a new phone, and it just keeps happening.
With a thinner nose and a smaller mouth, the character would be beautiful.
Stops. Whenever one strange type of occurrence would stop, it seemed as if another would start. Shortly after the phone started to work again, Tony was vacuuming in the nursery when Taylor's mobile started suddenly spinning around and playing on its own.
Shut up.
Freaked out, he stops vacuuming. He leaves the room.
I like the nose.
Then, feeling foolish, thinking it must have just malfunctioned.
We'll see.
He goes back in to finish vacuuming. The mobile starts to move and make the noise again. He decides the room is clean enough and he is done for the night.
Yeah, no shit, man.
Then something a little bit creepier happens. A little bit harder to explain. A few days later, Tony walks into the nursery and finds all of Taylor's stuffed animals sitting on the floor in the center of the room with their backs to each other.
What?
Staring out towards the walls.
What?
The sight of this, how methodically arranged they were, gives him the chills. He runs downstairs, asks Deborah if she had done this.
Why would she?
She tells him of course not. She goes upstairs to see, if what he had just described is true. It is. Toys are laid out exactly like Tony described. What the hell is going on?
Get the fuck out of there.
They try to think who could have done that. Tony's sister-in-law Jeannie had been in their house earlier that day to drop off a high chair. They call her. When Tony
Technology
tells her
can rip
what
a new one
found, she gasps,
and
oh my God.
call me dad, and then I say there's a reason why you get replaced. But yeah, also good. Other than main, there ain't bad enough with digital.
The feeling of off intensified.
Oh my god, oh my god.
When she made it to the nursery, she said the feeling became overwhelming, and suddenly, before she could even go in the room, every part of her body told her to get out of the house. So she did.
Get the fuck out of here.
And she felt embarrassed. She didn't want to say anything because she thought she'd just sound crazy. When Tony told Jeannie about the strange things he and Deborah had experienced in the home, she asked, "Do you think you have a ghost?" And now, for the first time, this was exactly what Tony and Deborah were starting to think. That night, when Tony and Karen and baby Taylor were downstairs, the nursery light turned on all by itself.
Shit.
This would become a regular occurrence for the rest of the time they would live in this home. The possibility of a ghost feeling more and more likely by the hour. The next day,
well, it's
while
amazing
all the toys
how
were
it
not
was.
arranged at the
Very
center of the floor,
talented human being.
one teddy bear inexplicably
I think it's
laying
fine.
out in the middle of the floor. Deborah was sure she had left it sitting on a little rocking chair in Taylor's nursery. The couple decided to perform a little experiment just to make sure they weren't going crazy.
Oh my god.
They invited Deborah's sister Karen over, and while Tony and Karen watched, Deborah carefully set the teddy bear back in the rocking chair. They all left the room together so no one could knock off the bear without others seeing them do it. They go downstairs, talk in the kitchen for a while, and then Deborah volunteers to creep back up the stairs while Tony and Karen watch her progress from below. She decides that as soon as she can see into the nursery, she will peek in, assess the area. She knows she can do this a few steps before actually reaching the upper landing, where Tony and Karen can still see her.
Okay, okay.
Not really wanting to, but feeling compelled to do so, she quickly glances into the room. What she sees sends a wave of terror down her spine. She says the bear is on the floor again.
Fuck me.
Karen and Tony come both up the stairs. They see it too. The little bear once again lying in the middle of the floor, face up, positioned exactly as it had been the last time they found it there.
Weird.
The house is definitely haunted. The next day, Tony's brother Larry comes over. He wants to see this phenomenon for himself. People are getting curious.
Right.
Karen, Larry, Tony, and Deborah all try to recreate the little teddy bear experiment. This time, it doesn't work.
Oh.
They do it over and over again. Nothing unusual happens.
Okay.
But then, when they're all gathered in the living room downstairs, Tony notices that another toy. I don't know why these people had so many teddy bears. But a stuffed beanbag teddy... And I saw a video of some of this stuff on YouTube. I'll explain later. But they were into teddy bears, for whatever reason. Tony notices that another toy, a stuffed beanbag teddy bear that normally sat on a shelf facing the television, now turned facing the wall. Tony asks who turned it. Of course, everyone says no. Larry, the least freaked out of the bunch, walks over to turn this other teddy bear back around, and then he pauses when he grabs it. The usually stoic man seemed a little freaked out.
Yeah.
He comments on how unusually heavy it is.
Oh?
This thing weighed less than a pound. He turned it around with a little bit of effort, and then he moves away from it. Something spooked him more than he was willing to admit. He still wouldn't agree with the others, who now definitely thought the house was haunted, but he did admit that something odd was going on in this house. The next few weeks, more strange instances of toys moving around on their own. Other things are occurring. Tony's mom now is getting freaked out. She wants to help.
Oh my god.
She gets a little spooked herself. You know, she's worried about her son, her daughter-in-law, her grandson. She does some digging. It's a small town.
Right.
And realizes that she knows the mother of a woman who was once one of the previous renters.
Awesome.
So she calls her old friend, who talks to her daughter, who then relays some interesting information back to her.
Mm-hmm.
This woman's daughter reported that she would often smell something odd or foul in the house.
Eek.
Also said that her young son had slept in the corner bedroom, now the nursery.
Uh-huh.
She went on to say that she was always picking up his toys and reprimanding him for not putting them away. Her boy would often say back, but Mama, I didn't play with those toys.
Oh my god.
She just chalked it up to the typical little lies of a kid not wanting to get in trouble for not picking up the toys.
Jesus.
She also added that her daughter had a bedroom upstairs as well, and that she hadn't remembered anything strange, happening in her room, with one exception.
Okay.
She remembers her little girl had grown unusually attached to an imaginary playmate named Sally.
No. No. No.
Her daughter hadn't spoken to Sally since moving away.
Yeah, because she's not there.
Shortly after learning all this, Tony's brother Larry finds out that his boss, Annie, had called her sister Barbara and briefly relayed their experiences. Barbara was a psychic and medium living out in Southern California. So she gets on the phone with Deborah, and without ever having set foot in the house, she says that she strongly felt the spirit of a young girl between 5 and 13 years old living with them.
Shut up.
She says they had nothing to worry about. She says the little spirit just liked living in the house. She felt comfortable there.
I have a lot of teddy bears, so it happens.
Oh my
Some
God.
people have a lot of teddy
also
bears.
explained that the movement of the stuffed animals was probably just this little spirit playing with them as if they were her own toys. She wanted toys. She wanted playmates.
That's not comforting.
It was comforting to Deborah.
Deborah.
Barbara suggested that Tony and Deborah just tell the supposedly harmless child ghost that she was welcome to stay in the house, but that you have to behave. She could play with the toys, but she had to put them back when she was done. Give it rules. Make it clear this was their house, and if she wanted to stay there, she would have to follow their rules. Treat her like a child because, in a sense, that's what she was.
Okay.
The information comforts Deborah more than she expected it to.
I am not on board.
It didn't sound as weird to her as she would have guessed it would have. She didn't feel threatened by the ghost of this girl. She was curious about it. Also, she liked to think maybe this little girl was watching over Taylor somehow.
That is not comforting.
Maybe he was watching over a baby. Tony did not share these feelings.
Tony, you're awesome.
It bothered him that his wife seemed fond of this, possible spirit.
Mm-hmm.
That night, Tony and Deborah see that a photo of the two of them had been turned upside down. What was Sally trying to tell them? Was she angry with them for talking to Barbara?
Uh-huh.
Over the next few months, other friends and family see strange things in the house on North 2nd Street.
Yeah.
Lights flickering.
So many teddy bears.
Straight up turning on and off. Cold spots. Toys seemingly moving on their own. They start taking pictures around the house, start trying to catch the spirit. Developed film later shows strange orbs and blurs. Were these unusual images proof of Sally's existence?
Uh-huh.
Then one day, Sally or some other entity seemingly physically shows itself by attacking Tony.
What?
Tony and Deborah were heading out of the house to head across town to visit Tony's parents. Tony picked up Taylor, set him in his car seat, began to buckle him into place.
Oh my God.
He sat to the left of the car seat facing Taylor. He leaned in to give him his pacifier, and then suddenly, with a painful grimace, Tony jumps to his feet, quickly flings his arm back around to feel something on his lower back. He yelled, "Ow, God damn it!" At almost the same instant that Tony jumped up, Deborah feels a cold and slightly electrical charge of energy go right through her. It seemed to have entered her back, exited through her torso, right in the direction where Tony had been sitting.
Oh my God.
Deborah lifts Tony's shirt to inspect his back as they walk out of the house, and she finds 3 bleeding scratch marks.
Shut up.
Each about 5 or 6 inches long. The thought that Sally may have done this sends chills down her spine, and then she gets angry. And then her anger turns to curiosity.
What?
They both wonder, how could a ghost do something like that? And then she wonders, what could we expect next? Was Sally mad because they were taking Taylor out of the house?
Uh-huh.
Were they in danger? Was the baby in danger? The next morning, Deborah calls Barbara, the psychic, who tells her again that the spirit is just a child. And like a child, sometimes it lashes out, but they shouldn't be afraid. They just needed to talk to her.
Get the fuck out.
Following Barbara's instructions, Tony and Deborah stood in the nursery and told Sally they needed to talk to her. Deborah told her what she had done to Tony was not okay. It was bad. She had hurt him.
What?
She tells her that the baby Taylor is theirs, not hers, but she could play with him, but only if she was nice. If not, they would have to leave, and they will take Taylor with them.
Oh dang.
Tony hates this. He's not going to talk to some ghost, if that's what it even is. Deborah gives Sally rules to follow. Put the toys back. No hurting people. No playing with pictures on the wall.
What?
And then suddenly, Tony and Deborah notice that all 3 of their cats, usually roaming around the house, are in the room, sitting next to each other, and they're all watching something that Tony and Deborah can't see. Following something across the room with their heads. Was Sally in the room with them? Was she listening? Then the chain under the ceiling fan you'd pull to turn, the fan on, starts to move. The cats start watching the chain, as does baby Taylor. Is Sally announcing her presence?
Oh my God.
A few weeks later, Barbara the psychic flies out to visit the house.
Okay.
She wants to meet Sally. She's more and more curious, and she does meet Sally. She experiences a smothering feeling in her chest when she enters the home, as if she's short of breath. Something heavy. She tells Sally that she's not there to harm her, and then that heavy feeling goes away. Barbara seems to channel Sally's spirits. She starts speaking like a little girl. She suddenly says that Deborah has given her too many rules. She can't remember them all.
What?
She says she's only 7 years old, and then her hand hurts. Why does her hand hurt? Her tooth hurts. Why does her tooth hurt? Barbara switches back and forth between speaking as herself and speaking as Sally. She tells them that Sally loves Taylor and is protective of the baby. She says that Sally likes the mommy, but that the daddy makes her nervous, and sometimes the daddy makes her mad.
Oh boy.
Barbara thinks that some man must have hurt Sally at some point.
Right.
Maybe the doctor. She also says Sally doesn't ever want to leave the house. She feels safe there and secure. Barbara says that Sally is a good girl and that she will behave. She just wants a family to belong to.
Yeep.
Tony doesn't like this at all. He doesn't trust Barbara. He doesn't trust Sally. Deborah feels sorry for the little girl, how lonely she must be. Also, Deborah thinks the whole experience, minus Tony being scratched, is kind of cool.
What?
How unique. She's curious. She wants to communicate with this lost little girl.
Jesus.
She suddenly feels maternally protective of her.
That's fucking weird.
For the next few months, the cold spots, objects moving on their own, strange electrical charges, and more continue. More and more friends start to come over to want to meet Sally. See something move, see some lights flicker on and off. Some see nothing, some see something, some like it, some never come back again. Then in September, Sally starts lighting fires.
Oh.
She's acting out. Candles start lighting up on their own around the house. Tony worries this entity is going to burn their house down.
Yeah.
Deborah just speaks to her like a parent, telling her that she can't set fires if she wants to stay. And the fires then stop for a while, then they start again later. On September 12th, 1993, Deborah, for the first time, feels a cold presence enter her bed.
Ooh.
Roughly 1:30 a.m., and it doesn't scare her. She thinks it's Sally crawling into bed to cuddle,
Oh my God.
and she lets it happen.
Shut the fuck up.
Then, on Halloween, October 31st, the morning, Tony sees Sally for the first time. About 7:15 a.m., Tony grabs some OJ from the refrigerator after getting home from working the graveyard shift at a local grain silo. He walks over to the cupboard to the right side of the stove to grab a glass and pour himself a juice. And right as he's about to take a drink, he turns around and he sees her. Standing in the middle of the room, just past a butcher block table, was a little girl with a surprised look in her big blue eyes. He judges her to be about 3.5 feet tall. His heart plummets to his feet, every muscle freezes. Who was this girl? How did she get inside the house? Then he notices something odd about the way she's dressed. Her hair neatly fastened on top of her curly brown, hair, her head, a ribbon, large fancy bow. She looks to be in her Sunday best. Her clothes weren't the kind of clothes a kid has worn, though, in over 100 years. And then he thinks, oh my God, is this Sally? His glass slips from his hand, shatters on the floor. He instinctively looks down on the floor just for a moment, and then when he looks back up, she's gone.
She's gone.
What is happening? Tony wondered, is he losing his mind?
Nope.
That Thanksgiving, Deborah's sister Karen comes into town, brings her young daughter Corey. While Karen is doing dishes around 8 p.m., she hears scratching noises outside the window. She suddenly feels overcome with fear. She refuses to look up and see if anything is looking at her from outside the window as she leaves the room. She walks in the living room, and then she sees 6-inch-high flames shoot out from the head of that beanbag teddy bear.
What?
The one that Tony and Deborah saw move months ago.
Yeah, the heavy one.
Teddy bear.
Exactly. Deborah was growing strangely attached to Sally, scolds the spirit, but feels sorry for her. She rationalizes the fire as Sally just trying to get some attention.
Oh my God. Enough.
That Christmas, there's another fire. A small doll on the stairs spontaneously bursts into flames. Tony actually sees it happen. He takes it up to the sink, puts out the fire while the alarm goes off. Deborah decides to give Sally an oil lamp now of her own to light up when she feels the need to start a fire.
Oh my God, this is insane.
She's talking out loud to Sally all the time as if Sally is Taylor's older sister.
Get the fuck out of there.
A few weeks later, when Deborah and Tony get their Christmas photos developed, for the first time they see, numerous orbs now, numerous blurs. Is there another spirit in the house besides Sally?
Oh my God, Sally brought a friend.
In January of 1994, Tony starts waking up to the sounds of footfalls out on the stairs. After several consecutive nights of hearing this, he gets up, walks outside his bedroom, then freezes with fear. He hears footsteps moving up the stairs towards him, directly towards him. He then feels a cold spot move through him.
No.
As if the spirit just walked inside of him and walked out the other side. It makes him feel nauseous. He decides to not wake Deborah up. He lays back down, has a nightmare he can barely remember, one where someone is grabbing him by the wrist, trying to pull him off of the bed, and then the next day he has bruises on each wrist in the shape of fingers.
Shut up.
A few weeks later, Tony sees the second ghost from the Christmas photo. One night he asks Deborah, did you just walk past the bath? And he stops in mid-sentence as he realizes the answer before he's finished the question. He tells Deborah that he just saw the figure of a woman with blonde hair piled up on her head walk toward the craft room. He had a glimpse of this figure out of the corner of his eye. I could have sworn it was you, he said. They both get scared. She wasn't there. Who is this second spirit? Does she mean harm to them? Does she mean harm to their baby?
Oh, shit.
Deborah privately worries about Sally.
Oh my God,
Will
Deborah.
this other spirit harm Sally? Tony, Deborah, and Tony's little brother George decide to hold a seance to try and contact Sally and this other spirit, any other spirits that may be in the home.
How is that a good idea?
When Deborah asks Sally to light an oil lamp on the table in front of all three of them to reveal her presence, nothing happens. When they ask her again to please show herself, suddenly Tony cries out in pain. Immediately, 3 strange cuts have opened on his forehead. When they ask Sally to please stop hurting Tony, but to reveal herself, a strange white light floats into the dark room. It shoots underneath the table. Then Tony, under the table, finds one of Taylor's binkies, one that has been missing, and the plastic pacifier has a melted tip, still hot to the touch.
Oh my God.
Did Sally burn it intentionally? Or does she sometimes burn things just by contacting them? They stay in the home. Over the next few months, Tony is assaulted numerous more times by Sally. More scratches, bruises, a bite to the thigh, the feeling of being pinned to the ground. He wants to leave. Deborah does not. She thinks they can still make things work with Sally. She cares about her.
Oh my God, you're insane.
There are more small fires around the house. Deborah continues to just scold the spirit. Meanwhile, Tony grows more and more afraid. In early July, Tony is attacked again. Deb hears what sounds like a distorted version of Tony's voice, calling her name from their bedroom late one morning. When she opens the door, she finds him on the far side of the bed, his arms stretched out from his sides, palms and body laid flat, head lifted, and a look of terror in every line of his face. When she asks him what's wrong, he tells her he'd fallen asleep and for some reason woken up, which was not unusual, since he had an awful time trying to sleep during daylight hours because of his graveyard work, his graveyard shift work. And then he says, it started out as specks of dust against the light from the window.
Enjoys my art.
I thought it was dust from the vent in the wall near the end of the bed.
What do you guys think?
That is until I realized it had not been cool enough in the room for the heater to come on. I felt the water bed mat start to gently roll
I just
and
need to move the
Within a few
nose,
seconds, it became
I think
violent,
it looks good.
as if someone was standing on the bed and jumping up and down. Soon the motion was causing the pillows near my head to bounce several inches into the air. My body began to flop uncontrollably. The formation of dust particles near the foot of the bed began to get darker and denser. I think I was mesmerized by this formation, and before I realized, it had taken the shape of a woman's upper torso. Her arms folded in front of her and across her abdomen. The thing started to move closer to me, and as it did, I could make out more details. It was a woman I'd seen before. I was scared. I don't know why I didn't get up to leave. As she got closer, I could see she was dressed all in black, with a high collar adorned with a brooch. At that point, the water in the baffle of the mattress was frantically sloshing. It got so violent that I was barely able to move away and toward the other side
love your
of the
art.
bed.
It's amazing.
My heart pounded like crazy.
It's amazing.
I thought it would burst out of my chest at any minute. I tried to call for you, but nothing would come out. And then in an instant, she was in front of me. The bedroom door slammed shut. The drawer for the nightstand flung itself open and closed repeatedly. The top of the highboy spun around. It was like being in a sci-fi movie, and I could not scream. The woman's hand suddenly lunged from my face, and I heard a voice say, "I'm gonna." There was more that was said, but I couldn't make it out. I remember her hand was covered in a long black lace glove, and just inches from my face, I saw a black bird on her finger. I struggled to crawl out of the bed, over to the door. I don't know if I was just too scared to work the knob properly or what, but I couldn't open the door. Then, suddenly, everything that was moving stopped, and she was gone. I tried to scream several times, but couldn't. Nothing would come out. I don't remember anything more. I don't know how I got back on the bed, except that maybe when everything stopped, I got back up and walked over there. I don't know. Maybe I blacked out or something. Then you opened the door. While Deborah still wasn't bothered by Sally, this new entity is scaring the hell out of her.
Good.
What does it want with her husband? Should they leave the house?
Yes, yes.
But what about Sally?
She'll be fine.
Shortly after this new attack on Tony, Deborah's psychic acquaintance Barbara calls her. She'd been talking to a paranormal investigation team from an old show called Sightings that ran for several seasons on Fox in the early 90s. A show about paranormal, UFO, cryptozoological investigations. She said the show's producers wanted to send a team out to investigate her house.
Okay.
The Sightings investigation team heads out to Kansas. Sure enough, they feel various cold spots. They see orbs.
They see orbs.
They hear hard-to-explain sounds. They feel numerous strange electrical discharges. Also, the production crew witnesses Tony feel a cold sensation around his stomach and start to scream. He lifts his shirt and reveals more fresh scratches. He's bleeding. Then he yells out again, more scratches on his abdomen. The welts forming in front of the crew's eyes. The next day, another paranormal investigator is brought in. He examines, of all things, a rose Tony had picked for Deborah and put in a little vase, and is astonished with what he finds. The edges of each petal have been burned black, but the rest of the flower is not damaged. It seems impossible. What could do this? Sightings investigators return a second, third, fourth time. On the third visit, paranormal author Peter James sees the face of a little girl in an upstairs window. Was it Sally? the siding crew. Or the siding crew also, brings another or a previous tenant to the house, a woman with 3 children.
It changes me to watch others play video games here. It's calmer and we can see a real
many
talent.
incidents of finding toys laying around the house that her kids swore they weren't responsible for.
Thank you, Bowd.
When the sightings crew visits a fourth time in the fall of '94,
I try to be a little bit different from other people.
Tony and Deborah,
I try to be myself.
To come out and cleanse their home of spirits.
I try to be as many people were making fun of back in the day.
She feels guilty about banishing Sally.
Of course.
She keeps having this weird feeling that Sally is watching over Taylor. She even thinks, and she knows this sounds crazy, she thinks that Sally may have saved her baby from dying in his sleep of SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. She knows it sounds crazy, but she feels it just the same.
Okay.
During the cleansing ceremony, the medium makes a protection circle, and Deborah, against Tony and the medium's wishes, invites Sally inside of the circle. She claims,
what the fuck?
She claims she can feel a cold presence sit upon her lap. Once the ceremony begins, she's comforted by this.
What in the fuck?
They recite the Lord's Prayer numerous times. They invite God's light into their home. They visualize God's light illuminating all of the darkness inside the home. They imagine this light getting bigger and more powerful and brighter and cleansing. Then during the ceremony, Tony starts to scream out in pain. The older female spirit was attacking him. The medium said she could feel his dark, malevolent presence. Tony starts spasming in pain and whimpering. Candles they had laid out around the circle begin to violently flicker. New scratches erupt all over Tony's back and neck. He begins to spontaneously bleed. The spirit begins to hit him, bruises before later. His skin starts to feel like it's burning. He's in agony.
Oh my God.
What did it want? And then suddenly, it was over, and the house, for lack of a better word, feels normal. At least that's what they thought. Days after the ceremony, the cleansing ceremony, the terror now intensifies. Tony starts to hear scratching noises inside the walls at all times of the day. He starts hearing whispering coming from inside the house, the chatter of many voices. He's now hearing movement on the stairs every night. He tells Deborah, but suddenly she doesn't seem to care.
What?
She's obsessed with Sally. Deborah feels Sally's presence more than ever. She's glad she saved her from banishment. She loves her.
It's not Sally.
She never wants to leave this house. And then Tony starts fighting new horrible thoughts. He now sometimes suddenly wants to hurt his son Taylor. He wants to hurt the pets. He wants to hurt his wife Deborah. Sometimes he suddenly thinks about killing Deborah.
Oh my God.
One day his thoughts darker than ever while one of his cats drinks from its water bowl.
No.
He impulsively grabs a butcher knife.
No.
And stabs the cat in the stomach. He sits down and watches it die.
Oh no.
He feels zero remorse. He feels like a different person. It feels great. Why is this happening? He imagines how wonderful he would feel doing the same thing to Deborah when she comes home.
Oh dear.
Yes, he must do it. He wants to see her do what he has done to the cat, and then he'll do the same to her. It all felt so reasonable. And then suddenly it didn't. He snaps out of what felt like a trance. He couldn't believe what he just thought, what he just done. He cleans up the dead cat, no longer wants to stab Deborah. He's trying to figure out what's going on in his own mind. What the hell was he thinking?
Get the fuck out of this house.
He feels tired, confused, nothing's making sense anymore. When Deborah comes home, he says nothing about the cat. She doesn't notice it's missing. All she cares about is her baby Taylor and, of course, her other baby, Sally. 2 days after killing the cat, Tony almost dies himself. He's walking out of his bedroom when suddenly something pushes him violently from behind. His feet leave the ground. He flies into the railing, breaking out 3 rungs, nearly topples headfirst over down onto the floor below. He would have broken his neck. My God, how much longer can this go on? He tells Deborah he's almost died. Something's tried to kill him. This somehow snaps Deborah out of whatever spell she was under. They call the landlord. They finally tell him they're going to move.
Oh, finally.
They move out of the house on October 31st, 1994. Sally does not come with them, but Deborah feels her rage and sadness as they start to leave. When she's walking out of the house, she suddenly has a powerful urge to take their baby and run back inside.
Oh my God, no.
She should leave Tony. She doesn't need him.
No.
She only needs Sally and Taylor.
Oh my God.
She almost turns around, but she doesn't. She does leave, and then reflecting on this incident months later, Deborah questions if Sally was ever a real girl. Was Sally just some sinister, demonic, manipulative manifestation? Some way to get her to stay in that house with the baby? What if the goal was to kill Tony the entire time, and once he was gone, take possession of Deborah, Taylor, or both of them? What if Sally and that woman were the same thing? Different aspects of the same evil inside that house. They'll never know for sure. They're just glad they no longer live there. And no one currently lives there, but the house is open for tours.
Oh.
You can pay to stay overnight if you want, and if you do that, say hi to Sally for us because we're not going there. That's that story.
Oh, motherfucker.
There
Creepy,
you
right?
guys. Don't trust ghosts.
So many things.
They
Fucking
manipulated her.
Don't
Well,
ask.
I think that Sally might be real, but I think that
She's not a good girl.
I don't necessarily think that.
Really?
Yeah, I think that Sally brought a friend along.
Ah.
That's what I think the problem is. I think that Sally, if Sally is a real spirit, I think that Sally is okay. I think that Sally is the little girl that had surgery and died, and Sally is sad, right? You know, and she just wants a family and all of that. I think that Sally has attached herself to another spirit, if that's a thing.
Yeah,
or,
who knows?
I mean, when it really got real for me was in the circle. I don't think that was Sally sitting in Deborah's lap. I think at that point, I think it was the other thing, and that's why the power became stronger, and the scratching in the walls and the voices. I think that that's why it became so much more intense.
Okay. Let's pick just for the house.
Okay.
Yeah, first picture is of the house here. So that's the house. No, that is just the house.
Okay. Not too bad.
Not too bad. I mean, it does look a little spooky.
But let me say something. Where I grew up, like in Parma Heights, Ohio, for anybody who's watching, there are a lot of houses that look kind of similar to this in the Parma area. So, yeah, a little creepy, but also just like an older house.
Right.
Maybe it's not that bad. It's the windows in the eaves.
Picture a little girl's face up there.
I know I'm looking at the window in the back in that like portico kind of area.
Let's do the next picture.
Not portico. That's not a portico.
That's just a different angle. I mean, it does look a little spookier there.
Yeah.
This old painted brick and things.
Yeah.
Yeek. I think we have another picture
I don't think I want
the
to see it.
house.
Lurking at
That's just a little demon girl.
work. That's
Just somebody from Vision I thought was
okay.
funny, a little demon girl.
That's okay,
We have another
man.
picture.
You can lurk. Haven can lurk. Everybody can
Momo.
lurk.
Our daughter's nickname is Momo.
She hates
and she
this
hates
meme.
it because there's a meme now, the scary meme. When I was looking like Demon Girl, the Momo meme came up. It is so creepy.
It is. It's just so weird. But because I know that it's not real,
It's a sculpture. It's a sculpture made by a Japanese man, it's so tough.
Don't even try.
Kisuke Asawa, I believe.
Okay, that's enough, Joe. Thank you.
Get turned to that meme. Oh, that was so creepy. I thought I just saw something crawl on my arm. Yeah.
Did you?
Nothing there. I thought it was a bug crawling on my arm. I don't know what the hell that was about.
Okay, that's enough of Momo.
Okay, now
Poor Momo, our Momo. She was saying that like in school, you know, like the school year hasn't been going for that long, and they do like you know, get to know each other kind of thing. Like, what's your favorite food? Blah 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 blah. And they were like, oh, what's your nickname? And she wrote down Momo, and some kid next to her was like, you can't write that. That's not appropriate.
Gonna conjure it into existence.
Well, they just thought that she was being.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't really know.
Yeah.
And they just thought that she was trying to be a creepster. I don't like how Sally seemed to attach herself, ingratiate herself to Deborah. If I start to like, I know, right? I had chills.
Well, if you think about her motivation, if she was a little girl who died in that house and was trapped there, I get, you know, wanting to have playmates
and
wanting to have a mommy.
Yeah.
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 You don't want to be a little ghost girl's mommy.
Well, it just, when Deborah was getting really attached to Sally, it just started to feel like she was a bit unstable. Where I was like, I was like, okay, if that happens, you just by the back of my neck pull me out of the house and we move.
Right, and vice versa.
Yeah, you don't get to like be friends with the ghost.
I know,
like the ghost that's in our house.
Creepy.
Like the ghost that's in our house.
If there is,
I think he's gone.
Good. I never felt it. I don't want to.
I had like a. You didn't want to. I mean, I didn't want to feel it. I couldn't help feeling it. It's not a choice. But I yelled at it a lot to go away after people told me how to get rid of it, and I did lots of like cleansing and spraying things and prayers and, you know, all the different protection spells. But it was actually kind of funny. I got this email from somebody and they were like, oh yeah, like my brother and sister-in-law or whatever, they thought they had a ghost, and then at the same time they had to get a new furnace, and when they got the new furnace, all the feelings went away. And I swear to God, we also had to get a new furnace. The feelings are gone.
Okay.
Was it trapped in the furnace?
Maybe it's trapped in the furnace.
I mean, I don't think so. Maybe I just want to feel better.
To feel that? Yeah, to
and
rationalize it that way, maybe.
Yeah.
Now, how have you, do you want to tell people how you've been lately? I think you've been better.
Well, I was better. I don't want to talk about it because all I can see is the
Hat Man.
The Hat Man. I was actually doing great. Now, last week's episode was definitely super fucking scary, but in a really different way. And I've been having different, like, spooky, scary thoughts of, like, when I go to my car. I mean, it's that time of year where it's getting dark early. Yeah. And I walk to my car after yoga, and, like, no one else is around. And for some reason, that story made me feel like, oh my God, what if I get abducted?
Yeah, different kind of terror.
Yeah, like a very real terror, because obviously I'm not a sex worker. So,
yeah.
I mean, as far as you know. So I'm
keeping that money if you are.
Well, how do you think I buy all my fancy things?
Oh, man.
But I mean, there would be that was an overarching part of those stories, that these girls were sex workers, you know, or that they would get into prostitution, and that seems like an obvious in. Like, you know, you're sad, you're lonely, you want someone to belong to, right? We kind of talked about that last week. And so if you didn't get in that way, how else would you be brought into this crazy satanic cult?
Right. Yeah.
Because it's like if it was just a regular person, you would also have an out. You would have family looking for you. You would have somebody like trying to talk sense into you.
Yeah.
So somehow my mind goes from all of that to, I'm going to be abducted and fucking sacrificed on a satanic altar in the middle of the forest in North Idaho. Which
I know how crazy that. I mean, not necessarily North Idaho, but how crazy that is exactly how some people have met their demise. People chanting around them and just literally sacrificed to somebody's belief in the Christian devil. Yeek.
Well, and abductions are, I mean, that's a thing that happens.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
People are kidnapped. Do you remember the story of Mary Jo Pesho?
No.
Growing up in Cleveland, this was a really big story, and it's like what has fueled my fear of getting into my car by myself at night, and why I've learned to like look under the car. Like, I mean, cars are so advanced now. You know, you unlock it from a distance with a remote, and it lights up the whole inside of the car. But it wasn't like that when I started driving. You know,
right?
This woman, it was at the Parmatown Mall, which was the mall 10 minutes from my house, not even 5 minutes really, and it was around Christmas, and she was going to her car, and some man was waiting for her. I can't remember if he was hidden in the back seat of her car or underneath the car, but abducted her, tortured, killed, the whole, at least that's how I remember it. I mean, because it was before I was driving, but like maybe I had my learner's permit or something, and it was like just at the right time where for forever after that, I'm like, ugh, getting into a car at night is so fucking scary. Yeah.
Get some stories for me?
Are you ready?
I am ready. I'm excited for this.
I have
somebody give me this. I have a little stress reliever.
So much fun.
Little ghost guy.
He's not a ghost. He's a skeleton?
Skeleton. He's a little skeleton guy.
I can't say it in Spanish. What is it a nod to?
Dios de los Muertes? I think it's Dios de los Muertes. Day of the Dead?
I would say Dia de los Muertos or something. I can't do it.
Dios de los Momo?
Oh, no, not Momo.
Day of the Momo?
Okay. So this story is sent to us by listener Zach Lucas, and he's the only person of the stories this week that was willing to give their name. Everybody else said, leave my name out of it. So just as a heads up, this takes us back to episode 2, an update on the LaChance family.
Oh, wow.
And this is pretty spooky.
Okay. Good.
Hey, my name is Zach Lucas. I can't tell you how stoked I was to hear the LaChance family's story on Scared to Death. I had goosebumps the whole episode. My grandmother, who I spent a lot of time with growing up, actually lives just a couple blocks away from that house. But that's not even the most interesting part. I live in Springfield, Missouri, I live in Springfield, Missouri now, but grew up 20 minutes west of Union outside a little town called Gerald? Our close family friends and neighbors, check this out, were the brother and sister-in-law of Stephen LaChance, Lawrence, also known as Larry, and Charlotte LaChance. When Stephen began investigating the house, Charlotte was a part of their team of investigators.
Wow.
I can say I saw firsthand some of the evidence that was coming out of this house, and let me tell you, fucking creepy. I tell people all the time about the things that Charlotte had shown me, and most people jump to the, oh, maybe she was photoshopping the pictures or whatever, but let me tell you, this woman barely knew how to turn on the digital camera she took most of her pictures with. I watched videos of people getting scratched, heard EVPs, and for people who don't know what that is, it's an electronic voice phenomena, of a disembodied voice screaming, "Get out!" and countless pictures of all kinds of weird shit from odd lights. one that looked like a portal with humanoid shapes coming out of it, orbs, and even a full-bodied apparition of a woman in a scary window where Matt said he saw the man. Really creepy shit. I'm sure you can understand my giddiness when you said something about a haunting in Missouri, and my brain went straight to the creepy house on Christina Avenue, just up the street from Grandma's. Also, just a side note, when you talked about the area, there are several houses in that neighborhood where people have committed suicide, as well as a couple murders in the apartment complex on the corner. And the nursing home you mentioned, my grandma shares her backyard with that nursing home, and it's fucking creepy. Anyways, the screaming house and how not very far removed I was from the people actually involved has since fueled my interest in all things paranormal and everything creepy. I love the job you did telling the LeChance story. Hope this adds some credence to the story and scares you and the Queen of the Suck to death. Stay scared, Zach.
Wow. Yeah, it is, I'm pulling these from various sources online, old books, whatever.
Right.
And, I'm not in contact with the people. And a lot of times there's no way to contact them.
And I don't know that I'd want to invite them into my life.
No, I don't want to, open that door necessarily. So that just makes it that much more real.
Right.
Where he's like, oh, yeah, all the things you were talking about. Yep, I know some of those people.
Yeah.
Super creepy. Saw some of that stuff myself.
Happened.
Oh, wow. And that's a story that has maybe scared the most people. That one.
LeChance?
Yeah, the LeChance family, the little dark entity moving around in the windows.
Dude.
All the creepy shit that came out of that basement. My God, yeah.
Yeah.
That
one fucked me up for a while.
Thank you for sending that in, kind of.
Kind of, sort of, not really. But thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this next one, just a reminder to anybody who's just tuning in, I'm terrified of aliens.
Oh, yeah.
Like the creepy, weird shaped head, long googly finger, really fucking creeps me out. So this goes all the way back to episode 1 if you're just tuning in. Here's a little update from a fan who would like to remain anonymous, and I am so certain had an alien encounter. I totally believe this story. After a shit-tacular divorce, I ended up living with my parents again for a little while. The house is in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the Midwest, with no other homes nearby. The room I was sleeping in had no curtains, but we weren't concerned with anyone peeping in. Please note, I had not taken any legal or illegal drugs before I went to bed this night. The moon was full this night, and it cast a little light into my room. I woke up to see a humanoid figure standing slightly hunched by the side of my bed, looking down at me rather curiously.
The aliens.
I was not afraid in any way.
Why would
in fact,
they
I was
want
very
me?
calm. I could tell it was wearing something dark, like a colored suit, very tight over the body. It was thin. I'd have to say at standing about 5'7". It had a large head and long arms. After looking at me for a bit, it reached over. It had these long fingers with larger finger pads, and it touched a finger to the side of my neck, and then boom, I was out. I woke up the next morning thinking it was a very strange dream, and I told my mom about it. I then went to the bathroom, looked at my neck, and there was a large finger pad-shaped dark spot on my neck.
Oh my God.
It stayed there most of the day before fading away. I was freaked the fuck out. And yes, I did show my family the mark just so they knew I wasn't totally crazy. The next night, I kept waking up in a panic. Rapid heartbeat, sweating, even crying. All night long. The only thing I can think is that whatever happened to me, they wiped my memory of it. My subconscious, though, remembered something. It's been 4 years, and I'm still expecting to wake up and see it again. I would try hypnosis, but I'm afraid of what I could possibly remember. Sorry for the long email. You and your team are awesome.
Thank you, Anonymous. Yeah, I'm so actually curious about the UFO, alien stuff. Yeah, I know that stuff scares you more than me. It just weirds me out.
It could happen. You don't know if it's not happening. Men in Black.
Good.
Dude.
What if there's some awesome kind of aliens that abduct you? What if they're
There's no stories of that.
What if there's blowjob aliens? That's all they do. All they want to do.
If that was a thing, I give you a free unlimited hall pass.
Sweet. Come on, aliens.
Alien BJs. It's probably very sloppy. For some reason, I think of aliens as being like wet and gross and jelly and.
Never mind, aliens. No, thank you.
You don't want a sloppy alien blowjob?
No, but yeah, that is. I mean, that's so many stories.
No.
That's like I've said, early
blowjob aliens.
In the early episodes. Just takes one.
Yeah.
If any one of these,
I could be down
experiences
for it.
is legit.
Oh my God.
then it opens up the door to all this stuff.
What if we're just living in an alien experiment? What if all of us on this planet have been abducted and brought here, given backstories?
Yeah.
And we don't even know.
We don't even know. There's so many weird possibilities. When I forgot to tell you, when I was in Columbus, Ohio, this past weekend, doing morning radio for some stand-up comedy shows there, I was talking off air.
Yeah.
He didn't want to talk about it on air, with one of the DJs there. This is kind of classic rock station. Been there for a while. But he was just saying how the house he moved in, he was always very skeptical.
Sure.
Very, very skeptical. Moved in this house, and just weird shit. Dog growling at things he couldn't see.
Oh, yeah.
Electrical things coming on and off. And he's getting freaked out. And then suddenly somebody shows up at the doors. It was a former person who had lived there.
Yeah. To tell him?
Just asked him, like, hey, has anything strange been going on for you too? And then they shared stories. It was the exact same stuff.
Get out. Does he own the house?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Mm-hmm. They bought the house, freaked him out, and then there was more stuff that I just can't remember. But it was enough details. I was super tired. I was like running on very low sleep. But I just remember being like, oh my God. I mean, there's no. It was a very detailed story. With lots of witnesses supposedly, and it's like, well, why
nobody is living in a haunted house.
And a first-hand encounter like that is different than like reading a story online. Yeah. That's how I feel about the stories we get from the fans. Is that it's like, I know you're real people. Right. I think. Oh my God, are you aliens?
Maybe it's Sally sending all these emails.
Fucking.
Ghosts.
When you were telling that story, I could hear like, "Ride, Sally, ride," like so much. I have one more for you.
Oh, okay.
I think this is a good not update, but an actual story.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll get out of here soon. So this last story I decided to tell to you because I could picture Riggins. This happens in a very small town.
Yeah.
And it seemed like something that could happen there.
Okay.
Okay. Greetings, Your Highness of the Suck and Scared. I have a story for you to this day that creeps me out. Back in 2013, around this same time of year, my friend, her boyfriend, and I decided that we wanted to go check out some local, supposedly haunted spots in southern Illinois. We ended up driving all the way out of town to this small town, population about 300, where she grew up, and she knew all the old legends.
Yeah.
We started heading down some back roads out of that town and drove by a graveyard, some old houses, and finally out into the woods and farm fields. At this point, it's about 11 p.m., pitch black. No moon, no clouds rolling in, and the creep factor was high. As we were going down this stretch of road, we came around a corner and see a huge bonfire. The flames had to be at least 15 feet high. Silhouetted against the flame were about 5 to 7 figures in what I swear looked to be dark robes standing around the fire. We came to a stop because this isn't something you see normally in that area. After what felt like forever, but was probably only 15 seconds or so, my friend said something along the lines of, "We need to get the fuck out of here." At that same time, I could see the figures looking towards us and feeling, nope, come over me. I wasn't in a good spot to turn around, so I just floored it, and we sped past, tires screeching. We could see them watching us drive away. When we got to the end of the road, we could either turn left and get further away from the fire or take a right and make a loop back to check again. I'm stubborn. Lindsay will say I'm stupid, but oh well, I lived a little that night. And I was convinced that it was just us overreacting and us wanting to see something creepy.
Yeah.
So I drove us back to where the group of robed people were standing around the giant bonfire. When we got around the corner, maybe 5 minutes had passed, if that. They were gone. The fire was out. No one was around. I couldn't see any headlights in the distance, no sign of life. I drove closer to the spot where they were, and we looked out the window to see if we could see anything else. My friend was freaking out and refused to let anyone out of the car. I pulled out my flashlight from my glove compartment and shone it around the clearing. Not one single trace of the fire. At first, we thought maybe I took a wrong turn, but nope. It was right in the same place. I could see my old tire tracks. Needless to say, we haven't gone back, and I sure as hell don't plan on it. There are a lot of rumors in that area about some dark and evil paranormal shit, but I had never believed it until I saw it myself. I hope you enjoyed the story. It isn't as scary as the ones that you tell, but scary enough to keep me out of that part of the country.
That's scary.
I think that's fucking terrifying.
What a weird twist that it was just all gone and no sign of a fire.
Right.
And then more than one person saw that.
That's my thing. I'm like, it's not like you were by yourself and you were just like really, you're driving late at night and you're scared and you're tired and all the things and your imagination gets the best of you. You're listening to some terribly creepy podcast.
Right,
but it's like 3 people and like all sober. You know, I mean, like, no, like, oh, we were out partying.
Right.
What the fuck was that?
No, it's all good.
I cannot even begin to process.
It's all good.
I have no idea how to.
I was thinking
that would freak me out so bad if I was by myself and that happened. It would scare the shit out of me, but I would rationalize it as I just made something up in my head.
Right.
I imagine that. If another person, and it wasn't like they were just jumping off of what I said, if we were both adding details.
Right.
You know, like, oh my God, me too. No, that's what I saw. And then you tell something, oh, no, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That would stay with me forever.
Yeah. I was thinking about, so, you know, I was thinking about Riggins.
Right.
And, like, you know, how we, like, come down the hill, and we, like, go to Grandma and Grandpa's, but then, like, that far side of town as you're, like, as you, like, pass through Riggins and you're heading towards McCall.
Yeah.
Was that, like, what is that part?
Oh, usually what Sawmill was, where you can go, like, up the Salmon that way, the old Salmon River Road.
Yeah, and it, like, starts to, like, open up, and it's just, there's not a lot.
Whether thou art a ghost that hath come from the earth, or a phantom of night that hath no home, or one that lieth dead in the desert, or a ghost unburied, or a demon, or a ghoul, whatever thou be until thou art removed, thou shalt find here no water to drink. Thou shalt not stretch forth thy hand to our own. Into our house enter thou not. Through our fence break through thou not. We are protected, though we may be frightened. Our life you may not steal, though we may be scared to death.
Welcome to Scared to Death, Creeps and Peepers.
Woohoo!
I'm Dan.
Hi, I'm Lindsay.
Hope you're watching or listening in a dark and eerie place.
I'm so scared for this week because I know that you're already freaked out.
Yeah, I got a little freaked out. I'll explain why I'm freaked out after the stories, why they bothered me a little more than normal this week.
Yeah, I'm wearing a little extra protection. Fans of the show, Rich and Laura Desmond, sent me this sage necklace, so I'm feeling like I'm extra protected this week.
It's a cool looking necklace. Not normally one for crystally things. That's nice. It's subdued.
Dude,
it's a small crystal. I like it.
Don't start with the crystals.
Thanks for subscribing on YouTube and all the ratings and reviews as well.
Yeah,
we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And again, you know, the reason that we need that, just to keep, you know, reminding you guys of why that's important, is because that's how other people find us. So if you're enjoying this and you want other people to enjoy it, please rate and review the podcast, and of course, share it with all of your friends.
And we're glad that the Creeps and Peepers nicknames have stuck. No feedback that those were taken by any other place. So we got the Creeps, who can't get enough of horror, and we got the Peepers, who hate horror and love it.
That's me.
Scares the hell out of them, but you keep coming back for more.
Yep.
And you're coming back for more this week.
Yeah, well, I don't think I have a choice in the matter anymore.
You're in.
I'm in.
You're
That's
in.
It. I mean, I know you've offered to replace me, but
only for your mental health.
I'm okay.
I know.
Today.
Got two claimed to be true, possibly paranormal tales today. We'll tell our first mysterious disappearance story. Dive into the creepy history of Vermont's Bennington Triangle, which I had never heard of.
I already don't like it because, you know, I'm afraid of aliens, and that's what disappearances make me think immediately.
Okay. Well, you'll probably be thinking that today, and you might be afraid to go into the woods.
Oh, great. So we're never going camping again. Got it.
Maybe not. We have over 30 people gone since the 1940s. And then we head to primarily Colorado to look into the possibly cursed, probably haunted Harold the Doll. Lots of paranormal speculation surrounding this tiny, chills-inducing doll. Very creepy doll. Is it cursed? Is a spirit or perhaps several spirits trapped inside of this thing? Has the doll actually killed people?
Do you see the doll behind you?
Oh my God! I know. I don't want to look at it right now. I don't want to think about it. This is the story that bothers me.
Oh God, great.
Also looking forward. If you see that, I'm gonna get the fuck out of this room.
You're gonna GTFO?
I'm a little spooked about I've never, as a kid, just never cared for them. Okay, so yes.
Ooh.
This one is the one that really bothered me this week.
Is that why you wanted me to sleep on the couch upstairs last night?
Maybe. Also looking forward to some of your horror tales that Lindsay will be telling me at the end of the show.
I have a really good one this week. I'm super excited, from our fan, Frankie.
Creeps and Peepers, keep sending those stories in, your personal tales of horror to mysstory@scaredtodeathpodcast.com.
Though.
And if you have anything else you want to share with us, sometimes we also have like a really cool message that we got from someone this week. So if you have anything that is not a story that you want to share with us, info@scaredtodeathpodcast.com, and that comes directly to me.
All right, you ready to get started?
Okay, let me get my blankie.
Get protected.
I've
Get
got
protected.
leopard socks
that tail
on
doesn't look half
today.
bad.
Thank you. They felt thematic.
I gave myself too hard of a time. I gave myself way too hard of a time. It doesn't look bad. You're right.
Okay, get in a good space.
Stick with it.
Good. I got my coffee.
It's
And
fine.
I got my special drink cup from our friend Gary Howard. I'm ready.
Time now for the tale of the Bennington Triangle. You've most likely heard of the Bermuda Triangle, but have you heard of Vermont's Bennington Triangle? Since the 1940s, the woods inside this landlocked triangle have swallowed up roughly 40 people. No sign has been left regarding to what happened to them. In all but a handful of cases, no remains have ever been
I
found.
know it's
Okay.
No
real
evidence of foul
early in
play.
the morning. It's
Out-of-town explorers and
4:41
locals
right now.
alike have just vanished without a trace.
The tail's looking
never to be
better with
seen
some
again.
color in it. Yeah.
People who, for unknown reasons,
Maybe it was
disappeared
the
forever
color.
when
It was
forest
the
or
lack
something
of
inside
color
of the
that was
forest
really
seems to
getting
have
to
just
me.
taken them. The borders of the Bennington Triangle aren't clearly defined. It's thought to be centered at Glastonbury
I hope
Mountain.
you are enjoying
And, sorry
all
if
of
I'm
the stories.
mispronouncing that, Vermont
I would say
and the surrounding towns
you
include
must
Bennington,
be
Woodford, Shaftesbury,
a
and
creeper.
Somerset. Bennington
I'm a
sits
bit more
near
of a
where Vermont,
peeper.
New York, and Massachusetts all intersect. Quaint, small city of just over 15,000 people. With
But I've been listening to this podcast for 2 years, and the stories still get me.
A chocolatier,
So
a live
I
theater,
guess I'm a
local
creeper.
little bookshop, very Vermont. Toy stores, music shops, art shops, museum, galleries, and more. And Bennington is surrounded by mountains and the thick, dark forests that cover them. The massive Green Mountain National Forest, more than 400,000 undeveloped acres of timber, sits to the northeast, one of only 2 national forests in all of New England, thick with aspen and birch trees and various types of pine, spruce and fir and white and red pine. The area is home to moose, black bears, coyotes, and possibly creatures that defy explanation or classification.
No, thank you.
The famous Appalachian Trail cuts through this forest, and Glastonbury Mountain, seemingly the epicenter of the Bennington Triangle disappearances, sits inside this park as well. And while many naturalists and nature enthusiasts love this area for its scenic, well-maintained trails, postcard-like vistas, wildlife, cold, clear lakes, creeks, and rugged beauty, others will not set foot in this land.
That's me. I'm not going there.
According to local American Indian folklore, the land where the 4 winds meet has been cursed for centuries. There are tales of a stone atop the mountain that swallows men whole if they dare set foot upon it. Their body and souls banished forever to some other realm of existence. There are parts of this forest where tribes haven't, or wouldn't set foot inside of it for centuries. The tribes told tales of wild, man-like beasts that would kill anyone who dared to enter their haunted land. And then in 1945, a 5-year span of disappearances began in the Bennington Triangle that got paranormal enthusiasts worldwide speculating about the area, and the speculation hasn't stopped. It all started with the vanishing of Mitty Rivers. Mitty was a 74-year-old local hunting guide, and he'd led a party of 4 hunters around the area of Hell Hollow in the southwest woods of Glastonbury before he suddenly and inexplicably disappeared. After an unsuccessful initial search, many still held out hope that this knowledgeable woodsman was still alive. Locals half expected him to suddenly walk back into town, but he never did.
Nope.
Soon, more than 300 concerned locals and U.S. Army soldiers dispatched from the Massachusetts Fort Devens combed through the vast wilderness for 8 straight days, and they didn't turn up a single shred of evidence as to his whereabouts.
Weird.
No one knows to this day what happened to him. The woods just took him.
How?
The following year, an 18-year-old student at Bennington College, Paula Weldon, disappeared just as completely. Weldon had decided to hike a leg of the popular Long Trail during Thanksgiving break when most of her classmates had already returned home for the holiday. She was last seen on Sunday, December 1st, 1946, when she'd worked her usual lunch shift at the school's dining hall. Later that afternoon, she put on a red parka and jeans and left her dormitory for the great outdoors. She stepped onto the Long Trail near Glastonbury Mountain, and then she was just gone. She never showed up for her Monday classes, spurring a massive search party of more than 1,000 people. Her father put out a reward for information leading to her whereabouts of $5,000, a considerable sum of money at the time. Despite the large turnout in the reward, despite numerous aircrafts combing the skies searching for her, despite a variety of assisting law enforcement departments from multiple states all working together to find her, no clue whatsoever to her fate was ever uncovered.
Where the fuck is she?
No one knows what happened to her in those woods. Her case remains open to this day over 70 years later.
Wow.
Exactly 3 years to the day after Paula Weldon vanished, an even more mysterious and I think much more disturbing disappearance occurred in the Bennington Triangle. On December 1st, 1949, a 68-year-old man named James E. Tedford boarded a bus to Bennington after visiting relatives in St. Albans, Vermont, 150 miles due north. Numerous eyewitnesses, including the driver of the bus, later confirmed that Tedford had been in his seat as late as the very last stop before Bennington. Yet, when the bus pulled into Bennington, he was gone.
What?
He had somehow impossibly vanished into thin air while inside the bus, while the bus was moving through the Bennington Triangle.
No fucking way.
Multiple people remembered him being on the bus after his last stop before Bennington. Baffled passengers noted that Tedford's luggage and an open bus timetable remained on his seat.
What?
He was holding the timetable. Suddenly the seat is empty, just the timetable is there.
Fuck that.
If the witnesses were correct, Tedford would have disappeared from his seat, again, while the bus was traveling down Route 7, while it was driving through the Bennington Triangle.
Never going there.
No clue as to anything that happened to him. No remains, nothing has ever been found.
Guys, you ready to
Nearly
go to a
year later,
triangle?
in mid-October 1950, the woods took another life. 8-year-old Paul Jepson went missing.
You never
The
know.
boy was last
They
seen
could just
happily
be
playing
in
near his
another
family's pickup truck,
another
by his mother,
reality.
who had left him to tend to some pigs at the dump where she and her husband were caretakers, and they never saw him again, nor did anyone else. In addition to law enforcement,
Could just
and
be in
hundreds of
another
volunteers who
reality.
assembled to form a search party to find him.
Could still
A New Hampshire
be
sheriff brought
alive.
in
Well,
bloodhounds
probably
to sniff
not
out
the
for the missing boy.
70-year-old woman,
The dogs were able
but
to
you
pick
know.
up his scent,
Okay.
and then
But they
just
could have lived
suddenly
a full
and abruptly
life.
lost his trail
You
as
never
if he had
know.
evaporated into
We
thin
just
air.
get
What the
tossed
fuck?
to another
Long after his son
reality.
vanished, young Paul's father told the Albany Times-Union that it was perhaps, quote, the lure of the mountains that had pulled in his missing son. He said that Paul had strangely talked of nothing but the mountain in the days prior to his disappearance.
What?
Why? What wanted him there?
Oh my god.
2 weeks later, another person went missing. The only one of these 5 in this little time frame whose body would later be found.
Okay, okay.
In mid-December 1949, 53-year-old Frida Langer, an experienced hiker and survivalist familiar with the area, also went missing from the Long Trail, bordering Glastonbury. After hiking a brief half-mile with her cousin, Langer fell into a stream, set off back to camp to change her clothes, where her husband was resting with a hurt knee. But neither her husband nor her cousin ever saw her again.
Shit.
Not alive. Helicopters from the Connecticut Coast Guard and U.S. Army in Massachusetts, as well as local aircraft from citizens and the Vermont Aeronautics Commission, all helped search for Langer. As many as 400 people, including the Massachusetts National Guard, even meticulously searched the surrounding areas, and initially they found absolutely nothing. Then 6 months after she went missing, Langer's corpse was found near the Somerset Reservoir. Curiously, it was an open area that had been searched extensively numerous times immediately following her disappearance.
Weird.
What happened to her? Why didn't they find her sooner? No one knows. Her body, by the time it was found, had decayed so badly that the cause of death could never be determined. Many, many other strange occurrences have gone on in these woods, not just disappearances. In 1892, a sawmill worker, Henry McDowell, bludgeoned a coworker to death randomly with a rock.
What?
After he claimed he heard voices coming from the trees urging him to attack. He was committed to an insane asylum, managed to escape from the asylum, vanished into the woods, never seen again. 5 years after that murder, a prominent local citizen named John Harbour headed out just south of Glastonbury to hunt, and he was later found shot dead with his fully loaded gun laying next to him. Strangely, someone or something had dragged him several yards after he had been shot and propped up his body, set the gun next to him. Those who investigated his death were left wondering why he was so easily shot when he had a fully loaded gun.
Right.
Why would his assailant bother to set the gun next to him after moving the body?
Right.
His murder has never been solved.
Of course not.
Numerous hikers and hunters have seen and heard unexplainable shapes and sounds in the forest for years. Many have spotted odd lights in the sky. Not satellites, not planes, not stars or planets or
Lunchtime,
anything
it was
that
so
could
cool.
identify.
Bye, everyone. Have a
truly
good
UFOs in the
stream.
sense
Get
that
some
while
good
maybe not
lunch. Enjoy
extraterrestrial,
yourself. Thank you
definitely
so much,
unidentified.
Bound.
Is that
you know
what's
you're
been taking
amazing.
people from this
Go
forest?
sit, if you're sleepy, go
Why
get
have
some
they been
sleep.
taking people from this forest? Voices have been heard by more than just that one man back in 1892 on dead air FM bandwidths.
What?
Quote, terrifying voices have been picked up numerous times. No one thus far can figure out what the voices are saying. Maybe eeriest of all, strange shadows have been spotted in the forest. Humanoid shapes moving between the trees. What are they? What do they want? The cryptid Bennington monster has even been blamed for disappearances. The first reported sighting of the Bennington monster took place early in the 19th century. A stagecoach full of passengers was traveling near the Glastonbury area when the driver was forced to stop due to a washed-out road. This is when the driver noticed a large footprint in the mud which didn't appear to be human. And that's when a large creature, humanoid but much bigger than a man, supposedly attacked the coach, knocked it over with several blows. The passengers, multiple passengers, reported seeing a pair of eyes staring at them from the dark, and then they heard something roar and rush off into the darkness. What exactly, if anything, did those people see? Is the land of the Bennington Triangle really cursed? What's out there in the woods
Something
of
awful?
southwestern
I
Vermont?
see it. I saw it.
If you've ever spent time way out in those or any other woods, you know the woods are mysterious, and at night they can be a truly frightening place. A darkness you don't understand if you've only lived in a city. What lies out in the woods at night beyond the beam of your flashlight? What could be standing right next to you? Something you could feel but not see if that flashlight were to go out.
Fuck you.
What waits for you under the moonlight?
My God, stop.
Ghosts, aliens, living shadows? What if some monsters are real? And what if some of those monsters prowl the woods to this day in the Bennington Triangle? What if others prowl your neck of the woods?
Well, thanks for that, because our house butts up to fucking woods. Asshole. Fuck you.
I meant to say what other monsters at the end too.
I don't care what you meant to say. We all knew what you meant to say. And I do want to say it's the Appalachian Trail.
No, it's Appalachian. I've been corrected many times.
Appalachian?
That's
I
the
grew up in
regional.
Ohio.
Well, I have Appalachia, and so if it, every time on my on the other podcast time, this is why I'm saying this. When I used to say Appalachian, oh boy,
Really?
lot of backlash from the regional Appalachian folk.
No. I wonder,
that's why I
if
said it
it's
that way.
colloquial to where...
I bet.
Okay.
People can be real territorial about their
I
phrases.
get it. I get it. I mean, I grew up in Cuyahoga County. When people call it like Cuyahoga, I'm like, that's not it.
I think it's one of those things.
Okay. Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Chills the whole fucking time.
Hey, you don't like disappearances.
I don't, because there's no reason for it to happen. Like if we've got a murderer, okay, that person did it to that person.
Right.
If we have a possession, even though I can't see the spirit, other people are seeing it happen. But it's like people are just fucking.
Right. And you know, we said murderer. I mean, no, that's one of the theories, or was briefly. They're like, what if it was a serial killer? But people don't
so
think
spread out.
Exactly. So spread out, and the normally serial killers have a certain type that they're after. They're after women between these ages. This is all over the map. You know, child, adult, man,
well, and
woman.
not consistent to me. Like not.
Well, that
enough
doesn't stop it from
murders
being
or
a
deaths
possible
and
murderer.
in a row.
Right.
Where it's like,
But
I mean, what would you say? Like, oh, one year it was this kind of dude, and then this year it was that
Look
kind
at
of dude.
that.
And
And
the
like,
bloodhounds probably would have found the remains. You know, like, and that's what's weird to me.
The remains.
Is that, you know, they had search parties, big search parties, go out in the woods
And
right
then
after
I
these
gotta
people
finish
disappeared.
that year.
Not a scrap of clothing, like nothing.
Nothing. There's nothing. Not
It's like
one
they just
fucking
vanished.
hair. Nothing.
Right.
No DNA.
If it was an animal or something like that.
Right. You would have like shreds of body or something.
Right, exactly. There's, I mean, in full disclosure, there's another theory that there was a lot of mining done. I
Okay.
mean, not a lot, but some mining done the mountain, you know, like, you know, with tunnels and some pits. And like, you know, what if these people kind of fell into mine shafts? But then I think, yeah, but the people searching knew about the mine shafts.
Right, and they would search the mine shafts.
It's not like you would just ignore those. Exactly.
Well, also, I think about, you said something about the reservoir. They found that
One body. Yeah, one body there.
How big, how deep, how wide is the reservoir? Have they really like combed the bottom?
I think so. I think so. I mean, even back in the 40s, I mean, you know, professional divers and things for like search and rescue teams. can do a pretty thorough job. And there's no notation. It's not like the reservoir. I mean, I don't know exactly how deep it is,
Sure.
but I know that when lakes or reservoirs are especially deep, there's some kind of notation of that. Like where we live, you know, Lake Pend Oreille is an especially deep lake.
Yeah.
Where they've done like submarine testing and things. There's no notation of that with this lake. It's not like it's an especially deep.
Do you think there's bodies at the bottom of Lake Pend Oreille?
Probably.
That's not the answer I was expecting.
I mean, it's really deep.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, I just don't like. Okay, so obviously, just the mass disappearance of the complete and pure disappearance of them with zero trace. That freaks me out. That little boy, the mountains are calling.
I know, weird, right?
What?
Yeah, why would Dad say that? Like he's just thinking about these mountains, like the lure of the mountains.
Yeah, like what the fuck is that?
What does that even mean?
Kind of freaks me out because Kyler loves to hike.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about, you know, we've talked about doing like a huge family road trip. I'm like, well, that's fucking not on the list. And as a kid, even though I grew up super poor, we had friends who had a really lovely house in Nantucket. And so when you said Somerset, there was Somerset Beach in Nantucket.
Right.
And then you were explaining this quaint little town. I mean, I was envisioning Nantucket in the worst way, and I was like, oh my God, please don't be in Nantucket. Please, please, please don't take us there. Don't ruin it.
I feel like this is one of those stories that I might, you know, forget about for a while, you know, like soon, but then like, you know, because we will go camping again. Well, I'm doing that thing with Monroe this next summer, like a special little like overnight on the mountain trip. That's when I'll think of it.
Oh,
I'll be laying in a tent in the middle of the night, away from everybody, and be like, oh God. Like
I'll
if I
be
see
sure
a
to
light or
remind
something.
you.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Wait, and also, like, I got an email from a fan this week that ended up at info instead of my story.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was in the my story, whatever. And he and his girlfriend were camping.
Okay.
And saw like a light.
Eek.
And they would camp during the week because they worked in the food industry, so they couldn't, you know, go on the weekends, and so there were no people around. And it just, I was thinking about that. Like, what happens if you're camping and you think you see something? There's no one else fucking around.
Yeah, that's what makes it scary. I mean, that's what makes it scary with a story like this, where it's like, you know, you can go to your into your head and be like, well, come on. Almost everybody does come back from the woods, like 99.9999%. The odds are very low. But when you're out there by yourself, that's not always that comforting, because one of the scariest parts about the woods, I mean, I can't emphasize enough how dark it is. And I remember, I grew up in a very rural place, and I remember one time, after not having been home for a while, driving back home where there's no street lights, and I was like, in this canyon, the Salmon River Canyon, I was like, holy shit, it is dark.
Yeah. Oh,
like
every time.
Crazy, like oppressively dark when it's overcast.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. I know, like when we go to like your mom and your grandparents, right? They live 30 minutes apart, and we have to drive through the canyon, and it's like, I don't even know how you fucking see deer. I'm surprised we have not hit 17,000 deer at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so fucking dark, and all you can see is like beady eyes, maybe if you're lucky.
Yeah, especially when it's not a full moon. Yeah, like again, like when there's the clouds. So just to give the people watching on YouTube, this first picture, this is just to give you an idea of how thick the forest is.
So beautiful.
It really is.
I mean, gorgeous.
Gorgeous, because it's a mixture of deciduous trees and then pine trees. It's really pretty.
Deciduous?
I think so. Is that the one where the leaves fall?
Oh, I didn't know what that meant.
I'm pulling that out of my ass.
Okay, good for you.
But I think that's what it is. But anyway, it's like hardwoods and pine, which we don't have really a comparable forest to here in the Northwest.
Got it.
And I've driven through the New England years ago in the fall, and it really is so pretty.
Did you drive through the triangle?
I don't think so, actually. Looking where it is on the map, no. I don't think I've ever driven through the area.
So it's really you, not some other alien form of you.
Right. So here's the mountain. This next picture is Glastonbury Mountain. It's in the distance there.
Okay.
But
again, I
alien
mean, so
abductions,
scenic,
all
very
that
thick,
shit.
lush forests.
I don't feel scared.
But gonna be different at night. And then this next picture is one of the people who disappeared. This is that college student, Paula Jean Weldon, who disappeared.
That's sad.
Back in the 40s. And then this next picture, some people think that these guys might be behind everything. Nearby is Ben & Jerry's. And I don't know if it's kind of some marketing ploy, but they are, you know, associated with Vermont, and that's their factory in Waterbury.
And you think that they're doing it?
It's they're north of the triangle, but you know, maybe some kind of ice cream experiments or something, like getting new flavors.
Do you think that like that's what's in Chunky Monkey is people?
It might be Chunky Monkey.
It's
is
not
people.
bananas. It's like human flesh.
Yep, they're just gonna come out with a flavor called Soylent Green. Just to really hiding in plain sight.
I mean, Cherry Garcia is my favorite, and if I find out that those cherry bits are flesh bits, I'm fucked.
There are people taken from the forest. Okay, so that's our first story. I scared you more than I thought. I forgot how scared you get over disappearances.
Fuck. Well, it also just like the shadows in here, so it's like we've got a new thing behind your head. It's like a weird, creepy face thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that our friend Amy made us, and then like when you move, your shadow moves, and it casts a fucking shadow across the doll that's behind you. Like, I'm not in a good place right now.
Okay.
So
well, maybe this next one will be better for you. This is the one
probably
that
not.
really freaked me out.
Probably not. I'm gonna be staring at a fucking doll the whole time.
Well, oh God. Well, I'll talk.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ignore it.
He's winking at me. I swear.
Nope. Okay, I'm gonna ignore it because this is the one that really got me. I'll talk about it more after the story. You ready?
Oh God. Okay.
Okay, our second tale today, fairly well-known story in the world of haunted objects. And like a lot of popular tales, the more it gets kind of retold, the more the details seem to change and grow. For this telling, I've synthesized several versions of this account into an amalgam that I think conveys the most consistent and important details in the most entertaining and interesting way.
Okay.
And I say this for our creeps and peepers, like in case you've heard this yarn spun in some other way, and you have a moment of like, wait a minute, I thought, yeah, I get it. I get it. There are more, versions of the story.
And that's just kind of the nature of these stories.
But this one in particular stands out because it's been retold on, some TV shows. It's been more investigated than most of the stories we've done here.
Okay.
I would have done a little,
saying that,
like...
Time now for the tale of Harold,
leg movement,
the haunted doll.
Like, maybe that'll be later.
A man named Greg put a doll up for sale on eBay. A doll he called Harold. A doll he claimed was haunted. A doll he claimed had killed his pet and made him sick. A doll he claimed was ruining his life and causing him to lose his mind. The following is a summation of some of the details he posted in his eBay product description. Greg said he purchased the doll in a small dirt lot flea market in the tiny town of Webster, Florida, the Swaparama, 35 acres of strange wares. He arrived at the flea market fairly late in the day when most people were packing to go home. That's when he saw an elderly man placing a tattered doll into a box close to where Greg had parked his car. The doll looked interesting, so Greg asked the man if he could see it. And the conversation went something like this. Man, you don't want to see this doll. Greg, sure I do. What do you want for it? Well, that's a good question, because it's very old. And then the man looked like he was going to start crying, and he said, it was my son's. I bought it for him when he was born, and he passed away a few years after. This doll has sat in my work shed for over 60 years. I wasn't going to bring it out today, but I figured I just needed to get it out of here. Anyway, I just want 20 bucks for it. Greg then gave the man the 20 bucks, put the doll in a drugstore shopping bag, and then he walked away. And when he was halfway down the aisle towards his car, the man hurried over to him as fast as this elderly man could move, visibly out of breath, and said, I have to warn you about something. I can't just let you take him like this. The reason it has been in my shed is that the doll brought an eerie presence into our house after our son died. We would hear crying, singing out from his bedroom. When we went to check it out, there was nothing, just the doll. Other things started to happen. A priest told me I should burn the doll. I tried, but it would barely burn.
Oh.
That's why his arms and head and legs are so worn. Anyways, I just had to let you know. And then the man just kind of trailed off, seemingly kind of embarrassed, as if he suddenly realized how crazy everything he had just said aloud, might come across. Greg told him it was all okay, he appreciated the warning. Then the old man smiled a weak smile at him, kind of with sad eyes that seemed to apologize for what he thought he had just done, eyes full of maybe some tears and a smile of, was that a smile of relief? Was he glad to have unloaded both the doll and a guilty conscience? He was ridding himself of something he claimed had tormented him, and he didn't have to do it under false pretenses. Greg just kind of chuckled to himself as he walked away, thinking these thoughts. The man still staring at him as he made his way to the car. When he unlocked his door and looked back, the old man's smile seemed to have improved. His stare seemed suddenly almost threatening, grimly satisfied. It was hard to explain. It just gave Greg the chills.
Yeek.
Then he laughed again at how silly all of this was. The guy was probably 100 yards away. He could barely see his smile. He could barely see his eyes. Why was his mind adding all these nefarious details? When Greg got home, he took the doll out of the bag, set it up in his living room, and his life quickly changed for the worse. Within hours, he started to think he was hearing the doll whispering, mumbling.
Fuck.
Sometimes laughing, maybe? He would swear it sounded like someone else was in the house with him. It was like hearing a quiet conversation in the hotel room next door, or the apartment or office next door. Muffled, but definitely people talking. But then when he would turn off anything making noise in the house and listen intently, he couldn't hear anything. It was maddening. 2 days later, his previously very healthy and young cat just suddenly died. Went to sleep, didn't wake up.
Fuck that.
The vet had no explanation, just told him it was rare, but sometimes it just like, people
I'm doing good.
So do pets.
I'm just listening to scary
Same day, his
stories.
longtime girlfriend suddenly just
I
up and left him for
love
another
the
guy.
soundtrack.
Seemingly out of nowhere,
It really...
and he began to suffer from chronic migraines.
And I
All
know
this
that
had only been 2 days since he purchased a doll. He didn't think a doll could possibly be
they make
behind
their
a breakup.
own.
But, you know,
this
the
may
doll
be
gave
a
him a
free
really
one,
bad feeling, and it creeped him out enough to put it back in the bag and move the doll to the basement.
It's just
he almost
good
threw it away,
creepy.
but he felt like he just shouldn't do that. Actually, as crazy as it sounded, he felt like for reasons he didn't totally understand that he couldn't do that. That the doll somehow wouldn't let him do that.
Get the fucking doll out of there.
Greg kept flashing on the way the old man at the flea market had stared at him. What had the man given him? A week later, Greg began to hear the sounds of children laughing, crying, sounds coming from his basement, sometimes laughter.
Jesus.
Every time he would go downstairs to check it out, the sounds would stop. And then when he would go back upstairs, they'd start up again.
Fucking
Sometimes
creepy.
they seemed to start back up the second he turned his back to the doll and started to walk back up the stairs.
No way.
Always the sound seemed to come from that goddamn doll, Harold. Greg then says he put the doll in a small box he called an armadillo coffin in his basement where it would remain for a year and a half. And then now, according to the eBay listing, he wanted to get rid of it. It scared him. Greg writes in the listing that he's come to believe that Harold is cursed. That sometimes when he takes it out of the box, out of his little coffin, it feels like it's alive.
Why are you taking it out?
Sometimes he swears it feels like it has an actual pulse.
We gotta keep going.
Fuck.
Greg writes in the listing that this cursed doll measures 21 inches tall. It's a composition doll, a doll made partially out of composition, a composite material composed of sawdust, glue, other materials such as cornstarch, resin, and wood flour. Those kind of dolls started being made in the mid-19th century, when this doll was probably created. And if you're basically picturing an old, creepy doll in your mind as you hear this story, you're probably picturing a composition doll. After saying that, all sales will be final, Greg puts the doll up for auction. Just like the old man before him, he's cleared his conscience and he's ready to pass this dark object on to somebody else. When the auction ends, the winning bidder never makes good on the deal. Greg feels like Harold doesn't want to leave him,
I'm a bit
which makes him want to get rid of him that much more.
Go away,
It's
Harold.
5 in
Greg
the morning.
continues to experience more strange sounds from the basement, more headaches. He puts the doll up for auction a second time. This time, a woman named Kathy puts in the winning bid, and she does make good on the deal and immediately starts to regret it. Shortly after receiving the doll,
It's 5 in the
Kathy
morning.
begins to experience a series of unfortunate events that she quickly comes to believe Harold is responsible for. She puts the doll in the trunk of her car, drives it to her aunt's house, who is asked to see it. The idea that this doll
I'm trying
could be
to get
cursed
this
strikes her
done
aunt
so
as
I can
hysterical.
have it done.
Kathy's aunt holds Harold, laughs at how anyone could think a small raggedy doll that looked like it was going to fall apart at any moment
all I
could
need
hurt
to
anyone.
do is
And then the following day, her aunt calls
get the
Kathy
ears.
asking to be picked up at work.
hit
Her
the
back has
ears
suddenly gone out,
of
and she
the
can't walk. Then Kathy's aunt's husband, his back goes out the same day. Then Kathy's back goes out. Very strange. None of them had a history of back bumps.
Fuck you, Harold.
Quick.
2 weeks later, Kathy and her fiance Rick had planned to go on a cruise with Kathy's aunt
flick.
and her husband.
What is
Just
it,
days
baby?
before they were supposed to go, Kathy receives a phone call from her aunt. She and her new husband were not going to be able to go on the cruise because they both developed bronchitis, strep throats, and Kathy's aunt had been stricken with shingles.
What?
Had Kathy's aunt angered Harold by laughing at him. Kathy was starting to really worry about this possible cursed doll. And then she really began to worry after what happened to her good friend Veronica.
You better pet me.
Veronica and her husband, John, liked to travel, and the night before they were to take off for Amsterdam, they came over to Kathy and Rick's house for dinner.
I wanted to get a little bit further so I can have this done for you guys, so you guys can be like, oh my god, when I'm talking, I'll have this done.
Then she made the mistake
and
of
it'll
holding
be
it,
super
laughing at it.
cool.
A few days later, John calls Kathy from
I
Amsterdam.
know you are, but
and tells her
you shouldn't
that
push
Veronica is
yourself
dead.
too much. I know.
Veronica had brought up the doll again, laughed about how ridiculous it was that anyone can think it was cursed, as they were having a few drinks. She went out onto the balcony to have a cigarette, promptly fell down the stairs, fractured her skull, died in the hospital from brain injuries.
Holy fuck.
John was convinced the doll was somehow responsible.
This tail.
He told Kathy to destroy it, but just like Greg
just
before
gonna
her,
be
for some
fucking
reason, she thought
easier
she
to
couldn't
just
do it.
move this baby
Years worth
boy.
of strange
Stop
damage and
it.
mishaps follow. And then after what happened to
Stop
Stephen,
attacking the
at Rick's
wire,
insistence,
you
Kathy puts
baby.
Harold up
You
for auction.
naughty
Finally.
baby.
Hoping that whomever this time would know what to do with it, whoever took it. After Veronica's death, John decided to move back to South Africa. He and Veronica had a boarder named Stephen, who was staying with them, and suddenly was now without a home. Kathy and Rick offered him an extra room they had in their house. Kathy was keeping Harold in the shed at that time,
all
in the
of this
backyard, or at least she
tail.
thought she was. She'd forgotten that
I'm
after
gonna
showing it to
copy
Veronica,
all of
she put the
this.
doll in her guest room closet.
Ugh.
And
The
I'm gonna
closet
put
in
it
the room she was now
over
offering
there.
Stephen.
Oh,
In
Steven.
This was the same room. Stephen. Stephen had recently had a physical. Was given a clean bill of health. Then 3 months
very
after
cool.
moving
Can't
into the
wait,
room
but
with
I love
Harold,
watching your process. So you've done very a good dent
when he went
in
back
your
to
art.
the doctor to see what was wrong, he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer of the larynx.
Who's just like, I need
died a few
you
months later.
to pet me.
Fuck, Harold.
Had Harold killed 2 people,
That would be easier for you. Hell yeah.
Kathy puts the doll up for sale now on eBay, and this time the doll is
taking all
the auction is won by a paranormal enthusiast and amateur ghost hunter, Anthony Quintana. Kathy told Anthony everything that had happened around her, and that he could back out if he wanted. She was worried for Anthony, but he still accepted the doll. After the doll arrived in the mail, Anthony cut the box open, found Harold wrapped in a Dwayne Reed drugstore bag. Anthony scanned the doll with something called Tri-Field EMF reader, a device that measures alternating magnetic currents to see if it can detect any anomalous electromagnetic fields coming from the doll. Some believe that these sort of readings can indicate the presence of a ghost, and the meter's needle does not budge. It doesn't quiver, nothing. Disappointed, Anthony thinks that maybe he's been scammed. He takes it all out of the bag, puts it on his couch, takes pictures of it, hoping to find some orbs, some type of photographic evidence of something, not known in this world. Nothing shows up. Before he throws Harold in the trash, Greg decides to run a few more tests. He knows a woman named April from his ghost hunting adventures, a woman who is claimed to be a psychic, and he decides to have April do a reading on Harold. The two meet in the basement of the Tattered Cover, an independent bookstore in the Cherry Creek neighborhood of Denver, Colorado.
Oh, man.
Anthony sets Harold on the table. He and April, sit at. As he sprinkled Harold with holy water, April chuckles, "You're using holy water on him?" And then April takes Harold into her hands and says, "Wow, he's in really bad shape." She then turns Harold over in her hands and says, "I'm getting something about a spirit in the doll, being a child molester, a molested child, or both." And then she suddenly starts trembling. Then she starts to cry. She goes pale, turns to Anthony and says, "I'm sorry, but I can't do this." He asks her why not, and she says, "He just told me he's going to kill me."
That?
"I'm really sorry," April continues, "but I have a heart murmur, and I heard Harold say, 'I'm going to kill you,' and then I started to feel as though something was grabbing my heart."
Holy shit.
Anthony hadn't heard anything. He thought maybe she was just being dramatic. But he did digitally record his meeting with April, and when he gets back home, he decides to listen back to his recording. As he's listening to April chuckling about the holy water, he hears a male voice that he did not hear in the room angrily say, "Shut up!" Then when he sprinkles holy water on the doll, he hears an agonized scream that sends chills up and down his spine. When April mentions that she felt that the spirit within the doll was either molested as a child or a child molester or both, he hears what he says can only be described as an angry roar, and then a male voice says, "I'm gonna kill you, bitch!" Immediately after hearing this voice, he hears April say, "I'm sorry, Anthony, but I can't do this." Anthony suddenly has no doubt he has not been scammed. There is something horribly wrong with the doll he's gotten on eBay.
Holy shit.
And as a paranormal enthusiast, at first this makes him very happy. He's excited. This is why he got the doll in the first place.
Oh, Anthony, you're so dumb.
He's also scared. What's inside this doll? A few weeks later, Anthony, who is of course talking about what happened, with April to whoever would listen, is asked by a friend named Rachel, who's working as a barista at the Tattered Covers coffee shop, to bring the doll back to the store so she and her friends could see it. Anthony does exactly this. And he notices that Rachel and all of her friends have crystals with them. And they're holding these crystals while they examine the doll. Anthony asks them what the crystals are for, and they say protection. Anthony again digitally records this meeting, and when he plays back the audio later, he hears a male voice again. When the first friend of Rachel's touches him, the first person holding a crystal, "God damn it, stop!"
Oh.
Rachel tells him that she thinks some type of spirit is trapped in the doll. She wonders if the spirit has been placed inside the doll through some kind of curse. Now Anthony's getting more and more curious about this doll. He decides to take it to another psychic, have it investigated more thoroughly. This psychic, once she sees the doll, refuses to touch it. She also asked Anthony to leave her place, saying, "I can't help you. Now please go away."
Weird.
She also refuses to tell Anthony why the doll bothers her so much. She's clearly just visibly terrified.
Yeah.
Anthony finds another psychic, a woman named Diane, who did agree to examine the doll. He brings his digital audio recorder again, hoping to catch another electronic voice phenomenon, or EVP. When he takes Harold out of his Dwayne Reed drugstore bag, Diane makes a comment about a molested child. The same thing April had said.
Right.
"Why do you say that?" he asked. And Diane says, "I don't know. It's just a feeling I get," and as she's staring intently at the doll. After Diane examines the doll, Anthony plays back the audio recording, and when it gets to the part where Diane talks about feeling as though the doll harbored a child that had been molested, she and Anthony both hear a loud, roaring adult male voice say, "Fuck you!"
Holy shit.
Then Diane looks down and says, "What the fuck? Does this look like a bite to you?" She holds her hand out to Anthony so he can see what she's talking about. There are 2 red indentations. It looks like capillaries have been broken between her thumb and forefinger. Anthony finds a fine-tipped Sharpie pen on a table, grabs some stir sticks he saw on the table, holds one of the sticks up to her hand, marks the edges of the bite on it with a little, line where the gap is in the middle. Then he holds those markings up to the painted-on teeth of Harold the doll's mouth. Exact match.
No fucking way.
Anthony and Diane are now both freaked out. The doll has apparently somehow just physically attacked Diane. They walk back to her office, ran to 2 of her co-workers who just had returned from lunch. Diane tells them what had happened, and one of them asks Diane, "What happened to your eye?"
What?
"What do you mean?" she responds, puzzled, and her co-worker says, "It looks like somebody hit you." Sure enough, the area under her left eye was now red and swelling, like she'd been punched. Anthony takes the doll out of the drugstore bag, holds it, the hand up to her face.
Why did I get a rabbit?
This is crazy, but the size of the little hand of the doll
my ex,
matches this red bump.
many years ago,
I know. It's
got
funny to me, but also like, what the fuck?
Guinea pig.
It
because
looks like
she was
impossibly
like,
this little doll had somehow.
I've heard guinea pigs help out with anxiety and stuff like that, and I was like,
still
okay,
excited to possess such an obviously haunted object.
We'll get a guinea pig.
He now decides to use a Ouija board.
We got a guinea pig.
Oh my god!
To try to talk to the spirit or the spirits that he believes are firmly,
she was
residing
like,
inside his doll.
It needs a
he
friend.
asked Diane if she'll do it with him. Nope. She's had enough.
Like,
Dude, she's a genius.
All right.
He asked other members of the ghost hunting team, and Heather,
They're
the newest member of the group, tells him,
I was like,
"I'd love to."
Oh, Heather, you
it seems fine by itself.
Anthony doesn't have a whole lot of experience with the Ouija board. Neither does Heather.
Nobody was selling a guinea pig.
Of course not.
By
They don't say any
itself,
prayers to safeguard
except
themselves. They don't turn off the
for
lights. They don't light
except
any candles. They just
one
sit down.
girl.
Harold, the doll in
who
between
was
them.
selling a
Harold
guinea
turned
pig
on his
plus
digital
rabbit.
recorder. They put their fingers on the
And that's when we got our female rabbit named Marie.
"Is there anyone here?" he asks. "Why?" E.
And that's how it all started.
"Are you the one trapped in the doll?"
She wasn't just gonna give she wasn't gonna give the guinea pig
Is
away
your name
without
Harold?
that. And Marie
What is your name?
was bonded to the guinea pig.
M-E-D. And then the board refuses to answer any more of their questions.
She got
Anthony
the guinea
then checks for
pig,
EVPs,
and she got the
thinks he's not going to find any.
Marie.
But then when he asks for the name, a clear, strong
Marie
male voice seems to
was
correct
the best
spelling,
rabbit of all
saying
time.
not Ahmed,
Love
but
her.
Adam.
Loved her a lot.
Anthony and Heather stare at each
We
other
had her
stunned,
for
and
years.
suddenly Heather just kind of screams and grabs her sides.
After
my side's
the
burning.
guinea pigs died,
She
because
runs to
they
Anthony's
would,
bathroom, comes back a
because
few
they don't
moments later.
last long.
"Would you look at this?"
And
she
rabbits
asks. She lifts
last
up
way
her shirt.
longer.
There's a long
She was
red,
like,
angry
she's
gash
so
on her right
lonely.
side.
She needs a
The
friend.
side Harold was
She
sitting
needs,
closest to. It starts from the middle of her belly,
she should
curves
have
around to the middle of her
babies.
back.
And I was like,
something had cut her.
okay.
Anthony's finally freaked out himself.
And
finally.
This thing has attacked at least 2 people. He puts
that's
Harold in a
when we
storage
got
locker in
Kirk,
Denver. That was
a
2005.
breeder bunny. He was
1 year
only
after
supposed
Anthony
to
won
be
the doll on eBay.
the breeder
And he would
bunny,
keep it locked
and
away
then
out
we
of the
were
public eye
going
for
to
the
give
next
him
8
back in a
years.
few weeks.
Then in May of 2013, Anthony gets curious
we
again.
kept him,
Retrieves Harold from the storage unit.
and we've kept
He
him
met a
for
woman
years.
named Maria who did object
He is an
readings.
old man
I
bunny.
hate this guy.
And he has this Maria examine Harold. And when Maria holds the doll, she says, "I see a girl who owned this doll when she was around 10 years
Marie
old.
died of
She has long hair, tied in the back with a bow.
cancer,
And then, and that was all Marie
and I
could
think
find out. Just a
that
little
her
girl
daughter
around
died
10.
of cancer
Oh, no.
too.
Anthony takes Harold to another
And
psychic, a woman named
all I
Erica, who
got
says,
are
"I'm picking up a male
his
energy."
3 boys.
She gives Anthony much more
and,
details.
him
She tells
left.
Anthony that a young man was also
His
part
3
of the doll.
boys are
It was like he was trapped
are with
inside
my
of the
dad
doll.
right now,
The little girl Maria had sent
because he's the
before,
only one with a
was his
pet,
sister, his half sister.
with
They
a
had the same
rabbit
father with different mothers. They lived on a
cage
plantation
and stuff like
somewhere
that.
in the south.
Okay.
Erica said that the girl was loved by her older brother, that she tagged along with him everywhere he went.
I do
They were
miss all
inseparable.
my
She talked about seeing a river
animals,
running
but
through the
you know,
plantation grounds.
life
There was a
happens.
tire swing that
Nothing's
hung from a
perfect.
tree next to the water, and one of the girl's favorite things to do was sit in it while her brother pushed her out over the water. And then one day, when he was pushing her, the little girl fell out of the swing. She drowned.
Oh.
And her half brother was blamed for it. And she loved her doll so much that she somehow ended up inside of it. And in his grief over her death, her brother took his own life
Oh my god.
and ended up inside of it as well. This Erica thinks that maybe something inside the doll tricked them into joining it. Was it this pedophile spirit? Was that spirit even the spirit of a person? Was it a demon? The psychic wouldn't say. She suddenly didn't want to hold the doll any longer. So what now? Anthony believes that multiple spirits are attached to Harold, and that perhaps 2 of those spirits, the spirits of the children, possibly other spirits, are being tormented by the dark soul or some kind of dark entity who may have tormented children in life, now certainly torments children in death. He continues to possess the doll to this day because he hopes that he can somehow release the souls of those 2 children.
Gets all the pets.
Anthony does not feel safe around Harold. He claims the doll has physically attacked him, left bruises and scratches numerous times. He says that he's constantly under attack from this doll.
I was going to do with him.
Will he ever be able to free those 2 children? Are there spirits even inside the doll? Is any spirit inside the doll? Is the doll infested not with the souls of those who once walked the earth, or is it possessed by something or several somethings much more sinister?
He might last one more year.
Confuse and manipulate anyone who tries to examine the doll.
His life is
and what happens to the doll if something happens to Anthony? Could it end up back on another flea market? Could it end up on some other online auction? Could you end up with it? And if you did end up with it, how long would you keep it?
Good on him. I say keep going.
Yeek.
I want him to live forever.
So doing this story,
that's not what always happens.
Let's look at this picture, because the picture of this doll, and it doesn't look that. This is the first picture of the doll.
Oh.
Right? Doesn't seem like that big of a deal. And then here's the next picture of the same doll. When I'm looking at these pictures, I don't know why, because it came out of nowhere. I'm working on my desk here in this office last night. And I just got so cold. I got super chills.
I got super cold when you were telling that story. I was gonna reach over and look at the thermometer, but I didn't.
It just weirded me out, and it weirded me out unexpectedly, because I'm like, this guy Anthony, you can actually find him online. And it's a weird thing with this story for me, because he seems like a little bit of a nut to me. It's like he's a guy that I wouldn't want to believe. I'm like, get out of here. I will say the source material, not to put him down, but holy shit, this guy is a terrible author.
Right,
yes, Bunny deserves all the pets. He loves pets, and his home will
really poorly written.
Get
really
another
hard to
bunny?
Pull the story together.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of annoyed as I'm putting the story together to tell him,
I need
but also I kept getting unexpectedly so
take care of myself and stuff
for the first time in any of the stories I've done here, I just left the office.
That's a lot
I know,
of fucking
you came home
work.
rattled.
And as I'm leaving the office, I felt
they're
so
actually
cold
not that loud. I like that they're not loud at fucking all.
It felt like something followed me out of the fucking office. I'm just
they make
I wouldn't look back in the hallway. I went quickly to my truck,
quiet.
shut the door, turned on.
Why didn't you call me?
And it's so
I don't know.
nice.
Because that would have taken extra time. I just wanted to get out of there as fast as possible.
Okay.
Then I come home. You and I joke about it.
I was teasing you hard.
They're real nice.
Because I think that these things are real.
They make no noise.
And I don't want to.
If I had to pick another pet,
and you're freaked out. So
I would probably.
I talked to him to sleep on the couch.
Yeah, last
so
night.
I can work by you.
I would probably go male rabbit.
I'll turn off all the lights. I'm like, okay, I'll
male
put my sleep
rabbit
mask on.
plus
he's like,
male cat or something like that.
And I was like, babe, I don't think I can fucking sleep on the couch. Could I please
pick a topic choice? Goat, I'm not here and want you to get any key stressor off your mind since you're nearing the 4-hour mark.
Oh my god, why?
I'm not here.
Stuff, feel like I'm freaked out. I sat in the chair, started working on it, had my back towards the stairs, so my back was towards the darkness.
Well, the topic of choice is,
I'm like, I'm not gonna get,
we're talking about Board Birdie and not being here in these existential crisis of being and not being here.
What is going on?
Could he
all the lights on? I almost
be
stopped just to
here
get up
and
early in the morning and keep working on it. I did finish it, but it was through just willpower.
What does that even mean? What does that even
but I was freaked out the entire night working on that story.
Come from?
Welcome to how it feels in our
if
house.
If only we knew what Board Birdie was doing.
Pretty much all the time.
I get it now. I get it.
What is he doing? What is he up to?
I do genuinely think there
the man,
is something
the enigma.
In our house. But I don't think that it's bad.
Right.
I guess I can rant that
you're scared,
motherfucker
it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, it just
I've been complaining about for fucking a while now didn't come to work today. Which I'm just like, what the fuck? What is up with these people who have such big old fucking egos?
Yeah.
And then these next two, I don't know where they're from.
This is the rant.
This is the rant.
Okay.
Here's this next one.
Is this a question?
How would you like to have that doll in the house?
Is this a rant?
And then now we got a little cluster of them.
Am I
in this
doing a
next
rant
picture.
right now? Am
No,
I
thank
really
you.
No, yeah, I
ranting?
mean,
those are
or
those
am I talking
competition
about
dolls.
No,
Board
thank you.
Birdie?
Well, there's a composition doll
Where
behind
am
you.
I? Who am I?
I think, well, I get nervous because I bought him at a flea market-y thing.
Oh my God.
Joe and I,
what
before we started
is
this
everybody
podcast, Joe
gonna
and I went
do
to
this
to, like
Halloween?
the Paris Flea Market on 4th Street and just bought
Are people
a
gonna
handful
play
of things for
Dungeons
the
and
studio to give it the good creep
Dragons?
It's a
factor.
Coeur d'Alene.
And
Is people
we
gonna
bought his
play
doll.
Dungeons and Dragons with
And
me?
actually,
That'll be really fun.
he's very, very, very
Don't you think?
Oh, I forgot about him. I don't like him at all.
Can we
See.
get him on camera? Be careful. He's
Nope.
very delicate.
No, I don't want to touch him. Not right now.
I can
I'll
do
come
it.
grab
I
it.
can do
Okay,
it.
Joe,
It's
you
not
can
that
do it.
hard.
Joe, our producer, is going to come grab the doll. His little, he's got
don't
the
know.
Harold story. He looks too much like that.
Joe, you know,
I
like his
used
one
to have
arm's broken
that
off in the
problem.
sawdust.
And
comes out.
now
That's why
I'm
he's
just
in this
like, I don't
bowl.
care
And
anymore.
we actually had to buy
I'm a
him
head to
in this
bed.
bowl that I didn't
Rest
even want.
easy, y'all.
Yeek.
Big
He
hugs
is
and
creepy.
kisses, you sweet man.
Yeah, we kept trying to find him, like, because careful, Jen.
Hey, buddy, I'm being nice to you, buddy.
Get some rest.
He had some sort of marking.
sweet prince.
Like
Oh, fun.
Get
Like
some.
no, like from like the manufacturer.
Get some rest.
And so Joe and I spent a lot of time trying to figure out where
Big
he came from.
kisses
Joe, what
from
did we
me
ever
to
decide?
you.
Germany, maybe?
Yeah,
I was waiting to get to the
markings that
4-hour
kinda-
mark to get everything
Now
to
you
get all
pulled out his
this.
insides.
I could just,
Man,
you know
I know,
what?
he's
Oh boy.
I know he's very
This is the
delicate.
same
He
fucking.
won't stay up.
I can just do
He
this.
doesn't like to
This
sit
is
up.
so
These
easy.
little
This is
candles
so
are not,
easy. This
able
is,
to. God dang it.
guys. This is the
Okay,
easiest
that's where he
one.
sits.
Make fun of him while you hold
Like,
Cool, so now
oh
he's
my
staring at me.
god.
Yep. Okay. Well, he has
Like,
to remain there
this
because I
is
can't
the
move him.
easiest.
But yeah, but when you were talking about composition, I was like, oh, that I never knew that that's what that was
And
called. So, oh god, his eyes are like,
Copy.
Yeek.
oh my god, buddy. So did you
Like,
get any
oh my
sleep?
God.
Yeah. Once I went to bed, I was so tired. I was okay,
Okay.
but I was freaked out the whole time I was awake.
Okay, so
I had several drinks.
I get it. I get it. This show makes me drink a lot as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I just went somewhere in my head. But okay, so we were just in Denver, and we were just by Cherry Creek. So I was having a lot of like, oh my god.
thank
Because when
you.
we were
Thank
like a
you
little
so
update
much.
about me, just like since we're in
This
this
looks
space.
like
when we were in Denver, I was
hug board.
certain that I saw
Yeah.
something in the condo that we were staying at.
Right.
It looks
I was
like it's
really
gonna be
certain
great.
There was something
Hug
there with
chat.
Or
Hug. Go
I
come
was
here.
just a little too
Hug board. Big board.
Right.
Which I think is sort of a thing. Like when I get
I
a little
love
bit
that.
high, because this happened at home this past
Just
week.
hug
Yeah.
at everybody.
I took the tiniest bit, like
Yeah.
half a milligram, microgram, whatever,
Right.
however it's measured. I mean, the tiniest
Paste.
bit.
And then
And
go
it
here.
opens up something in me, whether it just allows me to be
Deselect.
more imaginative or
Yeah.
less guarded. But every time I'm high, I'm like, oh, it's here. So maybe it's always there, and that allows me to be open to it, or maybe it's just my imagination getting the best of me.
Maybe.
What do you think would happen if you? I was gonna say Robert the doll. What do you think would happen if you got Harold?
Oh, I don't want to get hurt. I don't know. Something creepy.
Do you think he killed those
And
people?
then
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where I don't want to believe it. I'm like, no,
Right.
come on, a doll can't kill
There,
somebody.
yeah.
But at the same time, after hearing that story, I want that fucking doll near me.
Copy.
Right?
And then
No.
So part of me is, a little less
Paste.
skeptical, I guess.
Do you want to hold my hand crossed?
There you
or
No,
go.
I got my
There.
little
See,
squishy
look how
St.
quick that
Michael?
Nope.
was.
I got my squishy guy for the story. Little
Nope.
squishy skull guy.
Baby.
Somewhere, somebody sent me a St. Michael
baby.
charm. Oh, there it is.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, you ready to scare me?
I am ready to scare you, and I think that
Yeah.
this story
Everybody
is
gets hugs
terrifying.
here.
Okay.
like truly.
This is what my
Mobile.
chat is really about.
It's a big one.
If you were a real
Okay.
fan, you'd
Here we
understand.
go.
This is what
First
my
of all, I want
chat's
to say I love the
really
podcast.
about.
Thank you.
Is
I'm
hugging
from Idaho, so I
and
love the Idaho
loving.
references. 17 years
Yeah.
ago, I was a stay-at-home mom taking
Oh
care of
yeah,
a
you
5-year-old
can
and a
you can
3-year-old.
hear
We lived
how
in a
tired
religious
I
house,
am
and my
from
then
the
husband
way
was a
I talk
pastor
to you
with a
guys.
doctoral degree through BBC.
You
My
guys
3-year-old
can
would
just
have these nightmares every night.
feel how
She would
tired
wake
I
up,
am right now.
pointing to the corner in her room where her dollhouse was, screaming, "No,
But
no,
I
no!"
do want to get this
We
done.
prayed over her and our entire house. We realized that the dollhouse
I
had been
really
given to us by atheists.
truly want to get
And
this
at the
done
time,
so
my
that I
belief,
can,
along with my
so that
husband,
you guys
was
can
that
have
atheists,
fun.
although being
Exactly.
nice,
Fakers
they
would
bring in
never
evil and
understand what
darkness.
Oh, man,
what
come
chat's
So,
really
Listen, they
about.
were super religious. So we also got rid of the dollhouse during the cleansing of the house.
Great, more dolls.
Oh yeah.
Dollhouse.
Eep.
toothpaste.
Despite the cleansing of the house, the next morning at the breakfast table, my 5-year-old daughter told us there was a man in the house last night. What? No alarms had gone off. We didn't hear anyone. My husband explained that she must just have a wild imagination and that clearly she was dreaming.
Really about.
Relentless, she continued,
loving your neighbor as
there was a man.
thyself.
He was here. And so we listened to her
Giving
story.
hugs to people
She told us that the man
randomly,
was tall, and he glowed
and you
a
don't
bright
even
glow.
actually
He did
know
not
them
speak with his mouth,
because they're just
and yet
another
she could still
human
hear
being.
him.
You know,
She told us that he would only wake her and that the rest of the household would be safe.
loving your
She then
fellow
explained
neighbor
that he hugged her and then walked into the
as
hallway.
a human.
She said, Mommy, he was so tall, he had to bend down to go through my doorway.
You know.
Mommy, he hit his head
The
on
things
the hall
that people
light and
forget
made it
all the
shake.
time. You know.
Oh, I said, and then I asked, and then what did he do? Thinking
Baby
I was just
boy,
feeding into a
stop
wild,
it.
imaginative story from a 5-year-old. We hadn't heard anything in the house, and the way she described it, we should have heard it too.
You
He went
you
into
need
Beth's
to
room,
sleep.
my
You're
daughter
almost
said.
done. I'm
Oh,
not
what did
sure
he
how
do? I
close you are.
asked. My daughter
I'm
explained
not
that he bent
close
down and
at
kissed
all
Beth.
because I gotta finish.
That the dark, tall man
I
had
gotta
breathed
finish
on
all
her
these
with air that
colors,
she
and
could
then I
see
gotta
and
add
told her
the ears.
she would no longer be plagued by nightmares. Wow, I said, what a relief. I thought she was done, but my daughter continued.
I gotta add the ears.
Then he went downstairs into yours and Daddy's room. He
But
touched
I'm
your belly
very
and said
close
I
to
would
it,
have
and
a
I've
brother,
gotta add
but
the
that you would
eyes.
get sick. He said that you would live. He kissed you. Then he told me that Daddy is evil, and no matter what
The
evil
shading
comes into this house,
to the
God
picture.
will protect us. And then, Mommy, he vanished into a ball into the ceiling. Later that day,
Very specific story.
oh yeah, it gets better.
I gotta add the shading
Later
to the
that
picture.
day, I was putting clothes away in the bedrooms, and I looked up at the hallway light.
Oh,
it
no.
hung from a hook on 3 chains. Those
All right,
old-fashioned
doctor.
ones. 2 of the 3 chains were off the hook,
Let's
like
save.
a tall man had hit it and shook it loose.
All right, doctor.
A year later, I became
All right,
pregnant.
Haven.
At 30 weeks, I gave birth to a baby boy, who then passed away. The cause of early labor was a tumor in my uterus. The
All right,
prophecy my
guys.
daughter shared with us a year earlier was coming to light. I fought the
Who
cancer
we
and
sending
survived,
this to?
however, at a great cost. My then husband became angry
Let's
all
see,
of the
who
time.
is on?
It was as if he blamed me for the death of our son. The house began to take on a different feeling, like it had a life of its
Real
own.
Kazoo
Cupboards
Gaming.
would open, objects would move. It always felt as if someone was
You know
watching
what?
me. I felt I was being watched in the shower,
You know
and
who
that
we're
made me
sending this to.
especially uneasy. There was always the sound of children at night playing in our movie room. The sound of balls being thrown against the wall.
All right,
and footsteps
guys.
going up and down
I'm
the
gonna take
stairs.
your advice.
At times, I could hear the projector being turned on. No amount of prayer seemed to be able to stop
Kazoo.
it. Then one day, my ex-husband hit me.
I'm gonna take your
His eyes
advice.
had gone dark, and I could tell it wasn't him. We had never believed that a demon could take over the
Is that
mind
it?
of a believer in Christ.
Did it do it
but
right?
I know this man before me was
Or
not
is
my
it-
husband. We prayed and we prayed, but it did no good. My husband continued to beat me every day.
Jesus.
I felt forced to stay silent about everything that happened in our home. We never aired our dirty laundry, and a pastor who beat his wife. It seemed like the worst scenario. Who would believe me? One night,
that it?
I woke up choking on my own spit. As I looked up,
Nope.
there was a black entity on top of me. I could not move.
Right.
Immobilized, I tried to spit out what
I
I was
think
choking
I'm-
on, trying to scream as I
Hold
felt
up.
cold hands on my neck. It was as if I was being choked and paralyzed simultaneously by this thing on top of me. And then I felt my chest being pounded, and then poof! The black thing disappeared off my chest. In that instant, I felt the pain go away, as if someone had been giving me CPR.
All
A
right.
ball of light was floating above me. That Sunday, we had a prophetess from Washington visit our church.
There
As a
we
family, we went to
go.
get
I think it's
prophesized. She
you
flat
normally
out
use that one.
refused.
Yeah. No,
She
no.
looked at me
I got
and
it.
said,
I got
"Evil
it now.
awaits you at home."
What?
All right,
I knew
guys.
that my ex, in his
All right,
grief
you
over our
incredible
son who
people.
had died,
All right,
had
you
become dark
awesome
and
people.
evil and
Let's
was
look
now
at
a
what
threat
we've
to our
done.
family.
Let's
Through
look at what
prayer,
we've done.
I endured the nightly
Let's
hauntings
see what
in
it
our house.
is.
Then one day, I was at the grocery store when a random
So
stranger
we got that
handed
fucking
me a
tail
check.
done.
She said, "I do not
It's
know you,
not
but God
perfect.
does. He says, leave the evil. So I am
It'll be
giving
fine.
you a way out." She gave
It'll
me
be
a check
fine.
for $5,000.
And then we got this.
I never cashed it. In fact, I still have it as a reminder that evil comes in so many forms,
And-
including pastors. On the way home, I could feel the dread of my house.
Yeah.
my ex, and how the evil had consumed my life.
So we've done a lot.
My children were being haunted nightly.
We've done a lot of the colors.
It was time that I speak up.
We got all these colors
done. As we came around the corner to our street, my youngest started to cry, "Mommy,
we got the
dark,
eyes done.
Mommy, dark."
We're on this.
My oldest told me that there was a killer waiting at home to hurt us.
This is
Pulling
ready.
into our driveway,
this one is what needs to be worked on. But
only describe
both of these
consumed our house.
This is ready, and this is not ready. I could just do it without the shade and come back to it. So you guys have an amazing one. Love you guys.
Growling and breathing. As the eyes darted toward us, I started to recite a prayer. I yelled, "This is the house of God."